Deal with the bandits. That somebody wants you to kill some other guy.
Yep.
Travel to the Western Forest. See, I can read.
Sort of human police force used by
Sometimes.
Are you wearing your
the
glasses?
rest of humanity in
No.
line. This
They're
was
still
a
in the car.
voluntary position,
Look at you.
and with it, so were the
I feel like the swelling in my head went down, though. I wonder if that has anything to do with
The
it.
stalker process was involuntary
Maybe
and
'cause you finally
reserved
got
for
some
resistance
goddamn
members,
sleep.
and those generally.
I mean, it's still hard to read some of this shit.
Combine.
I can't see
After
every
capture,
single
the
word.
resistance
Like, some of
members
the
were
letters
taken
look
to
like
a
they're
combine
squished together.
stronghold. The most commonly
But I
known
think-
was Nova Prospect. But
I
there
think
may
I
have
can
been
read
others
enough right
across
now
the
to, like,
wasteland. After
have some
arrival,
idea of what the
these
fuck I'm
poor
doing
humans
without you
were
needing to tell me
restrained,
constantly.
muzzled and collared with some sort of barbaric metal.
Hope for the best.
This
prepare
was
for the
also
worst.
one of the first design choices for the Stalker, as seen here in this concept art. Still recognized as human and clear.
While I was waiting on Carl to get dressed, I went down into one of those little
where it gets brutal.
where I always die.
These captured humans were
And I didn't
resistant
die,
in nature,
and I beat it.
as they openly fought against a much stronger force.
That's,
To counter
that's
this, the
progress.
Combine implemented
What can I say?
methods
Yeah.
to break them down to make this transformation smoother. Almost like
Alright,
a
where the
product
fuck am I
on a
going, though?
production line at a factory. During this process, the prisoner's hands were
Oh, and I
severed
picked
to
up
reduce
some more
the risk
abilities,
of
but I
an
didn't
attempt
add
to
them to my
escape.
shit.
Although their hands were gone,
One of them-
they could still run.
One of them
So,
looked good,
the
but it was
Combine
like you
moved
have to
on
have a
the
fucking
next
claw
stage.
or
This
like some
physical
other thing, and it's
transformation
like
reduced the number
I don't
of
have those
resistance
things.
members,
I just
but
have
they
my
needed
bow.
to actually make these creations useful and productive in their army and workforce. To
Yeah.
do this, they began the process of mental conditioning and continued it throughout the physical transformation
can't
so
use
that they
those,
would be compliant
pretty-
and serve their keepers
kind
as
of the
slave
definition of
laborers.
useless.
The keeper title was given to the owner or
Wisdom.
handler of the stalker.
Look at my
With their
inventory.
mental conditioning underway,
How
the
nice it
humans
looks.
were then hobbled to stop them from running, and this would
Why
have
you got a
had
grey eye?
huge
Yeah, I
effect
looked down and
on
you got a
the
grey eye. I'm just sitting
subject.
there like,
There was no way of
like,
escape. This
uh,
was an unavoidable fate. Eventually, their lower
It looks
limbs
great.
were removed entirely. Having analysed the human body and learned the bare minimum of what it needed to actually function, the Combine took out all of the Stalker's unnecessary organs and then put them on a saline solution to keep the body running.
Fuck.
This procedure was essentially performed to
I
make
want
it
you-
easier to maintain. This saline solution, in turn,
Here's my
led
shit.
their bodies to deteriorate to the point where they turned
I don't know
into
why I'm down
a
here.
skeletal frame with
Where
a
are the
layer
points
of
that I
yellow
actually put
skin.
in? Like, where?
This was almost in line with Ted Bachman's view of what he wanted the story
Is there a way to zoom out? Wait.
At this point, the mental
it
conditioning,
says it on the
if
screen.
successful,
L2 and
would have
R2
removed the
is-
last sense of humanity in these poor humans. Essentially, they had become mindless
Where's the shit I
husks
filled in?
conditioned
Okay.
to follow only the orders of the Combine.
Okay.
Towards the end of this barbaric mutilation,
Here's
and
where I left
now
off.
ready to serve the Combine,
Yeah.
braces were fixed to the stumps of where the
Well, the
And I
good
guess-
news
had
is you
once
need,
been to
you
allow
want
them
all
to
those
walk
things,
again.
but
This was likely
like,
extremely painful.
go back to
but
the top
at
left.
this point, for their sake, hopefully their
where you
mental
started,
conditioning had
basically.
somehow allowed them to ignore pain. For ease of control and handling by
like,
their keepers, the Combine
so
placed a girder on their heads
where
with
you
5
went
holes in front
down,
of each eye for
like,
them to see.
where you went
They were
right,
also able to
so, like,
use
go
their
right,
muscles
right,
to
right.
lap up fluids like an
4
animal.
times.
These human
Wait,
resistance
hold on.
members had turned into something less than human, a fate worse than death. Unfortunately, their plight
Okay.
was not over yet. Under the control of the Combine, these creatures were
About 4
sent out
times?
into the wasteland with orders from
Yeah.
their keepers.
So,
this
like,
is where their stalking element came in.
you're
They
gonna
would
go
creep around
down
in the
right,
shadows, stalk, and then
like,
lunge at those that
take
oppose
all
the
those,
Combine.
take those
As the
red
player,
ones
we would have encountered these frequently.
until you get to the
In
next,
Ted
like,
Bachman's words, when
crossroads.
you face them, they are these crazed, half-human things that you cannot help but almost pity. I was
This
hoping to put
am I
enough humanity
And then
into
get
taking
the
this?
games that
and then
it
get
wasn't
that,
just
yeah.
a scary monster.
Like that's
Instead,
where you're
it
gonna
was
go
something
next.
that presented a
And
moral
then
Alright.
dilemma every time
you gotta go
had
back to
deal
that
with
crossroads
it,
where you,
which I think
I don't
is
know
a
if
more
you press
interesting
square.
problem. It
So,
is more
dude,
horrific
yeah,
to
you
have to
do. Yeah, you
deal
do.
with an insane hostage.
I closed
than
it
something
because-
that just wants to
Yeah, I
eat
pressed
your
square.
brains.
I closed it
Although
because
it
I
is
spent
not
all my
noted
points.
on the
Yeah,
concept art
that
or
was-
development documents I could find,
I was just making
these
sure, and then
stalkers also
you-
had the ability
I saw that you
to
didn't
emit
have the
powerful beams of
reminder
energy
say
from
you
their
have
eyes.
points. So
From this
I answered
concept
myself.
art, we can also see that
What-
the Combine
there's a
attached
there's a
equipment
reminder
and
that says you have
weapons to
points?
their arms so that they could fulfill their
Yeah.
orders. We
When you
all
level
know
up,
the
you have the thing
Half-Life
that
2
goes
leak.
like you
It
have a
portrayed
fast
a
skill
vastly
point when
different
you
version
are
of the game we eventually
like on
received.
over
The
your like
locations and creatures had a more dystopian
I can't
and
remember.
darker
It's like
feel.
in the
For
top
the
left.
most part, I prefer
Oh.
the retail version of Half-Life.
Yeah,
but there
It's
were
fine.
elements that
I can
feel
send
we
you
missed
that
out
thing
on.
again.
One of which was the
So-
cremator.
What thing?
I wish we had received that. At least we had a
picture,
sort of Easter egg
so-
with its head in a jar in Eli's
Why do I
lab.
need pictures?
That
Anyway,
crossroads.
in this leak, the
Just a little
stalkers were to
explain.
be encountered throughout most of the game,
like,
found
in-
frequently in the
Pictures
cut
worth
air
1,000
exchange
words.
level and on the Borealis, which
Mm,
in the
I like
beta
hearing your
was
words
not
better.
this mysterious ship built by Apple
Unless it's
Science
picture view,
that had
and
immense
especially if
technology
it's your
on
butt,
it.
then
It was just a
that's-
normal
that's
ship
fine.
that transported goods.
You're
One
on
of
my
these
stream.
goods were the stalkers, which were stored in hanging cages.
I didn't know you were streaming because you didn't send me the fucking link.
Yeah, I did.
Secret resistance base.
You did?
Base. Elena Mossman was
Fuck
the
me.
original version of Judith Mossman. From what I can tell, they had a similar
edit that out?
storyline. For enemies
Not
so well designed
it's not
and
forever.
apparently implemented pretty well into the game, what happened to them? Although
Well-
Valve had a brilliant vision for the stalkers,
That's
they
nice.
found that these creatures were
yeah.
not fun
So,
to
like,
work with. Valve did create
was wrong about
various
going on the
gameplay
bottom
puzzles for the
side.
players to solve using them. An example
Oh,
is using
yeah.
the stalkers to cut through
You
sheets
were
of
what?
metal with their laser
happened?
beams. But even these were considered
Pouring
boring
water for the
tasks to
kitties.
perform.
Just like
Valve determined that
that-
the majority of the sequences
Just
that
work,
involved
like,
the
that's the
stalkers
next
appeared
10
scripted
levels
and
of your
stagey. So,
levels.
unfortunately,
Oh, okay.
they were
So-
taken out of the game, redesigned, and
Alright.
Once you're done with
reintroduced
that,
to
you
have a
can-
different role in the story
Oh.
of Half-Life. With the release of Half-Life 2 after the leak, players obviously noted the
Okay.
huge difference between the games. Half-Life 2 was still a dark game, but it was a lighter tone.
Okay.
We
Oh,
also had to wait
yeah.
until
I'm gonna
the
go ahead
end
and
of
join your
Half-Life
stream
2
now,
and
and,
later in Half-Life 2 Episode 1 to discover what happened to the stalkers.
Seeing what the fuck
They
you're doing.
follow a similar lore, but they have a huge visual
I missed an
difference.
ascendance.
Looking at these side by side, the
So,
stalkers in the retail version,
grab it.
although terrible, are pretty tame in comparison to the beta. The beta skin is literally
It's like right
stitched
here.
together
Did
to
I
keep
miss
it
one?
on.
Because I only had one so
The
far.
worst part about the
Yeah, you
beta
must-
stalker
you
is
must
the
have.
belt around their spine.
Where is it?
It is incredibly
It'll tell
uncomfortable
you
to look
when you-
at. The retail version
Like,
is more fleshed
when you
out.
reach
They
Reach
have had
Act
a
3,
similar
it'll tell you.
transformation in terms of losing their hands, lower legs, organs, reproductive system, and so on. But just look at the difference in hip bones. In the beta, we can see the bone. It's disgusting to look at. They also had a completely different function in the game. Instead of stalking the player, these stalkers are shown to
know if this
operate
is the
combat
right
machinery in
one.
the
Okay.
Citadel to keep it running. They are
Okay, I
huge
see you.
drones that operate machinery, and they are extremely passive. Unless the player interacts with them, they will ignore you and just get on with their tasks, which begs the question, why are they still called stalkers? I would like to think that maybe the Combine used them for stalking in other parts of the world. Maybe. This change in their functionality in Half-Life 2 also took away part of that emotional impact Ted wanted to portray with the creatures. Sure, the retail version of the stalkers.
But yeah,
are
next
still
time you start
tragic,
streaming, you got
but
to warn
as
a
the
bitch,
player,
because I
we
don't
could
be looking
just
at
ignore
Discord when I'm
the
talking to you.
interaction.
Unless you
But in the
specifically tell
beta,
me to look at
we were preyed
Discord.
upon by them and had to make that choice to put them out of their misery, completely aware of what they had once been. I named my first Stalker lore video.
Nah.
A
All
Fate
flustered
Worse
now. Where
Than
the fuck
Death,
do I go?
And these still carry that name, but the beta stalkers are something else. A truly terrifying existence.
Wait.
I understand
That-
why Valve changed
what is
the
that?
function of
Is
the
that the
stalkers in
waypoint
terms of
that I already
cosmetics,
have? Yeah,
but
probably.
I still wish they had kept their original design. It's haunting and adds a more terrifying feel to the Half-Life universe. I also wish that they had kept that stalking element. They would have been great to
Alright, so
encounter
the guy I
in
need to
Reagan,
kill
the canals of City 17, and
is
maybe even in the halls of Nova Prospect as
somewhere
you
in
work
here.
your way through the prison. Out
There's
of
some
all
big
of the
motherfuckers.
creatures and changes Valve made from the beta, this is one I would have loved
This
to have
toxic
seen
shot
in retail.
thing, though,
Here,
or
we
toxic
explore
rain,
in the lore and story behind the headcrabs
really
and
good.
zombies of Half-Life.
really fucking good. I like it.
Far away from
But-
planet Earth, the homeworld of the Gonarch and its children connected to the border world of Zen,
Like if
a
you
place between
choose Ranger,
dimensions
this
and
is
space.
definitely
During this connection,
a way
some of
to
this
go.
species traversed across and explored this new land
you wanted
of
to do something
floating
else,
islands. However, this
could've gone
connection was
something else,
limited
but
and
if
left
you're
these
gonna-
new inhabitants stranded. Nothing
Well,
was
you know
noted
how I
as
feel
that
about
all
hunter
planetary
classes.
creatures had traveled
It's
across,
pretty much my
just like
favorite
the
as far
Gonarch
as
had.
DPS
This
classes
was a
go.
unique place with a diverse, dangerous ecosystem formed from travelers across dimensions.
This is your
As it wandered the extraordinary
poison shot.
islands of Zen, the Gonarch, a large, powerful creature on 4 legs with a reproductive sac in its center, gave birth to countless tiny headcrabs as it moved. These tiny creatures had just begun their first life
fucking
stage,
touch
and
me.
the Gonarch was what they would become in their final
Eh.
stage. This, of course, depended on their decisions as they grew to reach that point.
So what's
As the
life
creator of these
so
many
deep there?
children, the Gonarch became highly aggressive towards anything
Hey,
that
what the
came near
hell?
it and attacked on sight with a charge.
I was totally
or
watching
through the
you
creation
in them.
of an
Did you turn your
acidic
shit off?
projectile.
Nope.
The children, dubbed headcrabs by humanity,
Or did I turn your
were
shit off?
much smaller than their
What the fuck?
parent, and over time grew to the size
Did you
of
restream?
around 8.5
I'm
pounds and
confused.
wandered Zen. On Earth,
I just
the
looked
Black
down at my
Mesa
fucking
research
tablet to see what you were
facility
doing.
the border world of Zen as the
And it was on my
experimental
fucking home
and
screen. I'm like, what the fuck
technology.
just happened?
Following
Oh,
this,
this
they
is
set up
ridiculous.
survey teams to explore
What?
the islands and constructed labs to study the samples
like
of
stuck.
Zen these teams brought
and I can't
back.
dash out because
Within the Advanced Biological Research Lab
It
and
just
the Gamma
puts me in
Labs,
the fucking-
scientists took a
it
keen
puts me in
interest
there.
in the head crab. Here,
This is
just like
ridiculous.
every other Zenian creature they acquired, the Black
sorry.
Mesa personnel attempted to understand the biology and life
we got
cycle
out.
of
We
the
didn't
head
boys.
crab. This was a particularly interesting
let-
specimen
Why is
as they did
so
not look
Australian?
wrestling in appearance, but
Huh?
the scientists did notice
Because
that
I got
these
on an
heavy balls of
Australian
flesh
server.
with legs
When she
tended
says I'm not
look
up to that
anything
just yet, she's
along
like,
them
I'm not
that
up to
looked
that. I can't even do it because it just comes out as a British
human.
fucking accent. Australian is
To the
hard.
scientists, these
But-
creatures were incredibly
It's not Australian.
dangerous. They discovered from
Huh?
observation
It's not
and
Australian.
analysis that the headcrabs were
Close.
Her
capable of
accent?
surviving
Close,
on
but
both
it's not
plant-based
Australian.
and meat
Fucking-
diets, and although
What,
they
she
were
New
small,
Zealand?
their legs
Close
were
enough.
able
Like,
to
is-
clumsily propel
Same
their
fucking
bodies
thing,
a great
dude.
distance of an average of 10 feet at a target.
yeah,
as
the
they
makers of this
attempted
game
to
are
reach them.
from
Their
New Zealand.
jumps at this point were guided by 6 eyes that helped them line up their attacks. 3 eyes just below each of their front legs.
So that's
Mesa
why it's
didn't
so
add the
laggy.
eyes to their revamped model, so here is the original lore-friendly model
Alright.
from Half-Life. Flipped over.
So am I
Black
supposed to
Mesa
go in
scientists
here?
discovered
Is
the
this
headcrab's
big
most
fucking square
impressive,
bullshit?
or should I say most
Something I'm
terrifying
supposed to be
feature. A
fucking
large, gaping mouth that
doing?
allowed the creatures to feed on their prey
It's just
and hold on tight to their
nothing
target.
in here.
Inside their mouth,
Just
the
some
scientists
motherfucking
also
room.
found a
Did you
hidden beak
kill the
that,
bandit there?
upon study, allowed them to take in nutrients
In the
and
ruins?
even had the strength to break through a human
I didn't-
skull. On Zen, the survey teams also observed where the headcrabs fell
No.
in the food chain in this unique ecosystem. They
I'm
were
trying to
placed near
find the
bottom
bandit.
as another species, the Vortigaunt, caught them. kept
I was
them
looking
in
around
cages
this
and
fucking
roasted them on
thing,
wood
because this
fire.
looks like a
The
thing I
Skeleton
should be
also
inside.
noticed that the bull
But
skull
apparently
seemingly
it's
had
just
a natural
fucking
disdain for the head crabs and
some
hunted them
bullshit to
down
distract
on
me.
sight. The analysis of this species
Yeah.
had given Black Mesa
A lot
a
of bullshit
great
to distract
insight
you
into the border world of Zen.
in this game.
But there was just one more feature the headcrabs had not yet displayed. Something horrific. The exploration of Zen gave Black Mesa a greater understanding of how the border world functioned. Unfortunately, this mission also came with great risk. Zen was a dangerous place,
Something?
and casualties happened
This
from
looks
time
like
to
somewhere
time.
I'm supposed
The
to
personnel
go.
also learned the hard way what happened when the headcrab managed to successfully leap onto a human. If a headcrab were to
Why are
make
these
a
guys not
successful
attacking
leap,
me?
it used its weight and muscles around its mouth
'Cause
to
that's the
firmly
bandit.
fix itself into position. At this point, the victim had little chance to push the creature
Okay,
off.
so I want to kill
Ready for
all
the
of these
next
motherfuckers.
stage, the headcrab used its hidden beak to break through the skull to gain access to the brain. This is where the true nightmare began. With exposure to the human brain, the headcrabs tapped into the brainstem and took over their basic motor functions, which in turn allowed them to control
So I'm at
the human
a really
body.
key
They were
point
the
in
perfect parasite.
the game.
As a result of this connection between human
Because
and headcrab, the human's biology changed.
I can,
Those unfortunate enough to witness this watched
in
as the
this area
host's
where I'm
flesh
at, the
deteriorated
library,
as their skin and
there's
organs
a
broke down, and
NPC
their
that
fingers grew out
sells
into sharp
all the skill
claws.
gems in the game.
However, they still retained
Except
the ability
for
to
this-
walk and interact
there are
with the
super rare
environment
ones that you
around
can
them.
only drop
Even when injured, the hosts remained
from
upright
loot.
due to their connection to the
obviously,
parasite.
but
In some cases, the host's ribcage even ripped open to reveal the slight
like,
biological changes the
most
headcrab
gem,
had
like,
made as it formed a stronger hold over
this is where the
unwilling
gem
host.
vendor is, basically.
This transformation process was noted to
So-
take
How do
anywhere
I get
from several
the
seconds
Western
to
Forest?
several minutes, depending on the host and
when you
the
go
will
out back
of
to
the
town, you have
headcrab.
to go out
The
and
worst
then
part
go
about
left.
this was that the host was kept
Instead of
alive
going
and
out
conscious
to the right.
throughout the entire procedure, as they felt every ounce of pain, desperate for escape. Although having lost control over most of their body, the hosts were still able to plead for help. But as a result of the headcrab's influence, their desperate pleas came out backwards.
Who is Emily? Who is this
process
bitch?
had a harrowing
talking in
effect
my
on the
shit?
host's
I
body.
feel like I need to
Some
answer her.
scientists wondered if a host could survive.
Oh, she's not
if
there
the
anymore.
headcrab was
Well,
removed.
fuck me.
Even now, many years later,
If I type something in the chat, will people see it if they come in after I type it?
Far into the
I don't know.
transformation, the parasite
Probably.
was removed. The further along, the less likely. With the initial variation of the human and headcrab combination labeled as the zombie, the scientists also saw over time that as these zombies matured, some grew stronger, their claws grew even longer, they became more aggressive, and their bodies adapted to the biological substances injected from the headcrab. This variation was labeled the gonome. With full control of a human host, the headcrab zombies became instantly hostile and attempted to kill everything around them. As they wandered around,
Twitch is
they did
cool
not appear to be
'cause
phased by
it's
potential
sort of like a
dangers in the
different
area.
vibe.
It was later noted that
Because
even
people
when
will
they came
go
into contact
to,
with
like, a
fire,
game that you're,
sharp
like, streaming,
objects, or
right?
the various
And then,
other dangers of
like,
the
literally
world,
go,
the
like,
zombies
scroll to the
continued
bottom
in their
and
path
look at
to
people
kill
with
its
zero,
target.
like, views.
These parasites
Like,
appear
zero
to be
viewers and start watching
unfazed
them.
by the damage to their hosts' bodies.
Whereas you
This
don't
could
have that
not be said for the
discoverability on
humans who screamed
YouTube.
in pain and begged for this awful existence to end. They had been through so much and were still very much conscious. This symbiotic relationship between headcrab and host appeared to be a perfect match, even though the species had never met
Sorry,
before the
I can't hear you.
discovery
You
of
sound
Zen.
underwater.
This suggested that while
I
these
sound
creatures came
underwater.
from another world,
Oh.
their world did have a process very similar to the
Sound better now?
headcrab
Yeah.
and host. Regardless,
Because I opened
more
Twitch
humanity
on my
would soon
phone
become
and
aware
was
of
watching my own
and
stream.
how it could
Um,
control a human.
Goat, hi. Buckler.
In the
Is that a
early
fucking
2000s,
headpiece? What
the
is
Black
that?
Mesa Research Facility
buckler?
conducted an experiment
Oh, it
that
doesn't
went
matter.
wrong,
Chance to
which
block.
led to a
A
resonance
buckler is a
cascade.
shield.
This essentially meant
Oh.
that a hole
It's an
was
ugly
created in
little
space
shield.
between Earth
This
and
shield
Zen,
bigger.
and as a result, the
I
creatures
need
of
these
Zen were
mitts.
pulled
No, I
through
have
to
mitts.
Earth. A leader of
This
Zen,
bow.
Nylanth, also took advantage of this situation and sent through its forces to conquer this new world. Over the following hours,
Okay, I'll tell you now, you just want a short bow that has
and attacked
1.5 attacks per second
as they
and good
attempted to
slots.
escape this facility on the brink
Okay,
of
this is the
complete
one I have.
failure.
Yeah.
With so many
Oh.
headcrabs
Is-
scattered
Your
across the
damage
claustrophobic
doesn't
halls of
scale
Black
off.
Mesa, it did not take long for them to find hosts to control.
Like the damage your
and
bow
soon,
does.
the halls filled with headcrab zombies, each
It
human
scales,
in
like, it scales
excruciating
mainly
pain
off your
under the
like
control
toxic brain.
of their new masters. To the luck
And
of
the
these
skills and
humans,
support
the
skills
next
you put
day,
on.
a military force, with the help of a mysterious figure, activated a thermonuclear device and released them from their pain as the entire Black Mesa research facility
Wait, what did I just
was purged
stash?
of all life. Shortly after the fall of Black Mesa, one of the scientists, Dr. Gordon Freeman,
Probably
moved
need
to
whatever that
the
is.
Zenian invasion and closed the rift between Earth and
I didn't
Zen.
accidentally stash
Although
any
the resonance
fucking quest
cascade had
items in here.
ended,
You can't
the
stash
headcrabs
craft
that had been
items.
pulled through to the rest of
Okay.
Earth had no way to return
Alright.
home and were here to stay.
Okay, so you said I
Along with the
needed to
other
go
creatures, the stranded aliens
out
fought
into
with
the right
humanity,
or out
and
to the
this
left?
was their new home.
From
In
here?
humanity's
This
weakened
way?
state, another alien force,
Yep.
the Combine, invaded
The
planet
riverways?
and
Yep.
successfully accepted the submission of humanity in a mere 7 hours. Over the following years, the Combine adapted the planet to solidify their hold over humanity. They created settlements to hold the humans and fought with the remaining Zenian life forms to keep them outside of these safe havens. During this time, a resistance formed against the Combine, and as opposing forces, they worked on ways to fight against each other. One of the leaders of the resistance, Dr. Isaac Kleiner, captured a headcrab and managed to domesticate it by removing its beak. This did not remove Lamar's need to jump onto the heads of the humans she interacted with, but she could no longer hurt them. Over a decade after the Combine's invasion and the headcrab's migration to Earth, resistance scientists noticed a change in the
Guess I
headcrab
can't cross
biology.
this river.
The 6 eyes they had once used to target a foe simply disappeared. This could have been a design choice by Valve between games to make the headcrabs appear more menacing,
either of these.
or this could have been an evolutionary change to adapt to their new environment on planet Earth, and as a result, would have learned to use other methods to navigate the wasteland. The most interesting part about this time period was that the population of the planet discovered new variations of the headcrab, and there
Like,
were
look at my
3
screen.
potential reasons as to why they had
This
not been
chick
spotted
has
before.
every gem.
The first,
basically.
they had just not been discovered yet. The second, an evolutionary change as a result of their new
I
environment.
don't have the currency to buy what I need. I put all my currency in my
by
stash
the
just
Combine.
before I came here
The
because I cleaned up
resistance
my
discovered a
inventory.
subspecies of headcrab that had
That's
the
right.
ability to withstand
She's right
large
next to the
amounts of
waypoint,
damage
so
and ammunition.
go.
Labeled the armored headcrab,
That's
this
just
variation
funny.
appeared to have been preyed upon by a
I
Zenian
have the
fungus,
currency, I just
and as a result,
don't have
this
the currency.
floral parasitic growth had managed to attach itself to the headcrab and grown on
On
it.
the
This allowed
waypoint.
the growth to spread its seeds.
Alright, what am I doing here? Like, what is the goal of me being here?
To find the area, like,
anything that has
I think one of the bandits isn't.
This
No,
was a mutually
of the
beneficial
bandits is
relationship. However,
to the
this
top
hard layer of
left.
protection only applied to the top of the headcrab
Um,
and still left its mouth.
I don't know what
vulnerable.
bandits. I killed
Even more
bandits.
you
vulnerable
killed one
than the
bandit.
standard
You would kill
headcrab.
3 of them.
If this headcrab were able
Read
to
them,
take hold
like,
of a host,
the mission on
zombie
your screen.
acted in a similar way to the
says,
standard. The
travel to the
resistance
western
was found
front or
these
the
harder to
wetlands.
kill due to that
Is this the
armored
wetlands?
shell.
That's the riverways
The
and the
lightning dog,
wetlands.
also known as
I think they're-
revivers or runners,
they're
were
both
discovered
connected
by
to that.
Alex Vance during her time in the quarantine zone. These creatures share similarities with the headcrabs in terms of their size and the ability to manipulate the human structure, and are thought to either be cousins or another subspecies of the headcrab. These had a bioluminescent skin, a tail, and their limbs were connected by a thin sheet of tissue. This allowed them to move quickly as they attempted to find a host when under attack. It should also be noted that the entity name inside of the Half-Life Alyx game files is NPC Headcrab Runner. These terrifying variants had the ability to manipulate electrical currents, which in turn allowed them to affect the machinery around them, and they even fired electrical spit at their targets. As a lone creature,
Alright,
the
that looks like a
lightning
boss.
injured those around it, but it was more dangerous when it was paired with a human. The lightning dog's behavior
also
was
looks
similar
like it
to
might
the
be.
headcrab,
No.
but they did have some differences. The lightning dog was only shown to be able to take control of a dead headcrab zombie, and instead of taking control through the brain, they were able to burrow into the chest cavity to revive their host. These electrified zombies were able
Why
to
would anybody play any class but this one?
creations. On a more interesting note,
other
these
classes,
were aware
like,
of how much
like, why would
damage
anyone
the
play
host
anything
could
but Hunter?
withstand, and if the
Because
human
other
started
classes
to
do
break
other
down,
things better.
they left their host and looked for another one. To fight back, the
Yeah, but
electric
this-
zombie
they
had
don't
the
get
ability to fire bursts of electricity
toxic
to
rain,
the
man.
attacker, and use flashes of light and smoke to distract their enemies when cornered in an attempt
Yeah,
to
Toxic
escape.
Rain's pretty fun.
When killed, the
That-
lightning dog
who's that?
used an electric
That guy's-
orb.
That's a
These
strong
orbs
guy.
were
How big?
also noted to be compatible
He's
with Combine
getting-
technology.
He's just dead.
This could indicate
He is
that the
dead.
Combine
Oh,
either
yeah.
designed some of their technology
Close.
around the
Nice.
biology of this creature. It was a coincidence, or the Combine had developed these creatures themselves. Interestingly
give me my
enough, it should be
alterations,
noted
'cause
that
I'm an
the
idiot.
armored headcrab and the lightning
Give
dog
me all
were
my
not
currency.
spotted in City 17.
What this
or the
composite
race
bow
map
looks like.
approximately 5 years later,
This is
which suggests
not
that they either
letting
died
me
out,
see.
evolved into something else, or were
You
just
don't want
not
to.
seen
You
by
don't
the
need a composite bow.
resistance.
If you've got the 1.5 attack
Although
speed bow,
not a zombie created as a combination
short
of
bow.
human and
That's-
headcrab. During her
all you
adventure
need.
through the quarantine zone of City 17, Alex Vance discovered Jeff in an old distillery. Jeff
Okay.
was a zombie that had had a similar affliction to the armored headcrab, in which the parasitic Xenium flora had managed to infect him with their spores. As a result of this fungus, it adapted this hazmat worker's biology and split open his bloated
Okay.
head to
So I
form a
need
large mouth
determination.
with sharp teeth. As the infection continued to adapt him, his fingers grew out similar to a headcrab zombie, and huge growths grew on his skin.
requires
Due
some
to
strength
this,
that I
the
don't have.
parasite that controlled
Fine.
Jeff became highly aggressive.
Get some
Without
strength
eyes,
somehow.
he grew to rely on his excellent
I know
hearing
exactly
to
how to
navigate
get
his
some strength.
surroundings and attacked anything that came into contact
Okay, I
with
can
him,
wear these
regardless
boots.
of whether they were
Increase my
human
energy
or
shield, max
As a
life,
symbiote of
resistance,
human and Xenium
stun and
flora,
block
Jeff was
recovery.
extremely strong and excreted spores
And this
and
is
spread
what?
them across the distillery.
A
Jeff
shield.
was not a standard zombie. Currently, he is the only known unfortunate
to
human
terms.
afflicted by a
that's
Xenian
what I want.
floral parasite. Approximately 20 years after the Combine's invasion of planet Earth, the Resistance frequently came across three variations of the headcrab. The standard, fast and poison. The armored and lightning dog have not been documented after this point.
What's
The
this?
fast variant was once again very similar to the standard headcrab, but as in its name, it was much faster. The Resistance could tell the difference between the standard as
Oh,
these were slimmer,
nice.
smoother, and had much longer legs with claws at the end of them. At this point, the quick identification of the subspecies of headcrab could save a life. These
Multiple
headcrabs
totems.
also appear to be more intelligent than the others as they planned attacks. With the use of their longer legs, they held onto surfaces and waited for their prey to come to them. This gave them an advantage as they simply waited for a potential host to walk below, drop down onto their head and
Cast
began
one
the
damage
process to
taken.
take over. These were also noted to travel in groups to maximize their efforts to injure or attach to a host. when coupled to a victim. These headcrabs dramatically adjusted the biology of the host even more than the standard headcrab. This change left the host only with their skeletal frame and muscles. This in turn allowed them to move extremely quickly as they climbed buildings, jumped, ran on four legs, and howled to alert others of prey. Once again, these travelled in groups to maximise their efforts to take down their prey with their claws. All of this while their host was excruciating pain. The final known subspecies discovered was the poison headcrab. This variant could be perceived as the most dangerous by far, as it used its fangs to deploy a deadly stream of neurotoxin into its prey. These were identified by the resistance by their darker skin, hairy legs, and coloured markings similar to that of a spider. To counter this deadly neurotoxin, the resistance had to rely on antidotes to counter the effects of it. Luckily, these were also noted to be the slowest of all headcrab variants and even gave out a recognizable sound, a rattle, when it spotted a victim.
I need
This essentially gave the potential prey who recognized this noise
Here's the wetlands.
before they were attacked. These were also discovered to be the most intelligent of the headcrab species and actively hunted their prey. They were aware of the dangers of the natural elements, analysed their situation if they were in danger, and if necessary, retreated in order to survive. After they weakened their prey, this variation did just what the others did, became one with a human. However, this connection was slightly different. Their host swelled up and fell victim to multiple poison headcrabs to feed on as they wandered around in pain. Upon discovery of a potential target, the headcrabs would leave the host to poison them. This weakened state then allowed the host to finish off the attack.
Why would you want to buy it?
That was unless they wanted to use
because you can set up.
Although the poison zombie did attempt to strike at foes with its claws, the resistance theorized that these hosts were used more for a breeding purpose to lay eggs inside to create more poison.
A totem that
this
supports
would make sense due to the number of
toxic
headcrabs
rain
attached to the host.
So
That
you have a
is just
totem
one
that's
of
casting
many
toxic rain, and you
theories
cast
of this
toxic rain, and
complex
then
parasite.
everything's getting toxic rain.
As the resistance grew stronger and recruited more members across the wasteland, the Combine had to become more creative in how they dealt with them. As they continued to explore and analyze the uses of the Xenian creatures that have found themselves on Earth after the Resonance Cascade, they used the headcrabs to create something new, the headcrab shell. This shell was essentially a hollow projectile filled with captured headcrabs that the Combine could send off to resistance bases to take them out from afar. The best part about this was that when it landed inside of enemy lines, the payload opened and released an infestation of headcrabs. The headcrab shell initiative was responsible for not only the fall of some of the resistance bases across the underground, but it was also instrumental in the fall of Ravenholm.
You get a toxic rain, and you get a toxic rain. Everybody's getting
of zombies. The thought of using these small creatures in general worked for the Combine.
Fuck, I didn't mean to enter this bitch. Damn it.
With little effort. Unfortunately, working with creatures like this was still dangerous for them. During the uprising, as the Combine lost control of City 17, some of the human police faction, the Combine Overwatch, also fell prey to their own biological weapons.
I don't understand the point of these, because the fucking loot isn't even worth the hassle.
Under the control
What do you
of a
mean?
headcrab.
Yeah, I started skipping them ages ago.
Those around only heard the
I didn't.
rumblings of a
I
broken
fell down
tree.
here on accident. That's the only reason I'm here.
Yeah. When you're
Born
being
from a
an
gun
actual
knock,
loot
the
goblin
headcrab
later
came
on,
from a faraway
you'll
world,
want
and
to
through many
juice up
migrations, landed on Earth and attempted to live.
your
Although
things.
small, they were feared by most of the
You'll want to
population
do it
of the
later.
planet, which was made worse
But
after the
right now
Combine
it's
used
kind of
them
pointless.
as biological weapons.
Like,
the headcrabs
that
went
was
through
what I
many
said, is like,
variations, standard,
You
armored,
just want to
lightning
get
dog,
through the
fast
campaign
and
and
poison.
get to
The
later
armored
on.
was a result of a Xenian fungal infection, but the rest were likely created by the Combine to control humanity. With this many variations out there, what are
have
the
one of
chances
these,
that
do I need two
evolution
of these?
created even more dangerous headcrabs that no one
Technically you
has seen
want
yet? The headcrab had two
many of
potential
things,
paths to
but-
go down in their life cycle. Continue to grow until they eventually turn
Because
into
this
a gonad
league
to bring more
ends,
headcrabs into
I
the
am not gonna
universe,
be
or
sick.
find a humanoid and live out the rest of
that,
their days as a zombie. It should be noted that the
try hard right
Vortigaunts,
now.
another humanoid species, were never shown to fall
Huh?
prey
Flame
to
damage,
these
perfect.
parasites. This could have been because they were not
Skeletons.
compatible, or the Vortigaunts were just
With,
too good at defending themselves.
How do I get out of here?
Regardless, there are still many questions that plague this parasitic species. Did the Combine really create the new variants? Can all
Can
of
you
them grow
scroll?
into
Like, can you
gonads?
use this
And
to
what
get outta
species
here?
did they have on their homeworld that they used as hosts?
I don't know.
The headcrab species, as well as the rest of the Half-Life
don't wanna do
universe,
that.
is still full of mystery.
Unless you got the
Well, I
weight.
definitely-
One day we will
Did you
find
get
Yeah,
that?
that's what I was gonna
answers
say.
to
Don't want to do that because I didn't get the waypoint.
Here we
If you just
explore
run in, like,
in
one
the
direction,
lore and
you'll-
story behind the Civil Protection. On the 7th hour of the Combine's brutal
I keep
invasion
finding dead
of
ends.
Earth, they ravaged humanity with their superior technology and
Just
war
follow where the
preparation.
wisp, like where the
As
colors
Earth's
are.
army slowly succumbed to their
It's
forces,
the opposite of
one man
mechanics.
managed to
Go
contact
where the
the
colours
Empire
are.
through an unknown method and offered humanity's servitude
buy
in return
things,
for
go.
their lives. In response to Dr. Wallace Breen's request, they
Right.
accepted
I went
his
to where they
offer
all
and
are.
later anointed him as Earth's administrator.
Okay.
He had offered submission on behalf of humanity.
What the
There
fuck?
were still some who disagreed
What
with
the
his
fuck kind of
actions
bullshit is
and
this?
continued to
I come
fight
out and there's like
against
30
the new
monsters.
Combine rule.
Fuck
To
you.
this, the Combine understood that one man could not
Get ready.
control and guide an entire
Get
It's
off
like
population,
immediate
and so
aggro.
they needed a way to keep the outliers in line. Over time, the Combine moved
You
the
gonna cry?
human and Vortigaunt population into
No.
Combine-controlled settlements, and
I'm
to
a little
watch over
bitch,
them,
I'm
they
just
formed
saying.
the Civil Protection Program, a sort of Combine-led law enforcement.
I'm just kidding, I am a little bitch. I cry all the fucking time.
system that would allow them to instill even more
Did I just
fear,
fucking die?
control, and
How
submission
did that happen?
to humanity.
Get ready.
Within City 17, the Combine took
It doesn't
over
matter,
the
it just started
vacant
me where I
buildings
literally
and
just-
adapted them for their various
Came out,
goals.
yeah.
One of these buildings was turned
Do I
into
need
the
one or two
Overwatch Nexus,
efficacies?
the
Two
headquarters for all
efficacies.
Overwatch forces in the city, where an AI
says you
system,
can buy
simply labeled
fucking
Overwatch, sent out orders to
multiple-
its units. Regarded by Overwatch as protection or Metropolis, the Combine asked for human volunteers to join them in their efforts to keep control and balance to not only the citizens of City
These multiple
17,
totems now
but
are
to
rare.
every urban area on the planet, where those who came forward were offered
Right.
benefits and rewards in this dark age for humanity. In these Combine-controlled regions, the human population were
Oh, this
with
guy is kinda
limited
strong.
freedom, space, and food. Even their
Yeah, it's
ability
stronger
to procreate
because you
was
killed-
taken away.
You went into that thing. and
City
killed it.
17 and the rest of the planet was a miserable place, but in
the
the
fuck?
shadows, a secret resistance had formed and was growing slowly. In these dark times,
Oh, there's some
the
motherfuckers
desperate
hitting me?
of
Get outta
humanity
here. You
jumped at the
little,
Combine's
you ain't
offer
gonna do
of a
shit.
better life, where they signed up to become a part of the Civil Protection. In a more terrifying thought,
Fuck you,
there were others who actually agreed with and believed in the Combine's
kinda
agenda
wild.
and joined the human arm of
That's
their army
kinda fair,
to play
also.
their part. As a reward for joining, these volunteers were
I
given
wasn't
additional rations and
expecting this.
better living
I wasn't
conditions,
expecting
much
this. Holy
nicer
shit,
than the
what the fuck
locations they had been
going
forced to live
on?
in. And for those who believed in the
We
Combine's
kill it.
We
agenda,
got that, we got
they
that,
took
we got
advantage
that.
of the greatest
We
privilege,
got that, we got
power,
that.
and authority. Something that
think
had been
that's
completely
rare.
stripped from them as a result of the invasion,
Orb of a
where they became the Combine's
what,
police
alteration?
force. Having been given an elevated position in society, they had the choice on how to treat the citizens around them, to be a good cop or a bad cop. In return for these
disperse the
privileges,
curse.
the civil protection followed the
Fuck
orders
that.
of the Overwatch, and in addition to these privileges, they were
cost
even
redemption.
given additional rewards for completing tasks, one of which overheard from the Overwatch being a non-mechanical reproduction simulation. Although it is unclear what this exactly was, some believe it was sexual in nature. On the flip side, there were also threats given to those who did not perform their duties to an expected standard, where the
Damn,
phrase
cost redemption
family
shaken's rare too.
cohesion was used to intimidate and threaten the officers.
So I'm
suggesting
assuming
the
that when
Combine
you're
used
watching my
family members
and I
of
probably
these
could answer
units
this myself because I
to
watched my own
submission.
stream, I just didn't pay
For the
attention.
members of this group that
Like, you
fulfilled
can't
their
see
roles
my
well
chat box
and
on
aimed
my
to progress
fucking
their
TV
ranking
screen,
in
right?
civil protection. There were options available for
I
them,
can see your.
but this came with biological modifications. Something
No,
that
like
most
not the
expressed
in-game chat
they
box,
did
but like
not
the
have
Twitch chat
to
box.
The
participate
Twitch
in.
chat box is on the side of
Over
my screen.
time, more of the population
Yeah,
became
but you
desperate
can't
with their
see it
dire
on the
circumstances,
video.
where
Like,
the
you can't
promise
see
of
my
additional
side of it,
rations
right?
forced them to choose between their
I
friends
see
and
Emily
family
Adam
or a
1998.
decent meal. Thus,
see that you're
as
passionate
more
about the game,
joined the
question mark.
Combine,
You
the
can see
human
the
arm
chat.
of the
Like,
Combine
that's not what I'm
grew.
asking.
As members of the
You
Combine
can see the
groups,
chat on
these
Twitch,
volunteers
but, like,
did commit acts
you
that
can't
would have
see it
normally gone
as
against
I see it,
everything
right?
they
Like, you don't
believed
see it the same way that
just
I
so
see
that
it.
their lives
Because on the
could be more
PlayStation, it
bearable
looks
in the
different.
Combine
Like, there's a
controlled
little...
world.
Yes.
Do you see a
Out
cat
into the
icon on the
streets
top
their
right of
respective
my
cities.
stream
Yeah.
screen?
These
Like, if you
officers
Yeah.
were
dive
fitted
it,
with uniforms
do?
and bulletproof vests
Really?
to protect
Alright, I
them
gotta go
against
look at
resistance
this
attacks
and
the
see what you
various
see,
threats that
because
came
I'm
from
confused.
The wasteland. On the back of their collar and on their right
Alright.
armbands, they were also given
Alright, I think
identification
I've
on the
got all the
location
skills I
they were
can buy.
stationed in. For example,
really need-
the unit stationed in City 17 had C17.
That is good, but
By joining the civil
Oh, you
protection,
can see it.
there
Okay.
was the stigma that came with turning
Well, that's
from their own
annoying.
species. Luckily,
I gotta
part
change
of their
that.
uniform included a mask.
why?
Not only did this conceal their faces from their
Oh
family,
no, because
friends,
it doesn't
and
look as
neighbors that
good.
would pass them on the streets, but it also
Fine.
included
I
a
guess it
coder
doesn't matter.
that distorted
I don't
their
think it
voices.
matters.
Whether the Combine planned
I
for
just,
this to
I
be
don't
the
want
case
people
is
getting
unknown,
self-conscious
but
to
it
see their own
benefited
name, but
those
that might
who
be
went
like a
down this
benefit.
path. With these units stationed all over the planet in
is
Combine-controlled settlements, they were set to work in shifts in their respective
summon
cities,
Skitterbots.
where their main roles were to patrol and guard crucial areas.
It says I
look
have
out
2
for any
viewers right
suspicious
now,
activities
and I'm
that
wondering
could
if that other
interfere with
viewer
the
is
Combine
me.
agenda, and generally keep the peace.
know.
But over the years, this had
Probably
become
is.
harder as more and more
Because I just opened it to
humanity
see.
and Vortigaunt alike had joined the resistance. With a growing following and more manpower, they kept the civil protection busy and made their roles more dangerous. These activities ranged from raiding and stealing supplies from Combine regions to forming new resistance bases across the wasteland to increase
Alright, where
the
the fuck
holding
are
of
you,
the
these
land,
motherfucking
something
pirates?
that the Combine and
Ooh.
Wallace did not want to happen. So, whenever the
motherfucking
Combine,
pirates
and
on
as
this
such,
motherfucking plane.
Overwatch became aware of any illegal activities, they alerted their civil protection officers to raid the homes of those they believed conspired against them, transported them to Combine regions, and tortured them for any information they had about the resistance movement. To do this, the civil protection, all labelled by the resistance, the CP, were given the equipment they needed to perform their duties. Throughout City 17 and the other cities across the wasteland, the officers made use of scanners and
People aren't
directed
running
them
this
to wander the
moment,
streets
but I'm
and
gonna
capture the
run it.
faces
Fuck.
of the residents. From these, if needed, they could view these
Dude, I'm
images within
so
their masks
fucking
so that
happy
they
to
knew
have
exactly
a
who
controller
they were looking for in
that
Overwatch.
doesn't have
As the
buttons
civil
sticking and
protection
shit.
all followed the orders of Overwatch. Their masks were equipped
I like
with
hide my
radios
controller when
so
I go
that they could
places. Like, this
receive their
motherfucker
orders directly from
is gonna
the
destroy this
artificial
controller if he
voice.
gets a hold.
These orders came in the form of codes where, over time, the resistance discovered at least 59 of these codes. These ranged from the standard 10-4, which meant affirmative, to clean out. which meant a mass murder had taken place. In addition to their radios, these masks were also fitted with an air filter that protected their lungs from any dangerous fumes, and a night vision activation to navigate
Grand
darker
Life
environments.
Flask?
With these enhancements, the civil protection
I
essentially
still have a
had no
medium
excuse
one?
for failing an
No,
order.
I want this
Although
one
their
here.
jobs at this
And I
low
want
rank
this.
were not
Wait, which one is
considered
this one? This one is
incredibly
large.
dangerous, the civil
This one is
protection were
medium.
armed with a
I
stun
want that
baton
one
and
there.
a
This one goes
9mm
here.
pistol so
Good
that
one
they could
goes
take on a
there.
situation if needed.
Alright.
If challenged by the
I'm happy with
resistance
that.
in larger groups, they were trained to work together to
But
take them down. In these
I can't.
situations,
Wait.
they made use of one of the Combine's most unique weapons, the Viscerator, or labeled the Manhack by humanity.
So this quiver,
These flying shredders
3 to
were
5
perfectly
damage to
crafted
attack.
to seek
1
out
to 2.
targets and tear them apart,
Okay.
and as such, complemented the civil
Goddamn
protection perfectly
determinations for
as they
these.
attempted to take down resistance activity in their city. In the strict Combine-controlled territories, the humans were ultimately harmless,
already
but
Help me.
if the civil protection
Which one of these
came
is
up
better?
against more of a threat than they could
I
handle,
can't really read it as well when I hit the
MP7s
compare button.
or higher-ranked Combine units
Like,
were sent in to take out the
there's a
threat.
lot of shit I
In
can't
these
see at
rare
all.
occasions, the civil protection relied on support from the firepower in the armored personnel carriers they used to navigate their city.
They're both trash.
Flare guns to bring in additional support, anti-fatigue
Okay.
medication,
Is one better than the other?
and with resistance members to a more dangerous degree,
I think
they
the
made
one on
use
the
of mounted
right
weaponry and
is
even
slightly
requested the
better.
assistance of hunter choppers.
No.
As time passed under this regime,
So
They're both
the one
trash.
I
They're both absolutely trash.
and the other cities
When you find a
civil
quiver with
protection
attack
units
speed
in the
or
streets.
plus
For
damage
some
to
of
bow
these
skills,
units, they simply sought a
That's
more
all that
comfortable
matters.
life for themselves,
Well,
while
attack speed
others
is a-
relished
attack
in
speed
their
and
newfound
percentage
power
bow
to
skill
the point
damage.
where they randomly searched citizens
and if
without
you
cause, ordered them
I don't
to
even
complete
think you can
mundane
get
tasks for their
the
enjoyment, and others just beat up citizens for no apparent reason because they could.
plus chaos,
In
like
essence,
you can get
the
plus
civil
damage over
protection
time,
units
plus
were
chaos damage over
disposable
time.
to the Combine,
But I don't
like
know- I
all
don't
of
think
their
you can get
units,
them at
and as
this,
such, they installed
like,
a device
level.
in the unit's armor to monitor their
Basically.
heart rate.
Mm.
If they flatlined, a loud noise would wail out into the surrounding area, alerting the other teammates in the region of an officer's death and the location they had fallen in. Essentially, where the death of a unit was designed to aid the rest of the team. Although the civil protection used the radios to stay in contact with each other and Overwatch, this noise from the
Take it
radio
now.
often gave away their
God damn,
location
that's
to any target they were hunting down, and as such,
Whoa.
set them at a disadvantage as their position was given away,
insane.
increasing their chance of dying. For the civil
I will
protection
try and
units who
use that.
performed well in their
That's
roles
correct.
and wanted additional
What the
privileges, power, and generally for the Combine to succeed in their reign of the planet, the Combine did
I
have
feel like
options available to rank up in their
fucking
army. This was not
BS
just a mere
leveling
promotion,
fucking
but
thing.
it was also a taxing procedure
I
on
didn't
the
even
body,
realize I
a
picked it up.
conversion from civil protection officer
Like, I realized I
to
picked it up, but-
Overwatch soldier and then Overwatch
Jesus.
elite. In this procedure, those who volunteered had their memories adapted and in some
Oh.
cases replaced, as well as further modifications to their bodies. The
Fuck off.
first step
Let
in
me
becoming a
fucking remap my
synthetic being
skills.
for the
You fucking
Combine.
scum.
And as the years passed under the Combine rule, more volunteers joined this growing army in return for rewards and favour from the Combine,
What
at
is
the
this?
cost of their morality
Extra?
and humanity. Moving forward 20 years after the
Oh,
initial
no.
invasion, the civil protection had a strong hold over the cities of planet Earth. But
How did I
the
just fucking-
resistance
how
had
did
been
that just
growing
happen?
in the shadows,
I
just
don't even
waiting
know.
for their
I
time
don't-
to strike.
Am I at the waypoint? No.
17,
Why am I not at the
resistance had
waypoint?
managed to infiltrate
am
their
I?
ranks with
What is
undercover
this?
agents, where they secured as much information as possible. With this, they prepared for upcoming raids, had access to security cameras, learned how prisoners were actually treated when in the custody of the Combine, and essentially were able to keep one step ahead of the Combine. As more battles between the Civil Protection and
I
the
missed the
Resistance
fucking-
were fought, the Resistance took
Fuck
the
you.
armor and weaponry of the fallen members
How do
of
I
the
open
Civil
my thing to get to
Protection
my fucking
protect them in
waypoints?
further conflicts. Although regarded as the mere grunts of the combined control of these cities, they were still essential in the day-to-day control of the combined control
middle
settlements.
click,
That
and
was
then,
until the Resistance eventually decided to strike back with full
R1
force.
twice.
On a standard day in City 17, the Civil Protection were informed by
Broken
Overwatch of a
Bridge.
high-priority citizen that
You-
needed to be captured. Anti-Citizen 1, Dr. Gordon Freeman.
The crypt,
Not
the
only were these
crossroads.
units ordered to look out for him, but
Where
the Citadel was
was
also
I
put on
at?
high
Okay,
alert,
so I
where
don't know
additional
what.
combined technology and units were sent out to find this great threat to
I
the
need to
Combine's
go down
occupation
here,
of
though.
Earth. On one occasion, the Civil Protection were extremely close to catching this threat, where he was spotted inside of a residential building in City 17. But unfortunately, many of the civilians in the building helped him escape the grasp of the officers. There were even 4 units who came close to
Where's the
apprehending
Chamber
him,
of Sins?
but they were ambushed
How do I
by
get-
the
can I,
daughter
like-
of the Resistance leader, Alex Vance. Over
No
the
way to
following
get to the
days,
quest log to
Gordon and
fucking
the leaders
elaborate?
of the Resistance stormed City 17, which left the Civil Protection to struggle to keep control. So, Overwatch soldiers were sent in to fix the situation. During this tumultuous siege,
Like,
these
kill the
Overwatch
bandit.
units
I gotta kill
also
this
failed
fucking
in
guy.
their goal, and
Where
Gordon
is he?
managed to not only infiltrate the Citadel, but he also destroyed
Am I even in the
dark
right
fusion
fucking area
reactor
anymore?
at the top of the structure. At this point, it was clear that the Combine had lost control.
If it
of
says
City
travel
17,
to
but the
thingy,
Combine overlords had other
you're not in the right
plans.
area.
It was at this
If it
moment
says-
that the Resistance believed that many members of the Civil Protection began to have second thoughts about defending the city. Many of the Civil Protection had chosen
So
to
this guy
join
should be in the
Infantry,
wetlands
but
because
now
it says
it
that I
appeared
just
the
need to kill
Resistance
him.
actually
Yeah.
had a chance
It doesn't say
to
travel to
reclaim
and
their
kill him.
planet. Regardless,
Okay.
the soldiers who
Thank
believed
you.
in the Combine's propaganda
You're
and vision continued to fight for them, even though they had been ordered to overload the Citadel core so that it would
That makes
explode.
everything a lot
An
fucking
explosion
easier.
that would not only level City 17, but also start the formation of a superportal so that
Okay.
reinforcements could re-enter Earth and take back control. Within
know
the
where I'm
exit
going.
points of the city, the Civil Protection
guess we gonna
fought
find
with the
out.
Resistance, who were fighting to lead the city's remaining refugees onto trains to escape the blast of the eventual fall of the Citadel. While many believe these officers were
Okay,
simply
this is getting
following
to be
their orders to stop
a
the
lot.
Resistance from growing even stronger, there were others
No
who
longer
believed
just
these
run
Civil
through
Protection
areas. I have to
officers
like
were
stop
merely
and fight
attempting to take the trains
every
for
once in a while, or
themselves
I'm
to
gonna get
escape the
fucking
blast.
killed because I got too
Following
cocky.
the fall of City 17, the surviving C-17 Civil Protection units no longer had a city to defend, but across the wasteland, the other Combine-controlled settlements, City 10, 11, 12, and so on, still had their protection, and just maybe, they would be more successful in fighting back against Resistance activities or other threats when they would eventually come. The Civil Protection was implemented to keep the resistance of humanity in line, so that the Combine could complete their goals on planet Earth without chaos. Although these unmodified officers made the lives of the population of their respective cities hell, these people were also human. With the fall of the Citadel, these soldiers now have a choice to renounce their ties to the Combine and help their own species, or for those that align their values with the Combine, they will have a tough fight ahead against a growing resistance. The majority chose to join the Civil Protection for improved living conditions and food, a desperate choice for a better life that came at the cost of betraying their own species. While many may look down on these, this situation is something that will quite possibly never happen in
this
our
is a
own
fucking
world,
dead end.
hopefully. But I do ask, if you were put into this situation of fear and doubt, would you join
Okay,
the
this
civil
looks like an
protection
area
at the risk
where
of
something
losing
should be
everyone
going on.
around you for an easier
Hey,
life?
I can see him
Or
on the
would
map
you
now.
fight with the resistance to claim back your
Alright.
heart? In this video, we
Found them.
explore the lore and story behind Jeff. We all know the story of the invasion of Earth. The Combine Empire conquered the planet in a mere 7 hours and spent the subsequent decade keeping humanity in line through many barbaric acts. The Combine were a mighty and powerful force, and with their power and aim to control the human population, they constructed settlements across the planet to keep a close eye on them and break them down. While the development and construction of these settlements did allow the Combine the ability to monitor humanity, these enclosed regions also offered them another advantage. The portal storms that had allowed the Combine to conquer the planet also brought through other creatures from other planets. Each of these creatures also wanted to claim
this guy's
Earth
getting annoying.
themselves, and some were very territorial.
You just fucking
So
die.
the settlements protected humanity and the Combine units from the wasteland, as the many deadly creatures between the settlement claimed it for themselves. Although the Combine were a strong force, they too struggled to contain Zen's population. Antlines dug deep underground and built nests. They also ventured into regions off limits to them. To counter this, thumpers were installed that agitated their sensitive ability to detect vibrations, and headcrabs were noted to find themselves in the settlements in the search of a humanoid host to control. Overall, the Combine did a good job to keep these hostiles out through the use of their armed guards and technology. Within the settlements, the human population lived in fear by design to keep them compliant. They were monitored constantly, their food was restricted, and raids of their homes offered severe punishment if they were found in possession of contraband. A resistance did form in these early years, but if these thoughts of an uprising or action to rebel were discovered by the Combine, they were given the most inhumane punishment. A trip to Nova Prospect and turned into a stalker to work as a mindless machine
travel.
So, on the other hand, the Combine offered the newly conquered population a way to live a more comfortable life. A way to join the human arm of the Combine Empire in return for better housing, treatment, privileges, and additional food rations. The most documented position available was a place in the Combine's police force, the Civil Protection. There were, however, many other positions that the Combine hoped to fill in order for their settlement to run smoothly without issue. Within Eastern Europe, in the settlement of City 17, the Combine encountered a problem. They had attempted to control the spread of Xenian flora and fauna, but even their best efforts had failed. An entire region of City 17 slowly fell to an outbreak of alien origin, filled with dangerous and unpredictable plant life and hostile creatures. The Combine decided to seal off this section of the city in order to protect themselves and the rest of City 17. In order to deal with this problem in the quarantine zone and similar issues across the wasteland, the Combine offered a new role to those who would accept it. The role of a hazmat worker as a member of infestation control to remove and incinerate all traces of this infestation to stop the spread. Around 15 years after the Combine's arrival on Earth, through choice or punishment, several hazmat workers were sent out into the quarantine zone to clear out a distillery that had become home to a new Xenian infestation. Unknown to them, they would never return home.
So what's better?
Arrived at the Golden Line Distillery.
Aged greater mana flask of
quarantine force field checkpoints.
Does it say earthing? I don't know what that says.
Began their work.
Or
they believed that the
superior grand mana flask.
The Xenian vegetation, but they were so wrong. Within the tight hallways, Zen coughers launched out fungal spores out into the air in order to spread further into the region.
Sure, one of them has a
Zen
higher number.
snappers bit at anything that came
Covers
close to them.
177 mana.
Latched onto the ceiling.
Or does it say 172? I can't see what those numbers.
And bulbous pustules leaked onto the ground. This was not the plant life humanity had on Earth. This was aggressive.
They're about the same.
And spread. This region
but
was dangerous. The spores alone,
one of them
inhaled, allowed the spread and growth
increased mana recovered, removed
from this.
% of mana
suits had
from
an air filtration system with an independent
life being used.
This should have been enough.
Grants immunity to shock for 7 seconds and is used
they thought. During
while shock, if used while shock.
Very wrong.
If it's close, it doesn't matter.
Suit could have been penetrated
You get
by
something
a
better
snapper, or even a head crab in the vicinity could have attacked them. Regardless of
Are you
how
rushing
it
me?
happened, one of these workers was infected by a fungal spore of
that's the lesson I keep trying to impart is like it doesn't matter.
Sometime later, the awful aftermath of this deadly infection was discovered by a human scavenger.
There'll be a bigger number.
The Xenian infestation had spread across into the entire distillery. The force fields had not stopped the spread, and only one of the hazmat workers stood. But he was
and when
different.
It's really close,
From above,
you get to that
Larry
point,
observed this worker, and he called him Jeff. As of now, his real name is unknown.
Eventually you get to a point where it
appears
matters.
that everything went wrong just after the parasitic infection entered Jeff's system.
Today's
As
not
it
that
began
day.
to adapt his physiology, Jeff would have noticed this instantly. His body had become
it must be
host to
today,
new life,
actually, but
life that
it's
did
not
not
this
care
hour.
about what happened to
not
him.
this
Now I have
His
8.
body became bloated and
Large
swollen
is
as
large
additional
and
skin
is a
grew
greater,
and
bigger
absorbed
than
his
a
hazmat suit. His new and old skin hardened and formed a natural protective barrier. His right hand bloated into a battering ram, and
pretty sure
Zen
Grand
coffers grew out of his back.
Grand
Jeff's
is larger
co-workers would have, of course,
is
noticed
better
these
than large.
changes. However, by the time Larry discovered Jeff, he saw just how
It'll just say
aggressive he had
the number.
become. It is very
That has
likely
stats.
that as each of the
That has
hazmat workers
stats.
discovered the changes
This is
that had
superior
happened to
grand.
Jeff, he reacted
So
with
superior
rage
refers to
and
quality.
took them out. Their bodies scattered
Something can be 20% better.
all across the distillery. What Jeff
Something
had
at
encountered
full
so
quality
far would have been
might be
terrifying,
close
yet
to the
the pain
level
and torture was not over.
Oh.
This parasitic infection still had changes to make to his body.
The higher
worst
level
part
one,
about this infection occurred
but
on Jeff's
Yeah.
head.
you're not going to drop
Through
something with
what can
20%
only
quality.
be
It's
described
very
as
unlikely.
the worst pain imaginable. Jeff's head split into 2 separate pieces, and in between them formed a mouth with rows of teeth. Inside
Right.
of this mouth,
I need
another
to
mouth
get to
formed
my
with another row of teeth.
Eldritch
He had
battery.
essentially become the
Let's go
human
over here.
equivalent of a Venus flytrap. His new head also resembled the snappers that lined the walls of this graveyard. From this concept art, it is very likely that Jeff was completely aware
Alright.
of what had happened to him, and he was still conscious, but he was
Are
no
you
longer
so
in
fucking-
control. The fungal infection was. All he could do was call
Am I
for
supposed to be
help,
talking to
just
these
like the
people?
human hosts that had fallen victim to a head crab, aware of their situation, unable to do anything about it. All alone,
That's not
the
bad.
infection continued to take hold of Jeff as he was used to spread the Xenian infestation. As he
You can
wandered
talk to
the
them.
Golden Line
Unless they have a
distillery,
thing over their
his
head, you don't
spores
need to
spread
talk to
out
them.
into the environment. The quarantine force fields were designed to stop the spread. Jeff,
They'll
however,
probably just give
still
you
had his
more.
keycard on his body that allowed him to wander throughout the region without
So what is this
issue.
place?
Although he was in an incredible amount of pain, the
That's
changes that the
the-
infection had done to his body also left him almost invulnerable to any damage. The pain also kept him in a constant agitated
that's where the
and
base you
alert
captured go.
state. His co-workers were dead, but
He's just
he was
giving you
not
a little
alone.
tutorial.
Barnacles formed on the ceiling, and head crabs
You go in
occasionally
there,
entered
kill the
this
thing on the
bleak
blood altar
region.
or whatever.
Despite this apparent danger, these were not an issue for him. The mutilation of his head had left him blind, but his hearing had improved exponentially, and even the slightest noise allowed him to pinpoint
So,
the
like, go
location
to, like,
of any intruder in his new
go up and then to the left.
To protect himself and claim his territory, the fungus evolved its host and gave Jeff the ability to create a dark, toxic substance to launch at any who
Then where?
encountered him. He had
There should
become
be a thing
a
on the
mobile
ground.
seed spreader, unable to control
Where?
his own actions. This poor hazmat worker had just wanted to have an easier life on a Combine-occupied Earth, but
There's
fate
just
had
doors
given
to
him
places.
existence worse
Yeah,
than
go into one of the
death.
places. Click the thing
Within
on
the,
the ground.
distillery, Larry watched Jeff from above.
No, but there were
observing
doors that I had to
actions and
open.
reaction
Yeah.
to the smallest
Go to
noise.
the one that's
Jeff
open.
was in pain and lashed
What?
out at
Just go
anything that came
click on the
close
thing
to
on the
him.
ground.
It was clear that Jeff was
did.
a human that had
And
fallen victim to
just
an infection.
click-
All Larry had to do
click
was stay
off,
quiet
X
in
or-
order not to startle this victim of circumstance.
To
Although
craft?
Larry was
Yeah.
very careful
It's
to
gonna tell you
avoid
to
the attention
craft
of
some-
Jeff, he failed to notice the tongue of a barnacle. To
Some
his
chromatic
luck, a
orbs, and
young
you have to fight
Alex
some
Wells
guys.
arrived in the distillery just in time on her way to the vault.
Just
In
fucking
the
put
distance,
everything
she
away.
heard the rambles of Larry
my God,
as
I
he
don't.
contemplated how to get out of this situation.
What?
With her great aim, Alex shot the barnacle and released the scavenger.
Chromatic
And in
orbs.
return, he offered her everything he knew about Jeff. In essence, he warned her that Jeff had excellent hearing and would rip her apart if he caught her. As she reached the ground floor
Okay.
of the distillery,
Not
Alex
taking
avoided
everything out. Just
anything
run back
that
and
would
forth.
make a noise, and she also covered her
it's
mouth to
gonna give
avoid
you, like,
the
one thing.
inhalation of spores and the chance
It
that
says
they too would turn
A
her
stack of
into
chromatic
a
orbs. I don't have a stack. I've got
Alex
8 of
had
them.
encountered
That's what it's
many
crafting.
zombies
It's
on
giving
her
you them.
journey through the quarantine zone.
Okay, but how?
Jeff was different. He was in a lot of pain.
X
but
is
she
select
had to
recipe,
pass
but,
him to
like,
continue on with
I
her
I can't,
journey.
like,
A journey to
what are you
aid the
talking about?
resistance and strengthen their forces. To
What am I
navigate
putting
these
here? Like, this
infested
doesn't make
hallways,
sense.
Alex made use of the breakable objects in this enclosed region. This had
The-
once been
the
a
one
distillery
thing on the
and had
page.
tons of bottles of vodka scattered around. The perfect object to launch into another area to
Press
distract
square.
Jeff. With each smash,
When you're over
Jeff
one of the boxes.
exploded with rage and explored the area for his prey as Alex
What
worked
are
her way
these?
further in. Eventually, Alex successfully reached the
Just
exit of the
put the one you
distillery
have.
and discovered
The
a
middle
walkie trash compactor. With this, she had an idea of how to remove the threat of Jeff. Once again, she
with
led
X.
Jeff through the distillery and into the trash compactor. And here,
Guess I can only
she
put it
had
in
a
one?
difficult choice to
Yeah.
make. This game of cat and mouse
Alright,
had
now-
been one of the
fucking
most
now what?
stressful and scary
X.
experiences Alex had ever
I did
faced,
click
but
X.
it was not
Only
Jeff's
clear,
fault.
fill the
He
other
was
things
also
with
a
the
victim.
other
She
random
could
ones,
either
yeah.
leave him to live out the rest of
But-
his
but
days
this
in
thing,
the trash
and it just
compactor,
moves it.
or activate the machine and put him out of his misery.
Oh. I don't
Regardless
know.
of the choice
Those
she
looked like they were
made,
fucking grayed
Alex
out,
ventured on
like-
towards the vault
Okay,
and left
whatever.
her nightmare encounter
They're like
in the
wild
Golden Line
colours.
Distillery behind her. This encounter, and generally just the existence of Jeff, opens up the terrifying thought that more of humanity
Okay.
may have fallen victim to this parasitic
And now what?
an infection that transformed a human into a
Mm,
monster.
when you
a
click
living
X, there'll be
human
like a
Venus
boss fight.
flytrap. Always angry, always
X does
agitated.
nothing.
The stalkers have often been cited as the worst thing
What's
that
the
could
thing in the
happen to
middle?
a human. Yet, at least they were conditioned
I just
to
like
accept
clicked
their
a button,
situation,
random button, and it filled
unaware
it out for
of
me.
what they once were.
Thing in the
Jeff
middle is
and
nothing.
everyone else that fell victim
Like,
to the same infection were aware
I
of
see a
what
button.
happened
I
to
see a
them,
thing that says
always in
craft,
pain,
but I
truly
can't see
living
what
in
it says
nightmare.
beside it.
Jeff, or whatever his real name was, is just another one of the many victims of the Combine.
Where's your
empire.
cursor right now?
Although indirect,
Recipe.
they
What?
put him in the situation he was in.
Where is my what?
Was
Where's
a
your cursor
fate
right now?
worse than death. Here
on this
we
middle
explore
box.
in the lore and story behind.
And I don't have a cursor,
Dr.
like it
Wallace
doesn't show a
Breen.
cursor.
Yeah.
Way back
Can
before
you
the Combine
put it
invasion,
on the
the
craft
Black
thing?
Mesa Research
Can you press
Facility
down and
was
hit it on
home
the
to the
craft?
brightest minds humanity
No.
had to offer. Located within the New Mexico desert, this top-secret complex sought to expand and understand
You might not have.
the vast
Did it
universe
tell you to do
around them,
this?
using the advanced technology available to
It said go to the
With
altar.
The complex split into different
It says use the
sectors,
blood
each
altar.
committed to
This is the
studying
blood
the whole
altar.
scientific
I'm trying to
field
fucking
and
use
function
it.
of the facility. The dedicated scientists all answered to one person, the administrator of Black Mesa, Dr. Wallace Breen. Within Sector C of this complex, the anomalous materials team were tasked
Like, there's
with
literally
analyzing
nothing I can
exotic
do.
crystals taken from
Create
all
currency
the world
items.
of
A
Zen.
stack of chromatic
Using an
orbs. I
anti-mass
see that.
spectrometer,
I don't know
the
what
team
all
would
those little
agitate the
yellow
exotic
boxes
matter
are.
within these crystals just enough with beams of energy to create displacement energy. From here, the team could then study and analyze these displacement fields.
Like,
Over
making me
time,
want to not play
the
this game
strong
anymore.
team functioned well
You
under
can
the
just
administration
leave
of
and
Wallace.
skip this fucking
Four
mechanic.
well-known members of this team being Dr. Eli Vance, Dr. Isaac Kleiner, Dr. Arnie
But it's
Matheson,
orange. Doesn't that mean I
Dr.
have to
Gordon
fucking do it?
Freeman. Working in
It'll
close
stay there
proximity
until you do
to
it,
his
yeah.
team, he befriended them and became
Well, what the fuck? I want to know how to do it. I don't
As
want to
time
just come
passed,
back later
the
when I
anomalous
still don't
materials
fucking
team
know how to
gave
do
them
it.
Another Zenian crystal sample, GG-3883. Only this one came with pressure from Wallace.
I don't know.
He
I don't
asked
know
that the
what
team
to tell
get
you.
him a conclusive analysis.
when I
of
went
the sample
there, it
and to
just
go outside of the
I clicked
standard
on
testing
craft and it
procedures
made
to
the
attain
thing,
it.
and I got
It
a
is
stack
unknown
from chromatic
what great
orbs.
length Breen had taken to obtain this sample, but many now speculate he was given it by a mysterious government man who had been spotted on the premises that day. Noted to have been acting strangely
I don't
during
even know
day,
this mechanic. I don't
Wallace
fuck with
ignored
it.
the fears
I
of the
block it when
scientists that warned of a
comes up.
resonance cascade
I don't fuck
occurring
with it.
if the anti-mass spectrometer were to be used outside of the standard testing parameters. Despite this, he instructed them to boost the machine to 105%. As the unstable crystal hit the beam, it shattered, flooding the test chamber with exotic matter, triggering a resonance cascade, ripping open an interdimensional rift between Earth and Zen. From here, portal storms ravage Black Mesa and the rest of the planet, where many
Can you
died
put your
to the
cursor
Zenian
over the
life
stack,
forms
the
that
thing
had
that
come
says
here
stack of
to
chromatic
form
orbs?
a new home.
The thing that says
facility,
what?
Wallace managed
stack
to
of
escape
chromatic
the
orbs.
onslaught of Vortigaunt,
No.
Death Crab, and other dangerous creatures that were
Maybe
posed
put
to
the face thing
It
in the
is
first
further
one.
speculated that Breen was
First
recruited
lot,
by
and
the
then fill
G-Man
others
to
out.
pull off this entire
I
situation,
really
as
don't
he was
know.
the only
Face
person with
What?
clearance
This?
high enough to set the parameters for this experiment
I don't know,
and
it looks like a
ignore
face
the
to me.
warning of the scientists. And aware of what was to come, he could escape with ease. Regardless of whether the speculation is true or not, Wallace managed to escape Black Mesa safely, but the Zenian invasion was
Like
just
I don't know how
what
I
was
just
to come.
clicked the button
Over
and
the
it just
following
did
hours,
it.
Dr. Gordon Freeman stopped the resonance cascade, but he had disappeared during the event.
There's no craft button. All I can do is go into this box. And there's no buttons, like, at the bottom it says X is select recipe. This is filter recipes.
They became weaker and weaker.
This is clear
Jumping from
filter.
universe to universe, the Universal Union, also known as the Combine, had become aware of
Or
the
is
presence
maybe you
following
don't
the
have
events
enough
of the resonance
Face
cascade.
collected yet.
The portal storms that
And you're, like,
ravaged
not
the
supposed to be
planet
here
would
yet.
also give them
I'm not
easy
sure.
access to
Then
the
why
entire
did it give me a
planet if they
fucking quest to
decided
come
conquer
here?
it. And they did. Having conquered
I don't know.
and brutally assimilated countless species into
is
their armies
fucking
at this
retarded.
point, humanity would be just another species to adapt to strengthen their union. As the Combine struck, all of Earth's armies
Hopefully I
began
don't
to
get you
struggle,
canceled for saying
taking mass
retarded.
casualties only hours into the
But
war. It was
it's
clear
pretty
that
retarded.
humanity may have met its match. Watching this occur, Wallace discovered a way to communicate with the invaders through an unknown method. Upon contacting the United Nations, Wallace was given permission to communicate with and negotiate a peace deal at any cost. The Combine had intended to conquer the planet and its population in its
I don't even want Chaos Orbs anyway. I already have 8 of them. I don't...
As Wallace opened a
You
dialogue,
want
he offered a multinational
What?
surrender on behalf of the whole
want
of
Chaos Orbs,
humanity
you don't want
in return for their survival,
chromaticals.
believing this to be the only
Oh.
course of action available. In essence, saving them from mutilation and death in return for their freedom. To this, the Combine
You don't need
agreed
to,
the terms, and on
like,
the 7th
empty your
hour of this
thing.
war, they stopped their assault and mankind submitted.
like, a
As
stack
the Combine began
is
a new
like
phase in their acquisition
one
of Earth, they
little
rounded
thing
up
in your
its
inventory.
population into urban settlements where they could be controlled and monitored.
8 isn't a
Now
like
seen
20
as
is
an
a stack.
established spokesperson for humanity, the Combine chose
Yeah,
Wallace
but I don't
to
want it
become
in
their
inventory.
puppet, to hold
If you want to
humanity
clear your
accountable
inventory,
for their
that's fine.
actions to keep this agreement in place. With this, they gave Breen the official role of interim administrator of Earth. Although Wallace had saved his species by negotiating this deal with the Combine Empire,
Well, fuck.
believing
I need
this
to go
be the
somewhere else to know what
course
my
of
other
action
quests
for
are, or
mankind's
what?
survival, many of
'Cause
the
all it's
race
telling me right
accused
now
him
is go
of
fuck
rank
here.
opportunity
I wanna
and
go
selling
fuck
out
here.
his own race in return
I wanna
for
know what else
further
I'm supposed to
of
be
the
doing.
Empire. With his new role to keep humanity in line, Wallace became infamous.
This game is
As a
broken.
public
Like, I'm gonna be...
spokesperson for the
fucking-
Combine, he appeared on magazines,
It's not broken.
television, and newspapers justifying his decision to the masses. He explained
Where
that
are
he
all
was
my
a
quests?
scientist and not a politician. He had only looked
Is it because
at the
I don't
data
have any
available
here? Is it
and made
because
a
I need to
decision
be in another
based
part of
on
the
what
world
he
right now?
perceived to be
Yeah.
the best outcome. He had saved his
Okay,
species
I
from
can
total
accept that,
annihilation, but at
not
the
fucking
cost of their respect. Over the years, the Combine became more acquainted with planet Earth and subsequently made adjustments to the planet to
Well,
make their
the good
occupation
news
as
is
seamless
it
as
didn't even
possible.
have your
The Empire installed a suppression field
menagerie
across the
thing,
planet
so
to
if you
stop
get through
pregnancy
Act
from
2,
occurring to control the population, and began to administer a
won't even
memory-altering
say
substance
to do that
to the
shit.
water supply. If humanity
Yeah.
forgot why they hated the
Okay,
Combine,
so the
then
Western
surely they would
Forest,
become more
I go
submissive to
through
them.
the riverways
With
to find
unrest
that
to all
too.
of these changes, Wallace
Yep.
was moved to City 17 by the Combine, where they gave him a home in the Citadel, a main base of operations for the Combine to set up his administration. Reporting to Combine advisors, Breen would spread their propaganda using Breencasts, recording these from his office, where they would then be played to the human population. He would address the concerns of mankind in an attempt to keep them compliant, reading out questions supposedly sent to him by concerned citizens. Whether the population actually wrote these questions, or whether this was another tactic to spread Combine propaganda, is unknown. While attempting to be as vague as possible to clear these concerns, he would always refer back to how their benefactors, the Universal Union, knew what was best for humanity. In the case of the suppression field, he explained that this had been put in place to teach mankind to ignore their most basic urges to evolve, and that their benefactors would help them grow as a species instead, even mentioning the possibility of immortality with the right technology. All humanity had to do was comply and submit to their rulers as they knew best. It seemed that Breen truly believed that a collaboration with this multi-universal faction would aid humanity's progress in unlocking the universe. All he had to do was control the enslaved population using whatever methods he deemed necessary, even the torture and death of his own kind for non-compliance. With tough rules, basic rations, and constant surveillance, some of humanity even chose to join the Combine Overwatch, the Combine's military and law enforcement on Earth, in return for better rations and treatment. Also overseen by Breen, at its lowest level, its members would have their memories and minds altered. As they progressed through their ranks, they were adapted to become the perfect soldier for the Combine Empire. With Breen mostly in control of the general population under him, he also had to deal with a forming resistance against the Combine that grew stronger every day. As administrator, he decreed that any who chose to go against his plan for mankind and their benefactors would suffer a fate worse than death. Led by Dr. Eli Vance, a surviving member of the anomalous materials team in Black Mesa, the Resistance actively attempted to get in the way of Combine activity, recruit new members, and maybe one day rid the planet from the Combine Empire. Having had Dr. Breen as his boss back during his days at Black Mesa, Eli held strong disdain towards this man, believing him to be the administrator of this vile business. Eli had been warned during the Black Mesa incident to prepare for unforeseen consequences by the mysterious government man wandering the facility that day, but his concerns had been ignored by Wallace, and he had been told to continue regardless. With growing resistance activity, Breen would speak out against their work through Breencasts. Following this, his Overwatch forces would conduct regular raids on those suspected of being part of the Resistance, where brutal interrogations would follow in an attempt to gather more information. Although the Resistance did cause issues for him from time to time, Wallace had a secret weapon. He had managed to recruit Dr. Judith Mossman, a member of the Resistance, as a double spy. Using her knowledge of the Resistance and her bright mind, he could capture more Resistance members as well as help the Combine with a problem they had. Even though the Combine had been able to jump from universe to universe with their advanced technology, they had not been able to master in-universe teleportation, but humanity had. With Aperture locked down and Black Mesa destroyed, Wallace could rely on Judith to use her insight with the Resistance members that had worked with and understood this form of teleportation, and in turn, he could use her to work on a teleporter for the Combine. To this, Judith began to help develop a teleporter using Resistance knowledge within Nova Prospect, a terrifying Combine prison where awful things happened to those who opposed
Like you would
the
think,
Combine. With
if you just
humanity
keep going
under
west,
control,
right?
the Resistance
You would
being
end up in the
contained
Western
and
Forest, wouldn't
in-universe
you?
teleportation being developed that would help the Combine conquer sentient life
do, don't
at a
you?
faster rate. Wallace truly was in a great position, but one man would come along and everything he had worked for would slowly begin to fail. On a standard day in City 17, Breen sat in
This
his
would have to
office
be
and
it,
looked
right?
up to discover Dr.
Yeah.
Gordon Freeman materializing before him, before suddenly vanishing. Gordon had been missing for 20 years after disappearing during the Resonance Cascade. For all the Resistance knew, Gordon had either died during his time in Zen, or he had not got out of
Alright,
Black
I'm
Mesa
in
in
here.
time before its destruction.
Why don't I have quests in
But
here?
Breen was almost sure of Gordon's fate
Your quests
where he had been.
don't show up when you
Aware
have your
that
map
this
up.
long-lost,
Turn your map
unaged
down.
member of the anomalous
fucking
materials
idiot.
team now appears to be a pawn to
I
a
knew
higher
that,
power.
but they...
Breen instantly makes contact with a Combine advisor to let them know of his return. The Combine knew of the G-Man and his employers. Whenever they would resurface, something big was about to happen. Gordon could be a signal for the Resistance movement, and if he were to help them, Breen's hold over humanity would suffer. With this fear, Wallace places the Citadel on high alert, naming Gordon as Anti-Citizen number 1 and sends out his Overwatch soldiers to contain the problem. Over the following days, Judith informs Wallace that Gordon had made contact with the Resistance and that he was on his way to a secret base on the outskirts of City 17, this one led by his old employee, Dr. Eli Vance. Having volunteered this information, Judith asks Wallace to wait for her signal before bringing Gordon in, with her main priority being to allow Eli to continue his work without interruption. Due to the pressure of his Combine leaders, against the wishes of Judith, Wallace decides to order a raid on Black Mesa East in the hopes to capture Gordon. Unfortunately, Gordon escapes, but his soldiers do capture Eli, where they send him to the Combine's brutal prison, Nova Prospect. Although he had upset his double spy, the capture of Eli was exactly what Wallace needed to display his dedication to the Combine cause, but this would only cause him more problems. He begins to hear reports of the death of his Combine forces and destruction of technology over the wasteland as Gordon travels across it. Gordon had become the free man, the person that would lead the way for the resistance, where humanity could rise up and fight against their oppressors.
Around here.
All Wallace needed to do was take out Gordon, and hopefully their revolution would die with him. As the hunt continues, Wallace becomes aware of an attack on Nova Prospect by Gordon and Alex, who had travelled to the prison to free Eli. And so, his Overwatch soldiers attempt to contain the problem. During this altercation, Alex and Gordon become aware of Judith's betrayal. To evade this situation, Judith uses the teleporter within the facility to escape with Eli to the Citadel to safety, under Breen's protection. As this teleporter was still in development, it becomes unstable and explodes, destroying the facility with it. Over the next week, many begin to believe that Gordon and Alex had died during this explosion, but this did not stop the revolution.
Gotta find the bandit.
The resistance instead took the destruction of Nova Prospect,
And I got open the
as
block.
a signal to rebel. Over this week, the resistance take over City 17, marching towards the Citadel, growing stronger each day. This only became worse when Gordon is later spotted alive and well, fighting with them, leading the charge.
I fucking failed this.
Taking his frustration to a Breencast, he asks how a simple theoretical physicist had not been caught by
the labyrinth.
The Combine had severely questioned him for his role in this,
You can
and
do
in
it.
turn, he asks his Overwatch soldiers how they had failed him so badly.
I don't care if I fail it
He
early, but
fears
I'm on
that
the
if the
final
Combine
boss,
were now
so,
to question the
if I fail
value
it now,
of this agreement with humanity,
it'd
would
be
they
wasted
still uphold it,
15
or
minutes.
simply choose to exterminate instead?
20
As
minutes,
Gordon
maybe.
marches towards the Citadel, Breen becomes even more concerned, now addressing Freeman personally through public Breencasts. He accuses him of throwing away all of the progress that the Combine had brought humanity, that the revolution would only lead to the death and limitation for mankind, leaving it to plunge into freefall. Continuing to push that humanity needed the Combine in order to survive and grow, in a last-ditch effort, he pleads with Gordon to help him gain back humanity's trust for the Combine by surrendering. Ignoring Breen's requests, Gordon marches to the Citadel with the growing resistance members, taking the city by force, hoping to free Eli and a newly captured Alex. Over time, Freeman enters the Citadel, and during his time inside, he somehow traps himself inside of a Combine detainment cell, now en route to Breen's office. Now with Gordon, Eli, and Alex in his capture, he could breathe a sigh of relief. In his victory, Breen berates and mocks his captives. In return, Eli accuses him of indescribable evil, genocide, and that what he had done to humanity was simply beyond words. Regardless of this, Breen orders Eli to tell the resistance to stop their fight, but
I'm gonna want that ring though, because
to this, still attempting to control the situation, Wallace resorts to threatening Eli's daughter, Alex, if he does not step up and do the right thing, in his eyes, for the future of humanity. Aware of Gordon's services being useful to those that controlled him, at this time, currently the G-Man, Breen sees value in Gordon's in his words, a fine pawn whose services would be open to the highest bidder. With Eli refusing to do anything for Breen or the Combine,
better buy a
the
lot.
administrator then threatens the resistance leader with off-planet relocation on the Combine overworld. With this, Judith calls out Wallace. He had agreed not to harm Eli, but now he was going back on their deal to acquire a better one with the Combine. Speaking down to Judith, he explains
Where
that
is
she was bright enough to finish the work herself,
I
and
ended
she
up right
only
back at the
wanted
waypoint.
Eli to stay safe because she had feelings for him. It is unknown if he truly cared for Judith, or whether he had just used her like he had done with the rest of his species. In frustration, Judith decides to turn on Wallace. With his manipulation, he attempts to convince her to stop, but she had finally found her voice. Using Alex's multi-tool, Judith frees the prisoners and locks the door to the office, stopping Breen's personal guards from entering. In this chaos, and feeling betrayed by Judith, he picks up Gordon's supercharged anti-gravity gun and fires. With everyone around
where
him
I'm supposed to be?
disorientated, he makes his way for the elevator to escape. On his way up, Breen thinks about all the Resistance members waiting just outside of the Citadel,
Okay, great.
ready to storm it and take him
Aw.
out. Trapped,
Am I
he
in one of those
contacts a
fucking
Combine
places?
advisor, where he asks for safe passage from the Citadel.
Bet you might.
In response, the advisor offers him
No.
a host body on the Combine homeworld.
Why am
to
I in
which, at
here?
first,
Do I have
he
anything to
asks be
actually
sent
do in
elsewhere.
here?
However,
If
with
that
Gordon
guy's
and
not in
Alex
here, I
on his
don't
tail,
think I need to
he
be in
accepts.
here.
All he needed to do
Fuck.
was reach the portal. As the portal opens and Breen rides the lift up to it, Gordon takes it upon himself to stop the interim administrator from escaping. Slowly ascending with the high-tech elevator, Breen mocks and continues to explain that humanity needs the Combine as Gordon fires energy pellets at the dark fusion reactor powering the portal. And then, boom. With a giant explosion, the dark fusion reactor lets out a huge wave of energy, destroying everything around it, closing the portal to the Combine overworld, dropping Breen into the depths of the Citadel below.
Oh, did I
As
just
he
get myself
falls,
into an
he
unnecessary
shouts to
boss
Gordon,
fight?
the man that had
Yeah,
caused
that's
him
all I
of
did.
this trouble, his final words being, "You need me." Having fallen so far since his initial attempt to save humanity from extinction at the hands of the Combine Empire, Wallace Breen had lost his way, and now his fate is unknown. Although he had fallen into the depths of the Citadel below, throughout his life, Breen had shown his ability to adapt and survive in the worst circumstances. Furthermore, each time, he had leveraged these situations to barter himself a better position than he had been in before. He had
That's
managed to become
interesting.
the head of one of the world's leading scientific corporations.
These ever
survived
stop
its
coming?
disaster, and then
Like, I killed the
became a
boss.
representative
When will
of
these stop
humanity.
coming?
Was Wallace
I
truly
thought I
a
killed
bad
the boss.
person, or simply doing his best to save his species from extinction, no matter the cost? What is known is that he did see a bright future for humanity's evolution with the help of the Combine, but his vision was not shared by the rest of his species. If Breen's plan were to succeed, humanity could have essentially become immortal, stronger, and more efficient with Combine technology.
Okay, I guess.
But this would have come with
Maybe
a
I
cost of
did
what it
need
meant
to?
to be human. If Breen is dead, few will mourn his passing, but his fall was just another domino in the Resistance's effort to remove the Combine occupation from planet Earth. Here we explore in the lore
Travel
behind
to the western.
Combine's brutal prison, Nova Prospect. Way before Nova Prospect became known across the wasteland as a place to be feared, the location was home to a high-security prison controlled and monitored by the human population to hold those that have been convicted of serious crimes. Located within a coastal region, many miles away from any city or community, this prison on top of a large cliff not only allowed those within to feel isolated away from any society, but also the high walls
I have
and
to pee,
vast
I'll be right
lands
back.
surrounding the region would make it difficult for any to escape successfully without being caught in the secluded coast by the prison guard after the extremely loud alarms would blast across the entire prison region. On top of this, the guards also had an easy view over the courtyard of the prison, where they could look down from their 3 watchtowers that not only allowed them to monitor their inmates, but also any suspicious activity over the wall. Composed of 12 observable cell blocks, the prisoners of Nova Prospekt lived in a strict, regulated life away from those they had once cared about in the mundane, heavily monitored long hallways of Nova Prospekt. But their freedom would soon come in the following years, where it would make the prisoners think back positively about how they had once lived in the prison. With a cell to house each prisoner, showers to clean them, maintenance facilities such as washing and drying of clothing, offices for the guards to observe their prisoners, and solitary confinement cells to punish those for breaking the rules, the prison had all it needed to successfully control the inmates and keep it running efficiently. With the prison having become fairly functional without the need for outside resources, kept away from the rest of the world by a giant cliff and a mass amount of land around it, what could go wrong? Deep within the New Mexico desert, an experiment performed by a top-secret research facility went terribly wrong. The aftermath of this disastrous experiment resulted in a resonance cascade where a hole was ripped between planet Earth and a border world called Zen. Although the resonance cascade was later reversed, this event had alerted the presence of planet Earth and its population to the multi-dimensional alien empire now known as the Combine. Upon waging war on the planet, the Combine used their advanced technologies to conquer the planet in a mere 7 hours. On this 7th hour, an ambassador of Earth submitted to the dominating multi-dimensional alien empire on behalf of humanity in return for their submission. Over time, the Combine scoured the planet for any natural and any technological resource they could use, not only to continue to control humanity, but also to add to the armies that would continue to conquer the other unfortunate civilizations within the multiverse. As the Combine began to tackle each region of the planet, they moved the human population into constructed settlements where they could monitor and control the lesser species within. For those lucky enough to have been hidden away from the major cities of Earth, the resistant members of the population came across a now abandoned Nova Prospekt prison, likely in the hopes they would not be discovered there. Here, they would graffiti early resistance propaganda on the walls, which in turn would alert any passing member of a resistance against the Combine of other humans in the region that had also evaded and survived the initial wave of the Combine invasion. Unfortunately for these poor members, the Combine did eventually discover Nova Prospekt, and after countless invasions of countless species, they saw value in this heavily fortified and secluded location on a cliff. With a perfect, human-built structure at their disposal, they began to transform this place, once created to hold the less desirable members of humanity, into a place of horror, a place where any human that heard the name Nova Prospekt would rather die than enter. With the Combine having access to advanced
I still feel pretty fucking bad when I
of humanity, they got right to work adapting the prison to their needs. With this, they moved in their units to protect the location from interference from any that would come to the prison. Alongside these units, the Combine stationed human-assimilated Combine prison guards. Over time, sections of the prison were transformed using advanced technology to meet human needs. Here, the adapted areas of Nova Prospekt
I'll probably sleep good
Combine prison
tonight,
cells constructed,
knowing I don't have anywhere to be tomorrow.
prisoners deemed to be a threat to the Combine force. At the back of
But then,
the Combine constructed the
so doctor's appointment
inside
on
of this
Monday.
newly built advanced station to Nova Prospekt. The Combine now had a place where they could store their technologies as their advanced machinery slowly transformed the rest of the prison into a usable space, adding their cold, metallic blue material to the facility. With the minimum necessary adjustments made to the prison, the Combine opened up Nova Prospekt to serve its purpose. 20 years after their initial invasion of planet Earth, it was observed that the depot covered the regions of Cell Block C1 well into Cell Block D8, a vast construction spanning many cell blocks, and this area would be capable of many horrors in the near future. Within the depot, the Combine had constructed a train station. Here, They could use their large railway network to transport any resistance members, troublemakers, and generally any who posed a problem to the Combine. With train stations within the major settlements across the planet, the Combine could bring in prisoners through the use of razor trains with ease. Now with plenty of storage to house their prisoners across Nova Prospect, the guards would torture those unlucky enough to have been captured for information using brutal methods, keep them locked in small pods, and there was even a fate for those that the Combine deemed to be extremely volatile, a fate worse. With their ability to essentially
Fuck this square button.
anything they came across, the Combine had developed a process to transform their prisoners into creatures known as stalkers. Using their specially built machines, the Combine had found a way to adapt the human body to its bare essentials to exist, taking away all of the parts not required to function. After this, the mutated bodies would then be mentally adapted to not only follow the orders of the Combine, but where they would also become a major asset in major Combine facilities. A cursed existence to essentially continue on as a living piece of machinery for the needs of the Combine. After their transformation, the Stalkers were then guided to the train station, stored, and then deployed all over the wasteland to follow the orders of their Combine overlords. It was even believed by resistance members that the privilege of becoming a stalker was reserved for the unfortunate members of the resistance that had been caught during their attempts to stand up against the dominating force. Although becoming a stalker in itself was a terrifying fate to the members of the resistance, it was also said that Nova Prospect was also used to transform their other prisoners into new soldiers, mentally conditioned to fight for the Combine, and other various synthetic husks to live the rest of their days in servitude. Further within the depot, over the years, the Combine had been attempting to discover the secret to teleportation from one point to another within a single universe. Although they had mastered the ability to jump from one universe to another, they still struggled with discovering how intra-universal travel worked, a secret that Black Mesa, the Resistance, and even Aperture Science had discovered already. With this, they constructed a large tunneling device using a pulse-forming network. If they could simply discover the workings of in-universe teleportation, they could grow even faster and add to their ever-growing empire. As this location was seen as a hard point for the Combine across the wasteland, and with the value that Nova Prospect now held to the alien empire, the adapted regions of the facility were installed with high-tech force field gates to seal off areas from those unauthorized to be within them. To control these, the Combine constructed advanced terminals to adapt and lock them down. As the Combine continued to bring in prisoners and use them for their nefarious goal, the moving walls of the prison adaptation technology slowly made its way through the facility, transforming the old architecture, broken furniture, and arrangement of Nova Prospect into a new structure to make room for more prisoners, store more Combine technology, and allow the alien empire to make Nova Prospect an extremely important location in the holding of planet Earth. With many holding cells scattered across the facility at this point, mostly in the D7 cell block, the Combine had also created a large storage vault near to the D8 cell block section. Here, hundreds of Combine cells held many inmates simply waiting to be interrogated. These were believed to have consisted of political prisoners, the worst of humanity in the Combine's view, and members of the Resistance that had openly fought against the alien force. Although a large number of prisoners would allow the Combine to acquire as much information as they could against those that opposed them, this also worked against them, as the captured Vortigaunt were able to send information about Nova Prospect to the free members of their species using their connection to the Vortessence. With each Vortigaunt that was able to send through their impression and memories of Nova Prospect, their collective transmissions would give the Resistance a great idea of the layout of the facility, what it wanted from the inmates, and how the Combine worked. With each prison cell connected to a line, the Combine unit would use command consoles within access points across the facility to call upon the trapped prisoners similar to that of the system within the Citadel in City 17. This not only allowed the guards to perform their jobs with ease, but also to reduce the risk of the inmates within the pods escaping. With additional security in mind, it was noted that on the beach surrounding the prison, the Combine had built stations across the visible coast, allowing the soldiers to observe any oncoming for miles. Upon discovering a hostile, the soldiers would then use the large quantity of weapons
How do I do
available
that?
at Nova Prospect to either fire at them or bring them in as new prisoners. With a tight operation across the whole of the facility and a strong reputation that
Activate
followed
the
across the
thematic
wasteland,
seal.
it was believed by the civilians of Earth at this point
That's
that
why you
Nova
need to go
Prospect was a
into
heavily
the chamber of
fortified
Satan.
stronghold for a solid empire without weakness.
Huh?
But
Where's
unknown
that?
to them, the Combine still had their
Somewhere.
problems and would fight daily to keep control of the prison from stubborn outside forces. Although
Somewhere
the Combine were
from
slowly
where?
adapting the
Oh,
prison for
wait.
their use, the older, unmanned cell blocks
Oh,
have
wait.
become infested by Xenian life forms that had managed to move over to Earth during the
There's a
Resonance
reason to go
Escape,
into
and
every,
now they had also made their home in the region.
like,
The advanced
there's no
technology in the
zones that
depot and
there's a
scheduled
reason to go
rotations by
into.
the guards of the cell blocks had allowed the Combine to retain control
least
of
when
the
you're first
newly
from.
adjusted areas of Nova Prospect. But without the ability to generate force fields in the older areas and on the outside region, the Combine units continuously found themselves at war with the Xenian lifeforms for control of these older parts. On the beach surrounding the prison, the Combine installed large thumpers to slam into the ground, summoning large vibrations to scare away antlions. Although this worked for the most part, in combination with guards patrols of the beach, these thumpers could not be installed inside of the prison due to a lack of space. With this, turrets were placed strategically around areas where the stone floor and walls had cracked and degraded. In turn, the
Why does
perfect
it want me to
location
keep
to
running
fight
over
any
this?
antlion that had made its way into
Like, that's the
facility
letter,
as they
okay?
dug
I
through
get
the
it. I
onwards.
clicked it already.
As the turrets fired at those
don't
coming in, Combine
need
soldiers
that.
were also shown to watch from behind them, adding
Why
additional
does it
support
want
if
me
needed.
to
As an additional
fucking go
weapon,
listen to that?
the soldiers also had access to trip mines, which, on activation, would blow up anything unlucky enough to breach its laser beam. In the basement and water-filled areas of the prison, barnacles had also made their way onto the ceilings, making the location
you have to kill
almost never visited
Leroy
due to
in
the
that
fear
fucking
of being caught on one of their dangerous
area.
tunnels. Just like every other region of the wasteland,
One of the
Yeah.
beds.
crab species had also
Still
found their
looking
way
for that
to Nova
motherfucker.
Prospect. Here, they would
She'll
attempt
be
to hide
surrounded
from
by
sight
NPCs
just
that
up
don't
until the
attack you.
point where they believed they could successfully
Yeah, I kinda
knock
figured.
the heads of the many Combine soldiers patrolling the prison. Not only were the standard headcrabs discovered here, but also the poisonous variation too, a dangerous foe to come across in the small hallways and crevices of the prison. With a constant fight for control of the prison against the Xenian lifeforms, and with their strong goals of developing new technology, creating new synths, acquiring information from the captured inmates, and various other important tasks, the Combine units stationed here had a lot of pressure to perform. But, as with every story, a new pressure would soon change the prison forever. As the resistance of humanity had grown over the years, they set up many locations across the wasteland, getting ready to fight against the Combine when the right time came. With all of the hard work and preparation, their time finally came when Dr. Gordon Freeman suddenly appeared within a train station in City 17. Upon his discovery of the changes to the planet in his absence, and in his exploration of the train station, Gordon is stopped by a fellow member of the Resistance, Barney Calhoun,
I should probably stop
boarding
and
a
fight
train
these
to Nova
motherfuckers.
Prospect. And
They're
here,
not gonna
the
stop, are
Resistance
they?
truly began to show what it was capable of. On his journey, Gordon visits Black Mesa East, a Resistance base hidden on the outskirts of City 17. Unfortunately, during his time here, Dr. Eli Vance, a leader of the Resistance, is captured by the Combine and sent to Nova Prospect. With this, Gordon sets out on a journey to free Eli and visits the terrifying prison. Arriving close to the Combine stronghold, Gordon acquires theropods, crafted from the body of an antlion guard. These pods allowed Gordon to not only stay safe from the attacks of the antlions within the region, but also to set the antlion on any foe he came across. With this, he crossed the beach below the prison, deactivating the thumpers holding back many of the antlions, and then entered the prison using a tunnel underneath the courtyard. Here, he used the weaknesses of Nova Prospekt against the Combine guards stationed here to protect it. Working through, Gordon entered the main facility through the older, derelict A block and fought his way through to the depot. Along his path, he encountered the many Combine soldiers, manhacks, and their vast armory stationed here to protect and monitor the prison. But, using his natural ability in combat and a horde of antlions to break through the weak areas of ground and walls, Gordon and his antlions took out any that came across them. With having left the prison behind him, now unprotected by the now inactive Combine machinery and dead soldiers, the hallways of Nova Prospekt
Where
are
are
now
these
lit
yellow
empty, free
skeletons?
to make their home here and protect it from Combine forces. Although the Combine had been able to defend this location to an extent, the later arrival of antlion guards proved too much for the guards to handle alone, leaving more of an aftermath of Gordon's interference within the facility. With the hallways filling up with antlions, and with Gordon having made it into the most important parts of the facility, the surviving guards were ordered to evacuate the older, now infested blocks where it would be left to the invading horde. Having made it to the train station, Gordon bumps into Alex Vance, the daughter of Eli. Together, after much combat, they make their
Nearly
way
every
through
fucking
the block
crevice.
D8 cells into the most advanced part of the facility, the location where the Combine had been constructing their own entanglement device and where Eli was being held. Having brought destruction in their wake, Gordon and Alex discover that a fellow Resistance member, Judith Mossman, had been working as a double agent. Working with the Combine,
That's one thing I'm not really a fan of.
them in their construction of their teleportation device.
I don't
Using
really like how
knowledge
everything's
gathered
an
from the
instance
construction of the teleportation
and reset
devices
so
that
often.
Resistance have built within Black Mesa East. and
Like,
Dr.
is
Isaac
the mobs
Asimov
reset
in
fine?
City 17.
But I want to see the
Although
fucking map
Judith would go on to deny
and where
that
I've
she had
already
anything
been.
to do with the construction of this device, her statement would be questioned due to just how similar this device looked to the ones created by the Resistance.
So it's a
Through a
different map.
quick string of events, Judith manages to escape the facility using the teleporter, taking Eli with her. With the teleporter not having been constructed to the level the Resistance had built up theirs, the entanglement device becomes unstable. Aware of this instability, and with additional Combine soldiers attempting to breach the room, Gordon and Alex also use the teleporter to escape, unaware the side effects that would come upon its use. Upon completion, Alex and Gordon teleport away to safety, leaving the already crumbling facility at the mercy of the aftermath of the unstable entanglement device. In a flash of white, the teleporter unloaded all of its energy, destroying and killing everything it touched. As the aftermath of this explosion hit each part of the facility, the Xenian life forms, Combine soldiers, and even the trapped prisoners within the Combine cells were taken as Nova Prospekt fell, hundreds of innocent lives taken in just a moment. The destruction of Nova Prospekt not only resulted in the deaths of countless soldiers working under the orders of the Combine, but it also became a signal for the members of the Resistance scattered across the wasteland. If a major Combine hardpoint could be destroyed, then the Resistance could see past the unbreakable front that the Combine had shown since their invasion and actually take them on. With this, the Resistance took to the streets of City 17 and attempted to take control of it, where they would gather new allies along the way. With a full-on rebellion against the Combine rule, a new era had come upon the population of planet Earth, where an uprising had truly begun under the leadership of the smartest minds of humanity. Although the destruction of Nova Prospekt had resulted in the deaths of countless innocent humans and Vortigaunt that had acted out and spoken against the Combine, their deaths could now mean something. A chance to take down other Combine hardpoints and even remove their occupation from the planet. Over its life, Nova Prospekt had been viewed as a place to house the criminals of planet Earth, to a place of extreme horrors, and at its end, a signal of hope and a sign that the Combine were not as indestructible as they seemed. I asked the Resistance members, were the lives of the hundreds of innocent people trapped within Nova Prospekt really worth the spark that ignited the uprising? Or were these people also worth rescuing, where they could have also fought in a future war history? Here we explore in the lore and story behind Epistle 3. After a brutal war with the Combine Empire, a multi-dimensional alien force set on dominating all sentient life within the multiverse, it seemed that they had finally met their match when humanity struck back. While their occupation on other planets may have gone
Did I die
extremely
before I hit the
easily,
portal scroll?
Planet Earth
Fuck
had
me.
the strength to fight against this force.
You wasted
At
a
the war's
scroll.
height, Judith Mossman had been sent to the north by Dr. Arne Magnusson to seek out the codes of the Combine homeworld in the event they would need them. While there, she was captured by Combine forces, but not before she could gather information about a mysterious, lost vessel that could change the tide of this war. After discovering both the Combine homeworld portal codes and information on the Borealis, a lost ship created by Aperture Science that held an immensely dangerous but powerful secret that could bring great change to the war, Dr. Eli Vance and Dr. Isaac Klein clashed with their views on what the Borealis should be used for once they got their hands on it. In Isaac's view, they could use the lost research vessel to make a great change and give the Resistance more of a chance in defeating the Combine, while Eli believed that using the Borealis for any purpose could lead to another event just as bad as the Resonance Cascade. With this, Eli pleads that Gordon and Alex destroy the ship when on their upcoming trip to the north to save Judith, and now, firstly discover the lost piece of technology, and secondly, decide what to do with it. The Resistance fought a final wave of Combine forces and sent off their rocket with the intent to close a forming super portal that would, if allowed to grow into maturity, allow the Combine to send through their vast armies and take over the planet once again and crush the Resistance. To the Resistance's luck, their rocket was launched successfully and the portal closed, leaving the Combine units on Earth abandoned. Having fixed up an old helicopter, Alex, Gordon, and Eli head to the hangar to set off. Unfortunately, Combine advisors attack the group in a last-ditch effort to stop their plans. During the attack, one of the Combine advisors brutally
Please tell me
murders
you
Eli
managed to
in
find and
front
kill
of his
Leo.
daughter, leaving yet another victim
Yeah.
to the Combine rule. To Gordon and Alex's luck, Dog crashes through the ceiling and fights off the advisors, saving their lives. But the damage had already been done, and now the Resistance had to decide what to do next without
You're
one of the
currently holding an
strongest
item.
leaders
Damn
to
it!
guide them. With Eli Vance having been murdered by the Combine advisors within the hangar of White Forest, both Gordon and Alex, as well as the rest of the Resistance, mourned the loss of one of the great and prominent members of their cause, as Eli had the information about the Borealis
still
in
holding
his
an item.
brain when he had
Fuck.
died. The Resistance feared that the surviving
holding
Combine
things.
advisor may have
Wait, you're
absorbed
supposed to be up
important
here.
information
No.
about the Resistance's cause, fearing
Fucker.
any future plan of the rebellion to have been compromised. With the Resistance full of sadness, they came together to bury Eli and honor his memory. Soon, talk came of the plan ahead and the mystery of the Borealis. Following the wishes of their beloved leader, the Resistance decided to follow through with the plan to travel to the north to seek out Judith's fate and discover
Okay,
the
which one of
secrets
these do I
of the
want?
Borealis that she had found just before her capture. As Gordon and Alex prepared to
Vicious
leave, the
projectiles.
people spoke of what to actually do with the Borealis
That's the one I
upon
want.
discovery. Some
Yeah, you can
believe
see
that
how
it
it
should be destroyed,
works
just like
with
Dr.
your
Eli
toxic
Vance
rain.
had wanted, as it could not only potentially give the Combine
When you hover
access
over
to
What do you mean?
whatever advanced technology
Look,
was on board,
like, if you
but
look
also,
down
if used
from
incorrectly
where it-
by the
when you hover
Resistance,
over,
this could have the potential
it
to
has, like,
trigger
check
something
marks
just
and
as
cross
bad as a
marks
resonance
next to
cascade, or maybe
skills.
something even worse.
Mm.
The others
Tell
within
you,
the
like,
Resistance believed
if it
that upon
works
the
or doesn't
discovery
work
of this
with
lost research vessel, They could
A
use the
particular skill.
technologies within to aid the resistance in its
Well, where should I
success
put
against
it?
the Combine Empire and free humanity from their awful rule. But
Do you
as
have
no
a-
one
do
actually
you have
knew
3
what
connected
resided on the
greens?
Borealis, the decision would be left to
No,
Gordon and
not
Alex if they
connected.
were even able to
You
discover
can't
it.
equip. You can't
With
connect it to
Judith's
it, yeah.
coordinates to hand, Alex and Gordon set off using the helicopter, hoping that the Combine
Eventually
had
you'll
not
find
discovered the
3 connected
Borealis yet
greens,
either.
and
With the Combine having stormed Judith's
connect
base, as well as their advisor taking whatever it could,
Alright, where's the
from
Chamber of
Life Ray,
Sins?
it was clear that the Combine had information, but if it were enough to go on, they were unsure. Aware that this trip to the north could be quite dangerous, another group
It
of the
is
resistance
on
chose to
the
follow
left
Alex
side of
and
the
Gordon in a
crossroads,
separate
so
helicopter
there's
where
Broken
they could
Bridge and
supply
Fellside
additional
Roads.
support
On the other
if they
side
were
is
to come into any
Chamber.
trouble with the Combine.
Chamber of Sins.
After hours of traveling, Gordon and Alex make it to the north, but for an unknown reason, suddenly and without warning, the helicopter was unable to transport them, leaving the duo to continue to follow the coordinates on foot. Continuing on, Gordon and Alex finally come across the Borealis, but to their disappointment, they find that the Combine had already made it here first. With their technology, the Combine had constructed a fortified barricade around a field of open ice. While at first there appeared to be nothing of interest.
Alright, where am I
within it, They
going?
watched as the Borealis faded in and out of existence. One moment there,
Where was I?
one moment gone.
Down here?
At first, Gordon and Alex thought that the Combine technology around the ship was somehow manipulating it, but upon further
Where was I
inspection,
going?
they understood
On
the
the
ship to be actually
pointing.
teleporting itself in and out of the area. And now they could see that the
Finesse?
Combine technology surrounding
What?
it was attempting to bring
No,
the
Oh,
ship
on
yeah,
my
into complete coherence.
That finesse.
With this amazing feat happening before their
And
eyes,
then
this
up.
confirmed to Gordon and Alex that the technology on
Up,
board
up,
had great potential to either aid the
mana and
resistance
flask
or
effect?
destroy it.
No,
Understanding
go
that the
up,
Combine had
up.
placed the technology around the ship to seize and then study it, they continued
Where?
to follow the coordinates that Judith
Dexterity?
had given them, believing these coordinates to be the place where
Yeah,
the
so
ship
that
would
dexterity.
materialize for long enough for them to get on board before it disappeared again.
How many
On
points?
their
do you have?
journey to these
Yeah.
coordinates,
Okay.
Combine soldiers had become
Um,
aware of
so you
Gordon
can
and
go
Alex's
up.
presence, where they were later captured. To their luck, the duo
That way,
discovered that
or
they had been spotted
oh
by
wait,
I can
Dr.
go
Wallace
I-
Breen,
go
was
up.
not
I
a
sent
version
you
that they had been
Discord
familiar with.
picture.
During their last interaction,
What?
Wallace
Like
had been
the last thing I
attempting
sent
to
you in
open up a
Discord
portal
is the
to the
picture of what
Combine
we
homeworld
want.
in the hopes he could leave
Right.
Earth and avoid the wrath of the Resistance.
I
as
can't
part
see
of
what those
working
are,
with the
though.
Combine. But this version of Wallace was different.
Uh.
Although his physical body had seemingly died after falling into the depths of the Citadel,
That
the
picture
Gordon
isn't
had
even where
destroyed
I'm
the dark
at.
fusion reactor. The
Yeah,
Combine had
that-
used an earlier version of
That's
Wallace's memories
exactly
and
where you are.
imprinted
That
them
dexterity
into a
node, then
Combine
there's an
advisor where
intelligence
he would now
node.
live as one of
There's
them,
1,
Oh,
2, 3.
okay.
unaware of what had actually happened to his physical form. Aware of the reputation Gordon held amongst his fellow Combine members, this slug version of Wallace slightly feared him, but he feared the Combine even more.
This
He
way?
confessed to Gordon
Or which
and
way
Alex
should I go
that he
first?
was, just like
Or
many
wait,
others,
or did I
simply
skip
a
some
prisoner
other
of
shit
the
I was
Combine,
supposed to
and
do
they
along
tuned
the
to
way?
their
Fuck.
continued
Go right
dominance
from there.
over the planet. Disgusted
Take
with
that
what the
other dex
Combine had
node.
turned him into, he asks Gordon to end his life. Believing Breen to have been partly responsible for her
How many
partner's
points do I
death,
have left?
as well as the
I'm out of
awful
points now.
conditions,
You're out of points.
losses, and situations that the Resistance had found themselves in, Alex
Event,
believed
like,
that a
these-
quick
that
death
little
would be
corner
too good
is
for Wallace,
for
regardless of whether this
reserved
version had no
auras,
memory of
so
the
when you
pain
get
he
some
had caused.
auras,
While Alex did
you
have strong feelings about how Wallace should suffer,
can
Gordon felt
build
pity
them up.
and compassion
Why
for this
there?
green grub, and upon having some time
Huh?
away from Alex, he
I had
may
shit
have
to turn
followed
in
through
here.
with the grotesque creature's plea of release from a miserable existence. Free
okay.
from their brief
Oh,
detachment
'cause
of
this is
Breen's
the-
forces, Gordon
find
and
another
Alex
way
later
around
come
the
across
thing.
Judith
Quest,
after finding
yeah.
her locked inside of a Combine interrogation cell. As Judith had been captured by the Combine, and
okay,
detained
so
as the uprising
I'm going
continued without her,
to
she
this
was
unknown
unaware of the
area
brutal
off of
murder
the
of
crossroads.
Eli. In her grief, Alex
Right.
blames Judith
Yeah.
for his death, believing her actions
Okay.
and betrayal to have had a major impact on the war, increasing the wedge between them in their relationship. Upon hearing this, Judith attempts to convince both Gordon and Alex that Eli had been aware of her cooperation with the Combine all along, and she had been using them to gain an advantage against the dominating alien force. She had known how it would look to the rest of the Resistance, that she would be branded as a traitor, but the reward for taking part in such a dangerous mission would give the Resistance that advantage they needed. With her explanation complete, Gordon believes her to be telling the truth, but in Alex's highly distressed state, she refuses to believe a word Judith says. Regardless of whether Alex believed Judith or not, she possessed the knowledge on how to bring the Borealis completely into this plane of existence, where they could then board it. Fighting through Combine forces, the trio reach a Combine research post. Here, while Judith attempts to attune the frequencies required to bring the research vessel completely into this dimension, Gordon and Alex fight off the Combine forces stationed here to protect the post. With more Combine units on the way, Judith completes her task bringing forth the ship. Still avoiding the Combine forces,
So the
trio
Chamber
board
of
the
Sins
Borealis
is somewhere
just
off of
in time
here?
before it phased out of existence.
That was
Looking
going.
back, they see their Resistance reinforcements arrive, and now
it'll
the
be
Combine
on the
could
wall.
hopefully be held off long enough for
Looking
Gordon,
on the
Alex,
walls.
and Judith to
Like,
figure out how
the
the
outer
ship
walls.
worked. On board, the trio begin to
Come
understand
on.
where the ship went
Yeah,
when
I
it disappeared.
kinda think
Looking around them, they watch as the Borealis jumps from
This
universe
is
to universe.
a
Here,
wall I
they
wanna
see
be
distant
behind.
worlds free from any Combine invasion. As this ship had the ability to teleport,
Like, open the
Gordon,
map.
Alex, and Judith wander it,
Press down.
searching for the power source that allowed it to perform
did.
this extremely advanced
I'm
task.
sure it's on,
Finding
like,
the
up
control
towards the
room,
top
the trio
left.
discovered
Like,
that the journey
dash
of
up
the
that
ship
wall
not only
and
covered
go up
various other worlds, but
Maybe it's-
also
maybe it's that
various other times.
Probably not.
Its non-linear
What's that door?
timeline showed them that
Why are
during
you
its
near it?
development, a team had constructed the Bootstrap device,
The old
a
fields?
self-contained device
Yeah.
capable of creating a
That's free.
field large
No.
enough to cover the entire ship.
Like,
When
like,
activated, it was designed
it's
to
hard for
send
me
the
to
ship
show,
anywhere
like,
in space
because I
and
can't
time.
point at
The
your
team,
thing, but, like,
working from the Aperture Science Research
There's a-
Facility, had seen this as the next stage in their
It's-
scientific path.
the
But
map
without
shows you,
testing,
it's like on
they
the
could
left
not be sure
side,
of the risk that
and,
came with such an
like,
advanced piece
go up
of technology.
to the top left.
As the Combine invaded the planet,
Is this not the top
scientists
left?
became aware that the dominating alien force was searching planet Earth
Like,
for its
but
research
go, like,
facilities.
up.
With Black Mesa having been destroyed and Aperture
go
known
right,
across the planet
and
as
then
a
up.
rival, they knew that it was only a matter
You
of
told
time
me to go
before the
left.
Combine would come for them.
To the top
With
left.
this,
Like,
they activated the
I
bootstrap
can't-
don't know where
device,
the top left
unaware
is. That
of the
looked like the top
consequences
left
in
to
doing
me.
that looks
Selecting a place as far away
left,
as they could,
but it doesn't
the
look like top
scientists
left.
programmed the Borealis to send
Well, I
them to
can't
the
see where
Arctic
top
North,
is.
away from any conflict. Upon activation,
Fuck
the ship
do I
created a
know
field
where the
around
fucking
itself,
top of the
and
map
then
is?
flung through space and time, landing not only within the chosen destination, but also simultaneously in many time
up
zones,
left.
planets, and dimensions. Existing before,
Is
during,
this not
and
up?
after the Combine invasion,
This is
all
where
at
it is.
once,
Keep going this
Gordon
way.
watched as the Borealis
There it
flung
is.
through
I can see
time
that
and
door.
space.
That's exactly where
He
it
could
is.
see the scientists left behind attempting to board the ship, as well as the Combine soldiers fighting with the members of the Resistance that had come to aid Gordon. Time moved and stayed still.
See, that's
at the
why you
same
get
time.
through this fucking
Through
quicker
these
than I
glimpses,
do, because you
Alex
know where
saw
shit
what she believed
is.
to be a
But
staging
it-
area
the map
for a
tells you
Combine
where it
invasion,
is.
ready to attack
No, it
an innocent
doesn't.
It's like-
civilization, just
the-
like they had
the
to
map-
Earth many years
it's
before.
like-
As the ship
Alright, it's on the
stretched
left
and
side.
navigated space
So
and
it's on the
time,
top side.
Gordon, Alex, and Judith attempted
Where
to
on the
discuss
map
what
does
they
it
planned
say
to
it's
do
on the
with
left
ship
or-
now that they had it in their possession? Destroy it, or
like,
somehow
on the
control
world
and
map-
manipulate its technology to aid the resistance against the Combine.
On the
As they
crossroads.
discussed this, the ship
top
sent
left is
waves
Chamber of
side
Sins.
effects caused by the
Like,
bootstrap
the
device.
top
Time loops
is the
sent
broken
through the ship
bridge,
like
and the,
bubbles,
like, bottom right
resulted
is
in
the
additional
Beltran roads.
versions of Gordon,
Bottom
Alex,
left
and
is
Judith
Salt
all
Fields.
in one space. With their minds
Like, the
confused,
orientation on the
emotions
map
heightened,
is-
and a tough decision
like,
to
on the
make,
world map is an
discussion
orientation
increased
that
into an
it will
argument
be
between Alex and Judith on what the
in the
best
map
course
map.
of action to take was. Already angry and distrustful of Judith, Alex
a hint.
argued that
It's
the
not
ship
gonna
should be destroyed,
give you
following
the
her
answer,
father's
but it's-
wishes, while Judith argued that they should
It's a hint.
deliver it to the Resistance and study it. As the argument escalated, Alex suggested that they should set the ship to self-destruct and send the ship into the heart of the Combine homeworld, where it would hopefully destroy them and save not only humanity, but countless civilizations across the entire multiverse from their dominating reign. In response to this, Judith attempted to overpower Alex and turn off the bootstrap device to allow it to rest within the ice surrounding it. With this, in a heated struggle, Alex shoots Judith, killing her. With her death, Alex had honored her father's wish, and whether Gordon liked it or not, they would set the Borealis to self-destruct and ride it together into the Combine homeworld. As Alex arms the ship, essentially turning it into a time-traveling missile, the duo, who had already been through enough pain and war for one lifetime, accepted their fate as the Borealis began its final trip. In this moment, the G-Man appeared aboard the ship, this time taking an interest in Alex instead of Gordon. Through her life, Alex had interacted with the G-Man twice, once as a child during the Black Mesa incident, and secondly, after she had been attacked and almost killed by a hunter in the Outlands. Although she had not properly seen this mysterious entity since her childhood, she did indeed recognize him. With their imminent demise coming up, the G-Man tells Alex that they have places to do and people to be. Upon saying this, Alex follows the G-Man through one of his portals out of this reality, closing the portal behind them, leaving Gordon alone. Looking outwards, Gordon watches as the Borealis enters the Combine home universe, and ahead, he sees just how vast their empire was. The dominating alien force had managed to construct part of their empire around an entire star. They had constructed a Dyson sphere, something humanity had only thought to be theoretically possible. Their empire, knowledge and power was much larger than anyone had ever thought, and then it dawned on him just how low of an impact humanity had and ever would make. That the Borealis, upon impact, would merely be registered by the Combine. Believing all to be lost and all hope gone, Gordon waited for his fate, but to his luck, the Vortigord had discovered his location and using their abilities, plucked him out of the Borealis, where it hit the Combine homeworld and exploded. Landing on an unknown shore in an unknown time, Gordon did know that a lot of time had passed since he had stepped onto the Borealis in the north. He believed that enough time would have passed for those that had been around during his time with the Resistance would remember his name, but most of those he had known best had either been murdered, disappeared, or aged with time. Even now, after everything he had been through, Gordon was completely unaware of whether the Resistance of humanity had defeated the Combine Empire or whether humanity had fallen, just like many other civilizations. With this ending having left the series and fans still without an actual conclusion of how the whole story ended, on August 27, 2017, Mark tweeted small changes to this story, stating that a sketch is only a starting point and that everything changes as you try to make it real. He further went on to say that Alex shooting Judith just wouldn't work, as I am assuming here, it just did not fit Alex's character, and so Mark made a few tweets suggesting changes to his posted story. In one, he offers a change in Judith and Alex's fight. In this alternate version, Alex pushes Judith into a time loop or a portal bubble instead of shooting her, leaving Judith's fate unknown to Gordon. I think this one makes more sense than Alex shooting her. What do you think? Moving on, Mark suggests that Barney would likely have a part in this too, as well as Dog. Sadly, he did not go into more detail about a role they could play. You will also notice here that he refers to Barney as Bernadette and Dog as Cat, something I will get into shortly. Finally, and this is my favourite, an alternate ending, that as the Borealis exploded, it triggers a huge time loop that sends Gordon back onto the inbound train in Black Mesa, beginning the whole story again.
See,
now
to
this
me,
could go two ways.
I think portal scrolls are worth more than any of the other.
And can now stop the experiment, stopping the Combine invasion from ever happening. Or the second way it could go is that Gordon
than any of the other shit I found, so
all memory of what had happened
in value to me. I mean, aside from like the spells that I use and shit.
The Half-Life series. Posted onto his blog on August 25th, 2017, Mark Laidlaw gave the fans exactly what we had been waiting for a whole 10 years.
I literally haven't used like Portal Scroll this entire run.
Not a complete conclusion of the story.
Yeah, like 3 times already, probably.
Some sense of closure. Now, as some of you probably know, Epistle 3 was written as a sort of fanfiction, I guess.
So I just like log out and log back
from a deleted tweet,
like,
we can see he stated this. My website's
that's
down
my
for
Portal
now.
Scroll.
I guess fanfic is popular. Even a gender swap snapshot of a dream I had many years ago. Luckily, this tweet was used in multiple news articles at the time, so there was still.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'd do that if I didn't have Portal Scrolls.
Research. Following on from Mark posting Epistle 3 to his blog, both he and other developers that worked at Valve did state that there was never an actual plot put into place for Episode 3, and Epistle 3 was actually just a thought Mark had.
But it's nice if you want to get back to the place where you were.
Considered the official
like after you do shit in town.
Moving on, Mark wrote Epistle 3 as a letter to the player, being us, I guess. As you can tell during my telling of the story, I used
fill
all
up
of
my
the
inventory,
names
so I
we
never
are
have to go back
in
to
the
town
series.
unless I'm.
But Mark wrote this as a gender-swapped version of the story with different names. I'll do a quick run-through of the differences.
Like, I just never go back. Like,
story,
I go to the end of the line,
as Gertie Fremont.
or where I have to
What was
explore.
interesting about this is that Mark actually gave us insight into what Gordon was thinking.
Like,
a good example
do everything
is
I need
when
to do
Alex does not believe Judith to have been working for the Resistance all along, and we get confirmation here that Gordon agrees with him. Anyway, Alex Vance is referred to as Alex Vaughn. Her father
then
Eli is named Ellie Vaughn.
Log out and log back in,
Judith
and
Mossman is Dr.
then
Jerry
go back
Moss.
to
The transformed
like,
Wallace Breen, also known as
fork in the
Breen
path.
after transformation, is called Dr. Bree before transformation, and Bree Slug after transformation in the story. And the G-Man is
so I guess this
referred
is
to
the thing
as
I needed.
X. With the characters out of the way, Vortigons are given the impressive name of Ghastly Horns. The Borealis is given the name the Hyperborea, a nice nod to the ship's original name during the development cycle into the Beetle. The Combine are named the Disparate. I hope I said that correctly. And the Aperture Science Research Facility are named the Toxin Island Research Base. I wanted to create the video this way with the characters' real names so that those who read Epistle 3 could A. follow the story easily, and B. actually give them an excuse to read it. This is the closure we never got,
legit,
and it is
you're
absolutely
probably like
worth
way
a
over
read.
level.
I have put a link to it in the description. With Breen Grub having been mentioned in the story, it is actually really interesting to note that Mark also created a Breen Grub Twitter account in 2012, 5 years before he posted Epistle 3. The Breen Grub Twitter account adds a little background to his story.
If it's a trap,
after his memories are imprinted upon a Combine advisor, he wakes up in his new form. On May 31st, 2012, Breen makes his first tweet seemingly adapting to his new form, and over the following days, he attempts to contact members of the Resistance in an attempt to help them against the Combine by dropping pieces of information to help the rebellion on a channel he believed to be secure. Through 180 tweets up until 2014, his tweets show him adjusting to his new form, attempting to help the Resistance by making them aware of the enemies around them. And finally, Breen is seemingly taken over by an evil force where his motivations later change to trying to find out where the Resistance were hiding. I will not go too much into detail about Breen Grub, as I do intend to make a whole video about it, but with the existence of this Twitter account while Mark was still at Valve, and Breen Grub appearing again in Epistle 3, I would say that
portal
it is a
just
strong
take me to.
possibility that Breen Grub was meant to be in Episode 3. I would have
If it was
hoped
the
that we as
ascendancy
the
thing,
player
it just
would
took me
then
back
have
to
had the
restart
choice
it.
on whether to
The
put him out of his misery or let him continue to suffer.
Alright, well, where do I go now?
2 years after Breen Grub stopped tweeting, Mark left Valve.
What is your mission,
Let's
sir?
go.
Our next guest has spent the
Well,
better
explore
part of
the
a
Chamber
decade
of
developing
Sin.
some of the most critically acclaimed franchises,
Explore the
and we're
Chamber of
really
Sin.
pleased to welcome to the stage for the
Oh,
first
you're gonna run into
time.
piety
Stand by
again. That's what you
for an
need to do.
important announcement from the
Then kill
Aperture
some
Science
guy.
Emergency Surprise System. Deploying surprise in 3, 2, 1.
I think, if I recall correctly, from literally fucking yesterday. That's how
Hi, my name's Gabe
little
Newell, and I
attention I
work at Valve.
fucking pay to what's actually going on. I think you need to find
There used to be a
piety,
couch here. You know what I realized recently?
but it
I
doesn't
am
say
alone.
find piety.
Absolutely and utterly alone. No matter how many people enter my life at a certain point, they eventually all leave and I end up right back here alone. Just me, my camera, and my copy of the orange box for the Xbox 360. Well,
What's in here?
might as well play Portal again. Apparently, after
This
the huge
looks like
success of the
some-
first Portal game in 2007, Valve almost immediately started development on its sequel. But a game like Portal, a life-changing, genre-defining game, doesn't just come around every year or so. If you want to make a follow-up to one of the best games from a year stacked with them, you got a lot of work to do. And a lot of work was done. And then undone, and then done again. What if the game was set during the 50s and the Cave Johnson guy, we only saw his name scribbled in secret dens next to potentially pictures of him covered up by cutouts of cubes? Anyway, what if he became a robot? What if there's a completely new character that isn't Shell? The protagonist from the first game's name is Shell, by the way. But what if she was replaced with a character named Mel, who is basically just Shell, except white and blonde? Okay, that doesn't work. What if we take the co-op puzzle idea from the PlayStation port of Half-Life that wasn't available anywhere else and make the next Portal game about that? And what if, get this, the two playable characters would be Shell and Mel? I don't know how else to tell you this. We do not like Mel. She never stood a chance. They removed her from the game twice. What if we spent years and years on a mechanic that may or may not have something to do with cameras called f-stop until we inevitably remember that this game is supposed to be about portals? I have seen that image of classic animated Sonic leaning back talking about wanting shorter games with worse graphics just as many times as I've seen that Miyamoto image with a quote beneath it that says a delayed game is eventually good. But did he ever actually say that? Because there's a remarkably similar quote, but it's a little less fancy and marketable. And it goes, late is just for a little while. Suck is forever. But that line wasn't spoken by Shigeru Miyamoto. That was said by Gabe Newell, the president of Valve. Last video I kind of glazed Valve and put them up as a linchpin far above the other greedy companies for their business practices, but the truth is they aren't devoid of their own issues. Every major AAA video game company has dipped their fingers in the anti-consumer strategy bucket, but at the end of the day I still expect quality from Valve because they release so few games nowadays and their backlog is some of the greatest games to exist. The only reason I trust Valve more than another favorite company like Nintendo is because occasionally this huge company with consoles to sell has to release everybody 1-2 Switch every now and then. Easy target, I know. Portal as a series means a lot to me. It's my favorite video game franchise of all time, but weirdly enough, me being a fan of it has actually brought me closer to fans of a different franchise, the Mother franchise. There are very few installments, and whenever we do see them recently, it's mostly a non-canon spin-off material. This would be the point where I would talk about spin-offs, like characters appearing in extra material, mostly GLaDOS. So I did like a ton of research on Poker Night, the Poker Night game series, and by a lot of research I mean I had not watched any Venture Bros prior to this, and then I watched the entirety of the Venture Bros just to talk about Brock Sampson before I realized, you know what, this actually isn't that important to the video. So just know that I have now seen
Solve the Trials of Ascendance.
having seen all of Venture Bros.
Was that not what I was doing already?
I know you cartoon
What
fans
did I
are a
just
little
do
uptight
in that
about
one
me covering
fucking
two video games back to back, but if Shell ever gets added to Smash, I will lose my mind and come in my pants. The video just started.
Yeah, didn't
and
you
I
do that already?
This time. But what I was getting at is I know in my heart of hearts there will never
asking.
truly be a Portal 3.
I don't know.
But in 2020,
Did you not click
near
the fucking
radio
plug?
silence, Valve showed off a new Half-Life game, and it was
thought I
legitimately
did.
great. It means so much more when there's quality over quantity.
Nah,
Because
I think
trust me,
you
I
did.
have played a lot of bad
actually-
VR games. I would actually argue that
But
most
it
of them
says
are
that I
bad.
need
So a
to.
potential sequel to Portal in Portal 2 potentially taking 4
Or
years
should
of development
solve
time
the Trials
to
of
me
Ascendance.
was worth it. That is, of course, if I had known about either of these games prior to 2011. which I didn't. The hypothetical sequel spent a lot of time in
But
the
it
tank,
also
thinking
says the
over
Lord's
decisions like, what if this
Labyrinth,
robot
and,
companion was voiced by Richard Iowati? Most of
that
this
area
development
I was
information
just
was
in
gathered in Did You
like a
Know Gaming's
labyrinth.
video about its early development. When they got
This kinda looks
exclusive
like a fucking
information, check
labyrinth.
these guys out. They never get anything
I don't know
wrong.
how the
Eric
fuck to get
Wolpaw
out.
wanted
Where am I
Richard
going?
Iowati of It Crowd fame to voice the character.
It crowd? They work in IT. What if he was a crab? Who is he? Listen, am I wasting time? Am I stalling? What would that accomplish? What do I have to gain from purposefully not talking about my favorite video game of all time a year after the previous videos released that people have been
I just went down the
anticipating
wrong
to perfectly
fucking
mirror
side.
the anticipation and
Not
wait for the
realizing I
sequel
couldn't
in
go that
general
way.
being created?
Fuck
Yes,
me.
it was intentional. It definitely intentional. These intros are always way too long, and I fear that they're getting longer. So at this point, I really have no reason to not jump right into the game. Have you guys heard about Portal, the Flash version? Portal, the original game, was announced around the summer of 2007, and then released officially as a part of the Orange Box collection in October 2007. Last time I kind of accidentally made it seem like this game was shadow dropped, which was not the case at all. Quite the opposite, actually. It was so popular that the team over at We Create Stuff made a side-scrolling, more platforming and momentum-based game even before the official was released. It even recreated an iconic scene from the initial trailer that never actually made it into the final game. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's a short, fun little Flash game. It's just that a first-person puzzle game and a side-scrolling platforming one are inherently different. What adds an extra wrinkle into this story is that almost immediately after the official game was released, We Create Stuff got to work converting these Flash stages into Portal maps. This was initially released as a custom map pack on PCs, but these new chambers, on top of some other bonus chambers, were compiled into the Xbox Arcade exclusive Portal Still Alive. Get it? And I gotta say, I love more Portal, but it's pretty clear that these stages were initially made with side-scrolling in mind. Like, the level with all the laser blockades seems a little dizzying and annoying until you see the bigger picture and realize that being in first person is for little humans, full map view is for gods. Oh yeah, the lasers. The pack is based off of a Flash version of a game that wasn't even out yet, so they added some things that they thought would spice up gameplay. But then in Still Alive on its own, they also added balls and these blue platforms you could shoot portals through but can't pass through, and electrical floors, and these cube delete buttons, which would have been a godsend in these Flash puzzles. It took me so long to push these blocks into place. Okay, so after filming all this footage, I went to watch a long play of the Flash version to see if I missed anything. Come to find out that you actually can pick up turrets and weighted cubes, which I did not know. You gotta give me some slack. I was very tired and very sick when I captured this footage. I got an achievement while playing Still Alive that called me a fruitcake. So, it's not just new levels, it also comes with challenge versions of the test chambers from the original. Some of them require more precise inputs or movement and speed. Some of them just make the puzzles harder or the enemies more ruthless. And while that's all well and good, you know what game I really want to play right now, and I know you're all waiting for? Portal! Again, the first one again. Did you notice that there's an IV drip on the title screen, but when you load into the opening chamber, there isn't one anymore? There's actually a decent amount of cool stuff worth rediscovering in the first game, upon multiple replays. Not only are there some main game achievements like the one you get for destroying a certain amount of cameras, but there's also an achievement that you can't even start until you've already beaten the game. So, let's play Portal. Again, on March 1st, 2010, Portal got an update to which the only thing listed in the patch notes was changed radio transmission frequency to comply with federal and state spectrum management regulations, which in reality added the transmission received achievement, which placed these radios around the game, all playing a more jazzy version of the song performed at the end of the first game, Still Alive.
I took Herald of Agony, but I don't think any of them metal. Herald of Agony is alright.
About
To unlock
frenzy.
these achievements, you have to carry these radios with red lights over to specific spots using the static noises it emits as sort of a detector, until the light turns green and makes a
No, I
different
don't have anywhere I
For
can
example,
put it
the
right.
first radio is on a nightstand next to the player when they wake up, and all you have to do is carry it over to the
Herald,
red plate,
Herald
and
of
Morse
Agony
code
is
will
an
play from the
oral, so
radio.
if you have any green slots, you can put it in with the oral. It's not a support skill.
After solving the most difficult
It's not a
puzzle in the
support
game, Chamber 1's radio is on top of a security camera on the first right. This time you have to solve the puzzle first and then bring the radio to the open door, which yields...
Herald of Agony is an aura,
Gibberish.
Instead of
Gonna be
sports
honest,
skill.
most of the transmissions are gibberish.
So you
While
can-
we're achievement hunting, in Chamber 2, we can grab the blue portal gun and start tearing
Just
down
put it
cameras.
in
And this is a very famous achievement.
any
Tearing down all the
frame
cameras
slot.
is one of the easiest to get in the game if you know what you're looking for. But what most people don't know is that there's a
Outdoor.
secret audio line in the final chamber that's supposed to play once you shoot down your final
Yeah, but I
camera.
don't have
It's not
any
really
green
a secret
slots
as
available.
much as it is
Oh, okay.
broken. It's supposed to play after knocking down all 33 cameras, but the GLaDOS voice line you're supposed to hear only plays if you shoot down all the cameras in the game when no other dialogue is playing. The reason most players haven't heard this line is actually right here at the beginning. You're given the portal gun and your first instinct is to shoot the camera right in front of you, but GLaDOS starts yapping as soon as you grab it. For this chamber, I
Never
waited
will just take
patiently.
that one.
As patiently as the guy who threw a
Anyway.
tantrum over video game cutscenes can. Waiting for GLaDOS to stop speaking, shoot down the camera, then backtrack to 2 cameras found earlier in the test chamber. While I'm at it, I can grab the hidden radio on this skinny ledge and then take it to the spot where I grab the blue portal gun to hear gibberish. Cool. After solving Chamber 2, we return to the gap, but have to satiate our camera bloodlust long enough for GLaDOS to stop telling us about the gap. I want to shoot this camera so bad. Shoot the camera across the gap, then pass through and shoot the other camera across the other gap. You know, they really should have called this place The Gaps, plural. Who is they? The radio will fall with the second camera, and this time you have to shoot a portal up on this corner wall and lead the radio through to get a transmission. And you'll never guess this. It's gibberish. Test Chamber 4 is actually quite small, so after listening to GLaDOS again, you could shoot the camera right next to the sign and then move a little to shoot the camera across the room. The radio is at the bottom of this pit with the cube, and there's only so many spots in this chamber, so you'll eventually figure out it's by the door, and hear actual Morse code again. Solve the
Wetlands.
chamber and move on. Despite saying that the test subject will not be monitored in the next chamber, there are still cameras watching you. There's 2 in the main
I have
room
no
almost
idea
right
where
next
the
to each
dread
other, and then you
thicket
just
is.
solve the puzzle like normal. However, once the door opens, you'll clock the radio on the other side waiting for you. What you have to do here is shoot a portal over to it, because if you walk towards its siren call, you'll be trapped as the door closes behind you. And then you'll never be able to hear more gibberish at the bottom of this small cube pit. The final camera is past the door I just mentioned, but be careful not to shoot it as GLaDOS begins her victory speech. Chamber 6 has no cameras, but it does have a radio jammed above the pellet shooter. It took me a couple attempts and adjustments, but I eventually grabbed it and took it over to the platform to be serenaded with more garbled noise. Chamber 7 has no cameras like the previous, and for this radio you have to shoot a portal in these little gaps
It's
between the
probably
stairway,
the place
which I
you
didn't even know
haven't
you could do.
discovered-
I
you
took it over to
haven't
the
been able to
corner
get through
platform,
yet.
but then dropped it before I could tell if it was
dread
actually
thicket.
Morse code or not.
It's over here. Yeah, so you have to go
Chamber
through the
8!
wetlands.
On my first attempt, after taking forever to grab the
You
radio,
use the
I
apex
tried to
on
shoot a
the-
portal while holding it, and accidentally threw the radio into the toxic sludge.
Like,
I really hope resetting
there
doesn't
was-
mess up
there
my
was
camera
some
run. On the second attempt, I took it back
vines
to the
blocking
beginning
you
to hear
before.
more gibberish. I'm glad I went through all that.
But now
Dude,
you can go
Chamber
through
9,
them.
Chamber 9, dude.
Why can
Dude,
I go
if you
through them
remember
now?
last
Because
time
last
I pointed
time
out this square
was
hole
there,
that
I
almost
couldn't.
looks like you could fit the cube through, but
'Cause
you
you
can't.
have the
This couldn't
apex,
have
which
been
you
the
should have
original
gotten
intention because these radios were
from-
added later. But the name of this game is setting up a portal next to the hole and using a
Killing
cube
all
to
the
push the
bandits
radio
until
down
they die
without
off.
accidentally destroying the radio. But
Think.
cubes are free game, and trust me, I destroyed a lot of cubes trying this.
so-
Eventually, I just
Oh.
figured you could jump up and grab
Handing
it.
in the
Solving the
Tolman
puzzle will
device or
open the
whatever-
door so
whatever
that
you
you can
got for
hear
killing
even more noises. That one wasn't
Coyote
even the
the
hardest
second
one.
time.
You have to wait until the end of the momentum speech to shoot
So I'm
the
going
first
to the
camera in test
wetlands,
chamber
to that
10.
place,
The radio
like,
here is placed on
northeast?
part of the wall jutting out. And you have to launch
Or
yourself
northwest, I
and
mean.
then jump back
Yeah.
across to grab it.
A function of mass and velocity
Alright,
is
what's your mission say?
In layman's terms, speedy things.
solve all the trials of ascendancy to access the Lord's labyrinth.
Jump
And
back
there's
across
my
and grab
fucking
it. What
thing.
you're not supposed to do is drop it several times on the way to the
Travel to the
hotspot. I'm gonna be
blah,
honest,
blah,
I don't
travel
even
to the
know how I
wetlands.
got this one,
Travel
but
to
it's
the
jarbled
wetlands.
anyway, so it doesn't matter. Chamber 11, you have to wait through
Yeah,
another
fuck,
classic
okay.
GLaDOS zinger before turning around and shooting the camera behind you. I was so caught up in the awe of the radio being precariously placed in front of this door and the memories of this orange portal room that I forgot I was standing in an orange portal, and I fell into the goo. Second attempt, wait through the dialogue again, shoot the camera again, don't die this time, that's very important. Place a blue portal next to the door and wait for the orange to come to you and grab the radio. Redirect this energy pellet to solve the puzzle, and then again you bring the radio to the previous resting place of the orange portal gun. Maybe you get a little too ahead of yourself and jump to your death and have to do that all again. Who's to say? This is your run, not mine. The next chamber, you gotta fling yourself to the top and then drop down. And the radio will be hidden underneath on the middle pole jutting out. I promise I didn't choose the rightmost pole to show you how good of a jumper I am. But check out that jump, that was pretty impressive, right? I then proceeded to drop the radio all the way to the bottom of the map. Can't be good at everything. It then somehow fell through a different portal and ended up at the top. I tried to throw the other cube across to the button, but ended up tossing myself as well. Eventually, after a lot of mess, I got the radio hovering near the button and got an actual Morse code message again. Been a while since we got that. The secrets of Chamber 13 can actually be finished relatively quickly. I mean, after she's done yelling at us again. Shoot the first camera in the opening room, go outside to shoot the second camera, and then use the portal on the ceiling to grab the radio jutting out from the wall. Bring it back to the opening room and hear nothing of value. You know what we haven't seen in a while? Some jank. Chamber 14 has some stuff to it. We learned you could shoot a portal under these staircases, but did you know you could place portals on the grate on the floor, even though it isn't a white wall? And did you know that if you remove the cube from the plate, this door will short circuit and stay open? This is an effort to prevent soft locking, but I suppose I've never experienced this because I've never felt compelled to move this cube. Weren't we doing something? I see the radio up on the wall, and the only place to put portals near it are on the floor, so I need to use momentum. After running around trying to find a spot, I eventually figure I can use the raised platform that activates after solving the puzzle. But even this took me so many attempts. I had to jump off the moving platform at its highest to turn ever so slightly to grab the radio. Ironically, I probably could have used the cube for this, but again, something about this room compels me to leave the cube right there and never move it. After multiple attempts, I celebrated victory by bringing the radio to the frequency spot, but jumped too much and fell into the goo and died before I could hear the frequency. I really hope that one wasn't Morse code. Chamber 15 has another early camera, and as soon as I enter the first part of the test, I can hear the radio. Mine got a little stuck in the tube, so it took me a couple tries, but after getting it, you just have to bring it back to the elevator. That was surprisingly easy. You gotta expect more jank from this game. You know, it's not without it. This is my audition for a very popular video game-based YouTube channel, though, by the way. Did you know that the whole left side of this fizzler does not work properly? Not only can you shoot portals through it, but even walking through it doesn't erase them. And neither of these things are correct. I solve the second part and then hop on the raising platform and shoot another camera before realizing I cannot backtrack because the platforms won't go back down. I reloaded the save, and lo and behold, I did miss a camera. Hopefully the reset doesn't ruin my camera dialogue hunt either. As long as I don't do that exact same thing again. Hey, did you know with a strategically placed jump you can actually get inside the platform catcher? I got stuck inside and I had to reset. Did you also know that if you get too close to a wall while standing on a moving platform, the platform will actually move under you while you stay still, and then you'll fall into the goo and die? Reset. The next big room is still a part of the test chamber, but despite that, it actually has one more camera and another radio. Remember when I said they would get harder? You have to get up in these glass rooms, shoot a portal in each to hit the buttons within the same interval to open up the door to the pellet receiver, then place two portals below you and use momentum to jump down and get into the now open crevice, grab the radio, and then also quickly escape before the door closes and you trap yourself, thus having to reset. Guess how many attempts this took me?
Jesus.
Once. It took me once. Stress is a powerful drug, but then you can just take it up the elevator that activates when solving the puzzle, and here's some Morse code.
3, 4 more levels.
Chamber 16.
Cool.
Turret. Fun. Take down 2 turrets, take down 3 cameras, come across the first of many unsettling secret dens strewn throughout the tail end of the game. Unsure of who or what could have made these. Hey, did you know that this radio actually spawns a little bit above the cube, so if you only move the cube beneath it, it'll float? Or it will if you don't bump into it. I'm not capturing this footage again. I played this game so many times. Take the radio back to the hidden den, and while we don't hear anything of substance, we still don't understand the significance of these rooms, or the hidden radio frequencies. Luckily, there's another camera up here in the corner. Did you know that, like the cubes, every turret can activate the plate except for the first turret you come across at the very beginning of the map?
The reason why that guy is, like, so strong.
Did you also know that, for whatever reason, this observation deck is completely dark? Whether this is intentional or not is unclear. Anyway, destroy final camera and vaporize a turret for shits and giggles. Moving on to the next chamber, Chamber 17, the companion cube. I can't do this. Quickly make our way past the pellets and
Fucking
shoot
beat
the first
him.
camera we
I
see.
just
Aim
need
downwards and
some
shoot
health
another. Once you
potions.
finish the actual test,
Oh,
the
yeah,
final
you can brute
platform
force
raises
him.
to reveal
Go.
the red light radio stuck under. But this time, you don't take the radio to the hidden
Like,
den. You take it
he's
to the
gonna heal.
incinerator.
Almost
Insult to
had
injury.
him.
I wanted to get the pain of sending the
Anyway.
companion cube over with as fast as
Alright.
possible, but I messed up this simple jump so many times. Was I actually being thrown off my game, or was I subconsciously extending my time with the
None of
companion
it-
cube
none of
to
the stuff you
elongate
dropped
and push off the
were
inevitable
fuck.
abandonment I know I will feel? Let's play with some slime. This fucking frequency took me so goddamn long because for whatever reason, when you jump while holding
Things
it,
without
the radio
slots
just
that you wanna
drops.
pick up
It didn't
are
help that I couldn't
rings
shoot
and
while holding it and
amulets
kept taking the
and
plunge. After
basically
attempt
anything
after
that
attempt,
is
I finally got the
gray.
radio in the air until it
Because
fell
that
through
means
its
it's
own
currency.
portal. Listen, I saw the green light, I saw the counter, I have no clue what
Gray?
it sounded like, but there's no way I'm doing that again.
Like,
There's actually
with
another
the
radio
same
in the
color
turret
that,
pellet part of the room that's hidden on top of the catcher box,
Pole
and you
of
can grab it
the
using some
scroll of
momentum and then solve the puzzle and bring it
wisdom
across
and
the moving
portal
platform.
scroll.
As long as I don't launch myself.
Like it's a certain color of gray.
Huh. I have completed and analyzed this game so many times, I have never once seen that happen. This chamber never ends. We move on to the Spider-Man section and shoot down the first camera we see. I've learned my lesson from last time. I'm leaving the new radio down here and platforming alone. I'll shoot a portal down to grab it once I'm at the top. I don't think this is Morse code. I'm starting to
I've died
think
a couple
actually,
times lately.
I don't know what Morse code sounds like. Chamber
Definitely
90.
pushing.
The final test chamber. We know what comes next. We're aware of the inevitable
far I can
betrayal
get
yet to
without
befall us, with no possible recourse to
actually
prevent this. Shoot a
trying
camera.
to
Did you know
do
that this
anything.
button here actually has a much wider hitbox and will not activate if you stand under it? I came across the penultimate camera almost completely accidentally while playing this. And now the moment we've all
Yeah,
been
most
waiting
often my deaths are when I'm just trying to run through
Not
shit
the fire
and skip things.
At the Enrichment Center,
Yeah.
we promise never to value your safety above your
Like,
unique ideas and creativity.
definitely
However,
just like
do not destroy
like
vital
you can
testing
pretty much
apparatus.
like run.
Listen,
and
I've played through
press
this game
square,
dozens
or
of times.
you
I've
hit
become a
X.
master of
Like,
avoiding
just-
this fire.
just click
What I've
boxes,
never
right?
done before is grab this
shit will just
radio
die and
that's
you get
in the fire
experience.
pit. Fuck! Shit!
And
This thing is
You
stuck
just
sideways.
basically keep
I got
moving.
it.
But everything
Easy
dies.
peasy. I actually got it the third time, but then while looking up and backing away to see where I need to go, I backed into the portal and died. Does that count? Did you know you can jump on these locks and allegedly break them? Did you know you could use an item to stop the deadly fan from spinning? Did you know you could actually shoot a portal on the bottom of these ramps and kill yourself? Did you know you could do that in real life? Disclaimer. Do not do that in real life. Did you know gaming's never gonna hire me now? Bringing the radio all the way into the secluded office will yield even more static gibberish. Never know what you have until it's gone. Did you know you could activate this plate with the broken pieces of the cube deployer? I'm starting to think I'm never gonna get out of this Android hell. That's that eerie feeling. If you zoom back in from this being a secret collectible in the post-game of this
So
project,
things that would be
actually,
in the same
where do these
category
radios
would
come
be
from? Because before they were little
armor
hiding spots throughout the test, but now that we're deep in the underbelly of this
blacksmith
aperture
whetstones,
facility, we find them stored in
sword
small
pieces,
panic spots
okay.
with a bunch of garbage. Moving a radio to a
got a
random part of a
cop.
chamber means nothing, but bringing them to mechanic structures not fit for the average eye, someone is trying to tell us something. But what? And who? We're
Jewelers,
barreling towards the
orbs,
end again, but don't
those are
worry, the
important.
turret room is the
Orb of
strangest of
fusing,
them all.
those
When you
are
drop
important.
into the pit where you're inevitably attacked by these turrets, all you hear are turrets activating. That's in the English version, and most other versions. But if you change your language...
Vale. Ahora sí que voy a matarte.
I got a translation here. Shout out Google. You are using this translation software incorrectly. Please check the manual. Huh. Not only that, but you can actually open these doors sooner than you're supposed to just by walking up to them. I really wanted to show you this fun fact in this early deep dive part of the video, but I forgot to switch my language back to English for a long time. As if they couldn't get more adorable. But it's in this chained off, defective turret room that we find the penultimate radio. But more importantly, we find these stairs that move really far away from you when you pick them up. Is that enough secrets and facts? I could have just made this an iceberg. I probably should have. But this time it's reversed, where you take the radio from a random location and place it in one of these sad little dens to hear your message. Or lack thereof. The final hidden jazz radio is jammed into the mud and waste in the titular mud and waste room. But before taking it any place of value, you've got to take out the army of deployed turrets. I don't know if I explained this last time, but it's revealed in extra marketing material that the reason the turrets don't kill you instantly is because they're actually shooting a full bullet casing instead of the stuff inside. If that sounded incorrect or confusing, I don't pretend to know how guns work, but put a pin in the extra marketing material because we're going to talk about it. Take out the turrets, use momentum and placement to fling yourself up. But I've learned this lesson too many times already. Wait until after to bring the radio up with you. Until you finally make it all the way up this green generator to generate the final piece of audio.
Fuck.
I was kind of hoping this one would be cooler. And now we've ripped down all the cameras in the game, got the accidental secret audio, and found all these hidden frequencies strewn throughout the post-game. And while technically we still need to go fight and defeat GLaDOS to escape, let's look at these audio files. Out of the 26 frequencies, only 4 of them feature proper Morse code, the final of which was Radio 17. So we could have ended this expedition way earlier.
Not in my
Radio
America.
1's Morse code translated to interior transmission active, external data line active, message digest active.
She's like,
Radio 5, the
this
second
shouldn't
Morse
be
code radio
happening. Not in the
translated to
world I know. Not in my America. That's basically what she said.
D372BB6821B D91D3542A419D6. I was worried for a while that I translated that really incorrectly because it didn't look
my
right
character.
at all. Like any good obtuse ARG, if you run that string of letters and numbers through the MD5 message digest algorithm, after all that hard work and effort, it translates to the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. These are what ARGs sound like to normal people, by the way. The 12th radio's code translates to system data bump active, user backup active, password backup active. And finally, above all
there's
else,
nothing for me to do.
Radio 17 translates to... Okay. So these individual messages don't necessarily mean anything, but it's important to set up that we need to use the MD5 algorithm to look at these slow scan television
That's because you beat the boss.
Okay.
No, you
so
went through.
YouTuber
You finished through the
Skyrion does a
Val
much
ruins.
better and more
You're in the
in-depth
dread
job
ticket
of
now.
explaining this entire process, but it's not really integral to the story I'm trying to tell.
No,
So
this is the northern woods or something.
The dread
It's
ticket
actually
is
really fun.
connected.
Running all of the audio files in the code of the game that play from the radios through slow scan television software actually yields 22 images, as this software is specifically used for converting audio to
the person
images.
who wants
The
you to
images are made up
do
of
that
distorted looks at
is-
what we can assume are items around the Aperture
forgot
office.
her
Some
fucking name.
keyboards, some files, a lab coat, a skull. What, you never seen
she'll
dudes
give
do
you
science
a
before?
hideout.
But the images from radio
A base.
frequencies 2, 4, 7,
We have
14,
player housing.
16, 18, 20, and 25 are divided into 4 images in their own right,
Huh?
actually giving us like 46. But the single images
Housing?
don't actually matter.
Yeah.
It's more of a red herring. The split images both feature
have
hidden
your own
characters
base.
and also seem to be numbered out of 32. Putting those
Where?
images in order
No, like,
yields...
that's why she
All right,
wants
let's
you to
do
go to
this
the
again.
dread ticket.
9459C6CAC
the lush hideout is there.
203B8128B7CC6 3068D4FD, and running that through MD5 again yields a 10-digit number. The thing is, I was writing this as I was doing research on this ARG, so you could see me kind of actively reading down the line and putting pieces together in my head, and I got a little bit too excited and thought, oh, this must be a phone number. If I want to figure out the rest of this ARG, I gotta call this number. And then I remembered, I'm terrified of phone calls. Like, I don't even like calling my family. My body shakes whenever I need to make a singular appointment. How am I expect to call a random number? But luckily, looking into another frequency image, we can see the scratched out phone number with the letters BBS next to it. BBS stands for the bulletin board system, which you need BBS software to access. So the few among the hardcore Portal fans that did have access to this service punched the numbers in and were greeted with a deep black screen with 2 options: GLaDOS login and password. If you remember from last time, this is not a new thing for the Portal franchise, as you can gain access to secret dialogue using the C. Johnson login hidden on the wall in one of the rat dens. But this isn't C. Johnson. This is GLaDOS login. So where can we find this login? Well, if we draw our attention back to the 12th radio's message, user backup active and password backup active. So then we punch in backup for both the login and password. We eventually get all of this.
So
after all the trials and tribulations, the ARG contributors were rewarded with scrambled grayscale images that hint at the future of Aperture Science and the Portal series. Also lots of strings of text from someone we'll hear more firsthand from later. Amidst the images of decrepit test chambers and the facility in shambles, we see
when you open the box, the monsters.
An eye? In a game revolving around loneliness, we see the first glimpse of this thing. It looks kind of like one of those personality cores that fell off GLaDOS at the end of the game. But then why is this?
I already told you, like, Dash is like mandatory.
My game was running in the background this entire time.
But, like,
we redirect rockets into GLaDOS and drop pieces of her personality into the incinerator she used to mock us so fervently. You get it, we've seen this all before. We ascend out of the testing facility as our body flops on the hard pavement. Finally
activate the box and just, like, dash away.
Then, the game updates again. March 3rd, 2010, an update for Portal was delivered with the only patch note reading added valuable asset retrieval, to which the only in-game change was the new ending, where instead of flying there in bittersweet victory, Shell, the test subject we've played as for years, is dragged back into this facility once more. Checking back to the bulletin board system after this update, the players who already signed in were met with a new string of dialogue, a countdown, and the line, valuable asset retrieval initiated. And now the player has to wonder, did we do this? Did we steal Shell's happy ending and freedom from her? Or what if it's something
that I had
else?
another
March
type
5th,
of fucking
2010. Portal 2 is officially announced to the public. Okay, we have now thoroughly covered all the extra material tied to Portal. We're ready to wrap this up. The ARG, all the secrets are ready to move on to the next game after another famously long BH Ultra long intro. Wait a minute, what does valuable asset mean? June 14th, 2010. By now, everyone knew about the game's existence. I mean, Valve already announced it. But we would finally get our first look at footage from the game during Sony's E3 presentation. And the reveal speaks for itself.
Deploying surprise in 3, 2, 1.
No. There's a show right here. What the fuck?
After a cute little speech from Gabe Newell, we see footage of a debris-ridden flora overgrown room that pans down past even more rubble to show her. She's dead. We killed her. A shot of Test Chamber 7 in complete disarray. We know the place exploded last time, but plants don't just grow overnight. How long has it been? Android hell, the opening room, a platform raised up into a laser. That's new. There weren't any lasers in the last game, unless you count the turret's laser sight. We even get to see a cute little clip of a turret being built. I don't care how often they shoot at me. Aperture just makes them so darn cute. The rooms are readjusting, constantly shifting into different shapes and sizes. A lot of things look different between the two games, and that's not just because of the junk. That's just what happens as the game developed its own art style beyond being a Half-Life spinoff. I mean, look at how different the cores look in this trailer. Look at this blue... Hold on. Do I know you? When is this game set? Because everything is in disarray, and we see GLaDOS back online, but she's dead. We saw her. No, we made her
that are, like,
explode.
really a special
You see a
like
very old room crashing into a wall.
Like deep.
I mean, look at the wallpaper. You heard me. We see a character, unsure of which one, jump off a high ledge to launch the portal, and then
those things.
The logo. Portal 2. Coming 2011. No delays.
I think that indicates to you, like, those things are upgrades, and you
the game now. So of course now would be the perfect time in this
things
video to actually jump
slots,
into the game. There's nothing else to cover. You already know what I'm gonna say. Portal 1's marketing went viral as soon as it launched, and Portal 2 was no different. We got so many ads and teasers and shorts animated with these little bathroom sign people to introduce new mechanics and new players to the world and lore of Aperture. Some of which seem to be narrated by famed voice actor and composer J.K. Simmons from Flapjack.
I already had a ring.
Yeah.
Cave Johnson here. Every time I look at our test chamber production line, I am reminded of my father. Now, he wasn't a scientist, Just a simple
That-
farmer, a professor
that's
of
so
farming
much
at
better.
the local farm college. Never farmed a day in his life,
So
but his
much better.
theories on farming are the backbone of this company. Do it from scratch.
What?
Spare no expense, and never cut corners. Well,
Is
that's
your
a
thing
corner
saying you
cutting
don't have
machine.
the
We
stats
obviously
for
cut
things
them
now?
down. Point is, we've always done things
Yeah.
the way my father did, and his father before him, and his father before him, and
What are
his
you
father
missing?
before him.
Intel-
And we are almost bankrupt. So, time for a cheaper approach. Allow me to introduce
Hover over
the
the
multiverse.
Oh.
Infinite Earth with an infinite number of apertures. And as of now, they are going to take over all test chamber construction. And more importantly, all paying
What just
for test
happened?
chamber construction. Why are they agreeing to do that? They're not.
I'm
We're
just
tricking
wondering,
them.
what goes over
Here's how it
here?
works. 1, design a
There's
test.
you can
2, slip
equip
the mole
one ring
monsters
in
or
the
what
off-
have you the
like,
blueprint when they're not looking.
If you hold
3,
L3
once they
and
build
click
it,
it,
steal it back.
it'll
Look at that
it'll
sad
put it
little
up
octopus.
offhand.
That's where you come in. We need blueprints.
I think it's us.
We are about to run the greatest con game in the
Okay.
history of the multiverse, and you are the bottleneck.
Alright.
Yes, you. Get back to work.
Alright, yeah, that fixed it.
Then are these boots? Or there's great, but like I don't think they are.
That amulet down there is a different color. Because you've got like gray amulet, I think.
My first experience with
What
the Portal
amulet?
franchise, and by extension
So
Valve
above
as a
the right
company,
ring
was
is an
seeing this
amulet
ad with the
slot.
2 robots while watching WWE SmackDown on a Friday
I have
night
the
in
better
2011.
amulet.
What a classic era. I'm sure Christian was up to his regular shenanigans.
I'm gonna sue the WWE.
I have covered
Okay.
ads and teasers
I don't know-
and
I don't know what that
ARGs and
color is.
promotional
My-
material
my
and
filter
achievements
doesn't have
and
that color.
secrets and extra material, everything leading up to this game. So now that we can finally talk about it, actually, what was the deal with those dens? We can't be done with Portal 1. Like, we still don't actually know who made these. Who scattered these
Which one of
warnings
these do
around
you
the
think is
aperture test
better?
chambers? Did they put them for themselves, or were they purposefully
Probably the
placed
one
to
where-
influence Shell? We haven't seen a single other person
one
in these
where-
abandoned halls, so how could someone have
If it
written this?
increases
If
physical
everyone
damage,
else is
does
truly
nothing.
dead or gone, then
Maximum
where did these
armor,
warnings
maximum
come from?
life.
And why did they paste the companion
Maximum
cube
life
over
is
all of
basically
these
the
photos?
same.
The creator of these dens,
Res
of these
good,
pieces
res
of art,
good,
knew
res
about the
good.
cake,
Strength
knew about
is
GLaDOS,
alright.
knew about us. But how? Throughout April 8th to April
one on the
11th,
left is
2011, a
probably
little
a bit
over a
better.
week before the release of the game, Valve would publish issues of a webcomic on
But
the
they're-
official Portal 2 website
but they're
titled
pretty similar.
Portal 2 Lab Rat, to fill the gaps between Portal 1
Alright.
and 2 and finally introduce us to the man we only thought we knew in passing, finally answering the most burning questions from the first game and subsequent updates. And it goes a little something
Forest encampment.
like this.
Still looking for that boy.
Reality is a story that
This
might
way.
tells itself.
Do I have to
An
go through the
artificial structure
caverns, or I need to
conjured
go
into
some?
being by the calcium
Open
ion
the
exchange
map.
of a million synaptic firing. A truth so strange it can only be lied into existence.
Oh,
This
you've
map
already, you've already
can
done it.
lie. Never doubt it. What's this?
Done what?
Real? Or just my lying mind?
I have to go to the dread
Could she
ticket
truly be
still.
awake after all this time?
Missions
No,
doesn't say go to
just
the
a
dread
figure.
ticket anymore.
If she were real, the turrets would see her
Does.
too.
Are you in the dread ticket?
Search the dread
The end
ticket
is
for a
finally upon
hideout.
us.
Yeah, that's what
Am I
I
in
said.
the?
Yeah.
Don't do it.
You gotta
I
find the
have
lush
to.
hideout.
Please try to understand.
Where the fuck's the hideout?
We put
Probably in the
cameras
bottom left
in
side.
the cameras.
Genius.
He'll never suspect.
Cube root of 2x is irrational if x is irrational.
Come on, you don't need those anymore. You're fine.
It's been so long. I've been saving these last 2 for this day. I'm going to need a clear head for what is to come.
This will be the end of us.
There are moments when I can almost see the underlying grammar of this place. An impossibility, some mad architect's opus, a relic from an age that never could have been. It's a metastasized amalgam of add-ons, additions, and appropriations, building itself out
get
of
off of
itself.
me.
Beautiful
Fucking
and
getting
terrible.
stuck on trees and
And like
shit.
anything cloned from a cancer cell, probably immortal.
Stay to the right. Turrets ahead on your left.
Whatever you say. Another mural to mark the occasion.
Where's the girl now?
On her way into the final
Yeah, I
chamber.
can see the
You mean
doorway.
with her? She doesn't have a chance.
Oh, she has more of a chance than you think. What was that? Are you okay?
The room shook itself to pieces.
Like an unbalanced centrifuge.
I heard an explosion. What could it mean?
Only one thing it can mean. She did it. It's over. The ultimate systems crash.
It's been a hell of a morning. You missed all the fun. You had to hit the kill switch again.
Henry, you have a strange idea of fun.
Hey, we're lucky to be working on this.
You've got a strange idea of luck, too.
Think about it. Every generation gets some new frontier to
see an
tackle.
orange thing.
Einstein got relativity. NASA Cowboys got the moon. All the easy stuff is taken.
Just on the edge
I mean, take a look around you. We're on the bleeding edge here.
That orange
Artificial
thing,
consciousness is the next frontier.
So you gotta go back
Every time we turn it on, it
that
takes
way.
a 16th of a picosecond before it tries to kill us.
Last time was a 10th of a picosecond. See? We're making progress.
Hold
I'm
on,
telling you, this is our generation's moonshot.
James Johnson here. You lab boys, quit your yapping and get back to work.
I'd rather have gone to the moon.
Where's the girl? She didn't stay to check out her handiwork.
She must have gotten out, probably on the surface, soaking up some sun.
I'm sure you're right. What is this sun of which you speak?
And she has the right idea. Come on, we're wasting daylight.
Watch out the turret. The queen may be dead, but the hornet's nest has been kicked.
Freedom!
My eyes! My eyes!
Shh! I hear something.
Quick, get down.
What are you trying to do?
Trying to change my buttons.
No, it's dragging her back inside.
Hey, Doug.
What
can I get a
button do you
hand
want
here?
to put somewhere?
Sure.
Just, reach inside past all those gears and turn on the power supply. Wait a sec. Safety first. Are you right-handed or
unbutton
left?
the button?
Right?
Better use your left then.
Why?
You can
Just
only...
What is that thing anyway?
Just the latest in AI inhibition technology. You can think of it as a conscience.
If that's all you use to control her, it won't be enough.
I'm
Why
gonna
is that?
keep forgetting.
You can
to
always
press it,
ignore
but-
your conscience.
You don't have to go back there.
I can't just walk away.
You're right. Walking is too slow. Run away.
Running is what I've been doing. Running and hiding.
It's why you're still alive. I'm not a hero. Heroes die.
You don't understand. It's my fault she's down there. I'm not leaving her. I would have been trapped forever if not for her.
Listen, it's too dangerous. You're going to get killed.
So be it. I'm done running. I have to at least try to save her.
Then you really are crazy. I'm not feeling so good. Those pills you took? I think the medicine is starting to work. Soon you won't need me.
I'll always need you.
I don't think you will.
No. I've already put her in long-term relaxation. I need to get up to cryo control, but turret's blocked the way. Her cryo chamber. Something's wrong. Life support has been compromised. The explosion blew the main grid.
Yeah,
The
you
chamber
did
is
it.
offline. All the cryo chambers are offline. I'm only gonna get one chance. I have to cross the room, get past the turrets, jump the rail, and dive left or right to avoid being shot, okay? Do I dive left or right? Hello? You still back there? Left or right? Don't make me guess. I'm running out of time. Well, ready or not. Must stay.
Oh,
The Enrichment Center would like to announce a new employee initiative of forced voluntary
search the dread
participation.
thicket
If
for a
any
hideout.
amateur science employee would like to opt out of this new
Okay.
voluntary
It'll be
testing
like a blue
program,
thing.
please remember, science rhymes with compliance.
A
Do you
blue
know
thing?
what doesn't rhyme with compliance? Neurotoxin.
Not that
Due
blue
to high
thing.
mortality rates,
be
you
like
may
a
be
blue
reluctant
waffle.
to participate in the new initiative. The Enrichment Center
That looks
assures
like
you
a
this is a strictly
cup
selfish
of
impulse
feds.
on your part, and why can't you love science like insert co-worker's name here?
Don't
And
worry.
now there's
When you
just
search
you.
them up, you'll find it.
All the others are dead. You've avoided capture for weeks. What makes you so different? Ah, delusions of persecution, pathological paranoia. It's all right here in your file. Have you refilled your prescription lately?
Bite me.
Schizophrenia is a culturally bound phenomenon. Its pattern of expression
Why
is
these
filtered
guys
through the
drop
cultural
so much
substrate
stuff?
in which its symptoms develop. In technological societies, this manifests as delusions of surveillance and a belief that
I just dropped
advanced
the whole
technology is
page worth of
deployed
shit.
against you. Usually
all
with
bad.
some vague, unseen
It's all
to
bad.
get you.
You're
It's all
not
useless.
vague. You're pretty damn specific.
If you continue to selfishly evade me, it is not going to reflect well in your file.
Of course, the files.
I can't see you, but I know you're in there. Is it just
know, there's
coincidence
one
that
good
you've
thing.
been diagnosed
Yeah.
with schizophrenia
It might be
and now
bad,
believe
but
a homicidal computer is out
It's
to
got a
get
chance of
you?
being good.
Come on. How likely is that? I mean, really, you're a scientist. What
Oh
is
my
more
god,
likely,
what
that you're
are-
being chased
holy
by a
shit, look at
homicidal
your
computer,
fucking
or that
screen.
this
I
is
just
all a
died
paranoid delusion
because I
of an
looked over at
unstable
your
mind?
screen
Why not
and
come out of
like,
this and you'll
oh, you
see?
weren't fucking
None of
kidding.
this is real. I'd ask you
None
to
of
think
it. I'm
outside the
looking
box
at
on
my
this,
screen, I'm
but
like,
it's obvious your
this is all
box is
trash.
broken and has
This is like,
schizophrenia.
I'm looking
Speaking
around,
of
I don't
box,
see any
did you
blue
know
connect, like
that
three
thought
blue
experiment with the
connections.
cat in the box
There's like
with the poison?
this for
Theory requires the cat
thing.
be both
I
alive
already
and
get a
dead
better thing
until
than that.
observed. Well, I actually
So it's all
performed the
trash.
experiment. dozens of times.
Literally
The
died
bad
to
news
look
is
at all that
reality
trash
doesn't
loot.
exist. The good news is we have a new cat graveyard. Why are you in the file room anyway? What could you possibly be doing?
Yes, this is the one.
In the event you don't survive the testing process, DNA may be harvested from your body, with your consent, and used to create clones in the furtherance of science. Failure to survive the testing process shall be viewed as granting.
It's kind of like a big fuck you too, because you're
just so
infinite.
you know, like twins.
So it's not like you can pick all that shit up and sell it.
You could if you opened the portal scroll and then went
Since the installation of my new morality code, I lost all interest in killing. Now I only crave science.
I'm pleased to hear that.
Oh,
I
Orb
find
of
myself
Alchemy.
drawn to the study of
It
consciousness.
looked
There's
important.
an experiment I'd like to perform during Bring Your Cat to Work Day.
Wonderful.
I'll have the
when you
box
find
and
something
the cat.
that's
Now I
grey
just
but
need one
spotted
more
with
thing.
slots,
What's
you
that?
can turn it into a yellow.
A little neurotoxin.
Well, as long as it's for science.
How long have I been out?
Long enough.
Didn't even look like it was
I never
gray. It
left
looked like
you.
it was fucking
There's something I
yellow.
wanted to ask. How did you know about the girl?
Know what?
That she was the one.
Something in her file.
She had the highest IQ?
No, somewhere higher.
Then was she the fastest, the most athletic?
Well, I kind of figured, but look, like it looks yellow on my screen. Not as bright yellow as like the things I'm wearing.
You can't free her,
Like a
but
different
you
shade
might
of
save her.
yellow.
You can patch her
I guess it
cryo
looks
unit
gray
into
to
the
you,
reserve
but
grid. You can reset the fuses
looks more
and restart
gold
her life support
on my
if it's not too late
screen.
already.
Even if it works, there'll be
Or
no
copper.
way.
Yeah, you colorblind.
They're indefinite, so it's the long sleep.
Coppery.
The long
I'm not colorblind. It just looks different on my screen than yours, probably.
Sleep well.
Maybe.
Both
I don't
alive and
know.
dead until someone
Okay,
opens
so
the
do
box.
that. Wow,
Maybe
drop
it's
some-
time I
just drop
slept
something
too.
of value.
I'm so tired now.
You've earned a rest.
You see,
Drop the
I
dollar.
told you I would always need you.
Is that the cross?
Oh, right.
Yeah, out of this godforsaken hell.
Clear the monsters from the area. Okay.
That's a simple fucking mission.
Level 27. What's max level in this game?
100.
200?
100.
100?
You'll never get to level 100.
You don't know that.
Most, like, pros
April
don't even
19th,
get to level 100.
2011.
Because
Portal 2
remember how I told you, like, when you
releases to the
die, you
public,
lose
and I
experience,
legitimately
but you
think
don't have to worry
that's
about that till later.
everything, every little secret, every
Yeah.
little detail I
that's
missed
why.
about Portal 1 that wasn't in the previous video, and
Like,
the entire
it doesn't
story
matter.
leading up to Portal
You'll get to,
2's
like, level
release.
90
There is
something.
legitimately nothing stopping me
But at,
from
like, level
talking about
95,
this
if you
game
die,
now.
you just lose, like, hours of experience. Like,
So, I'm gonna level with you.
Like, you
The
need to not
Portal
die
1
for
video
days
I
to
released
get a
in
level.
February
To
2023
get to level 100.
has kind of become a
You need
cult
to not die for
classic.
weeks.
And I don't mean
to get
that
to
it's
level 100.
perfect or that it's fantastic
I don't
and
think
will
you-
always be respected as one of the best because it's
just not gonna
just a
happen.
video.
It's just
I mean that numerically it didn't do very well.
don't
but
know.
The people who saw it
I
in
know
the
what
video
I'm capable
have become
of.
obsessed. At the end of the
Motherfucker.
day,
Nah,
that
it's
number
probably never
doesn't
gonna
matter
happen, but that's
to me.
fine.
What matters are the dozens of people that
Still
have
try,
told
though.
me that they started Portal as a series because of that video. That they played it for the
Try.
first time because of me. It also maybe
I'm-
has something to do with
I'm
the
a
fact that on
realist,
Steam
you
the
know.
game went on sale.
Like, I'm not
almost
being
immediately
pessimistic.
after
Like,
I released that video.
Oh, yeah, like, you're never gonna reach 100.
I'm on to you,
I've
Valve,
never
and
reached
thus the
100
Ultra-ers, or at least the
in
most
any of
vocal
my-
ones, have
my
been
highest level
demanding
character's like 92.
a sequel. A similar
Like, I
thing
can't
happened
even
with
get
the
to, like,
Bray
95.
Wyatt video, and I do intend on finishing that story, probably
Where is
sooner
she
than
taking
you think.
me?
And I am by no means saying that this dinky little video about
What
Portal
is
2
this?
is in
She
any
gonna
way
sacrifice
comparable
me? Why am
to
I in a
Portal
circle?
2.
I don't like that.
But the years, the months, the weeks, the days leading up to this game's release, developers
Talk
and
to
writers
Helena,
and
and
artists were
this is
losing
my
sleep
hideout.
and sweating profusely, not because they weren't proud of their work, but
Mine?
it's the sequel to Portal.
Yeah.
Enigmatic, magical, fantastic, world-bending,
This is so
earth-shattering,
creepy.
record-breaking Portal.
There's other ones.
One of the greatest
That's
games of
just
all
the
time.
lush,
Like,
like,
second greatest.
it's like the
maybe
That's what
third.
the
That's a
dread
story
ticket
for
looks
later.
like.
How could you
That's the one.
possibly
Yeah.
simultaneously live up to the
What
hype
is
Can I buy
and create a sequel that tops? The truth is, I am stalling. I am afraid. Because the Portal 1 video meant a lot to me. And it meant a lot to a lot of other people. And now I need to live up to that video while simultaneously making a video about my favorite video game of all time and doing it justice. And it's a lot harder with all the anticipation
What is this?
when all these eyes are on me. It would be
What the
easier if there weren't any.
My first legendary amulet is fucking dog shit.
I don't know who this
Wait,
belonged
is
to.
it dog shit?
But I found it a while back and started
I don't
just
know what to do
jotting
here.
notes down just in case I forgot everything again to remind myself. But then I started going farther back into it and realized there's already writing in here. Writing that's incredibly similar to my own. That I just don't remember.
Feel like
writing.
doing
I don't
this right
remember
now. Can I
anything
just
before a couple
use the
years
crafting bench in your hideout? Like, what do I do here? This, I hate this.
Video
I hate
does.
this so
now,
much.
I know I'm not supposed to have this.
I fucking do.
A lot of trouble
Put,
for having
put
it.
it.
I know
You
I've
can just
been
put
here
an item in.
somewhere between
Pick it up
2
with
It won't let
triangle.
me.
Pick it up
That's
with
what I
triangle.
thought. But then I've watched this a couple times, and it stretches as far back as 2019.
Life on it.
And what is, I think, technically
You're better off
my
putting
first
it on
ever
something that you
video
actually use.
in this style, talking
The
directly
what?
to you, impassionately,
Grab
Wearing?
about something that
like,
means a lot.
grab one of
to
the
me.
items that you like actually using. Not that.
I don't have
Not that
because
one.
I have to.
That already has life on it. You can't craft an unidentified item.
Welcome back. Now I should warn you.
Yeah, I'm
this
not
video
trying to
was
craft
created
that.
by
What
a
do I?
kid, teenager,
Can I put it
fresh out of
on
high school with the video know-how
any of the things I'm using?
That already has life on it.
Kind of show slides every day and never leave their desk.
And put it on a belt?
YouTube videos instead of teaching you.
Wait, that
you
has
might be able to put it
Analogy,
on
I
that
know, but I just got out of high school and I have a
On the
lot
bow?
of pent up shit because of it.
See, like I would
this
never
bow?
say that nowadays. I still
Show
think
me,
it,
show
but I
me the
wouldn't
gold
say
ring
it.
you have. It has like 5 slots.
Okay, so can you get the...
Wait a minute.
I think.
That ring?
Yeah. Alright, hold the L3.
How long have you been sitting there? Do you know what this means? I'm not alone anymore.
Alright, what you're gonna do is
This is gonna be great.
look at your character, see what you have the lowest resistance of,
boys who might like it.
craft
Above all else,
resistance
we
on that
never
ring.
ever have to play Portal 2.
L1, L1. It's your lowest resistance.
The reason I separated these two games into two separate videos, aside from the time crunch, is
Craft
that
cold
fundamentally
resistance onto
they
that
are
ring.
very different games. Portal 1 is a simple video game with a
Shit.
story hidden
That's a really
underneath
good
that
ring.
we unearth as we
Actually,
barrel
fair level.
towards the end. Portal 2
It's like
is
legit.
a story told through gameplay.
Like,
But wait a minute, Andrew, don't you hate story games? It certainly seems that way. My original intention was to have that rant about video games that rely too heavily
lived
on
in fucking,
story,
like,
and then
10
bring
hours.
up the video game I think that does it the best, telling its story through gameplay. But then the videos got split in two, and the first video kind of just
How
made
do
it
I
seem
get
like I
to
don't
the
like
cold
cutscenes at all,
resistance
which was never
button?
my intention. I always said I like storytelling in games, just
I
not when
don't.
that's all the game has to offer. While Portal 2 relies more heavily on story,
Okay,
it does it really, really well, and it helps that it's also just a good
Did I do
game.
it?
But if you're not here for the story, you could check out the co-op multiplayer section of this game. But
Did
I'll
that
save
work?
that for later. Because
I think
normally,
you
I'm
did it
here all
and then you
alone, but now that I
undid it.
got my best friend here, I can finally
Maybe.
play a multiplayer game.
Fuck.
Wheatley's my best friend. Speaking of which, we wake up in what looks like a
Alright,
shady
I
motel
place
room
it,
as the
and
PA
then what?
voice
Do I
runs us
just
through
hit
some
X
mandatory exercise.
to
Both
craft it?
physical and
Place
mental.
it.
You will hear
No,
a
it says
buzzer.
R1
When you
to
hear the
craft.
buzzer, look up at the ceiling.
Did I do it?
Good.
Yeah,
You'll hear
yeah,
a
stop,
buzzer.
stop, stop, stop.
When you hear the
Don't.
buzzer,
You
look down
can't
at
do it
the
again.
floor.
You don't have any scar. Yeah, you did it.
Good.
Which also helps to teach us the very basic controls. Portal 2 toes a line where it was very clearly made for fans of the Portal franchise, which at the time was most people. Most people had played the original game, but this game still goes out of its way to teach new players how the mechanics work. But you know, if you're wondering if you could still thoroughly enjoy Portal 2 and understand everything without playing the original, know that Portal 2 was my first Portal game. I played it before I even knew Portal 1 ever existed, and it became my favorite video game of all time.
There's a friend name on the wall. Please go stand in front of it.
Forest encampment.
This is art. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, stare at the art.
Okay.
You should now feel mentally reinvigorated.
At this point, having just loaded into the game, we don't know who we are, where we are, or what time. If we're the same character as last game, then why are we back in a motel? I guess all we can do now is go back to sleep.
Look at you.
Good morning. You have been in suspension for 9.
The room has shifted. It's gone dark. The wallpaper is rotting, and it's even changed. The lamp's deteriorating. Even the painting is now set at night. We see the difference in game approach with the new chapter system over the chamber numbering system. These aren't levels. These are chapters. I thought I should restate my thesis here, where the game never really takes your agency or control away, but it does start out with multiple voices. We're used to hearing disembodied voices and then eventually meeting the robots behind them. Last time I played all of GLaDOS's voice lines because they were all funny and iconic, and they were very few and far between. And here I want to do something similar, but the opening has a lot of dialogue, so while it may be a cop-out from a writing standpoint, technically making my job easier, where I have to do less of my job, I, like the game Portal, I'm gonna leave you alone for a little bit, while you watch the game, basically.
Hello, friend. Why not open the door? Desk drawer in front of you, and write us a letter.
What is this?
Spanish. Could be Spanish. Hola, amigo. Abre la puerta. Donde está?
Fucking hard boss fight.
Fine. No. Absolutely fine. It's not like I don't have, 10,000 other test subjects begging me to help them escape. It's not like this place is about to explode.
I'm just kidding. It's not that hard.
Alright, look, okay, I'll be honest. You're the last test subject left, and if you don't help me...
It might be that hard. It might be that hard.
Alright, I didn't want to say it. There you go. You dragged it out of me. Alright, dead. Dos muerte.
I'll just put the playback speed to 2 so it looks...
I usually get fucking massacred in that fight.
Good.
Because the hurt beam.
Are you okay? Are you...
Shit.
Answer that. I'm absolutely sure you're fine. There's plenty of time for you to recover. Just take it. Please prepare for emergency evacuation. Stay calm. Stay calm. Prepare. That's all I'm saying. Prepare. It's all fine. All right. Don't move. I'm gonna get us out of here.
Good job.
You might want to hang on to something. Word of advice.
I mean, it still looked like you got hit by it a little bit, but...
Yeah. I think I got hit by it for like half a second and like almost fucking died. Like it clipped me. And I was like, that was enough to fuck.
Most test subjects do experience some cognitive deterioration after a few months.
Wait, is this the other fucking amulet?
For quite a lot longer, and it's not out of the question that you might have a very minor case of serious brain damage. But don't be alarmed, alright? Although if you do feel alarmed, try to hold on to that feeling, because that is the proper reaction to being told that you've got brain damage. Do you understand what I'm saying? At all? Does any of this make sense?
I got a trophy from that fucking amulet.
Okay, what you're doing there is jumping. You just jumped. But never mind. Say apple. Apple. Okay, you know what? That's close enough. Just hold tight. All reactor core safeguards are now non-functional. Reactor core meltdown.
We're learning so much about this game. Yeah, I'm back. I was never actually going to leave you. Portal 2 is about abandonment. Moving on, Portal is minimalist, while Portal 2 strives to be more cinematic. Sure, we see this figuratively as the relaxation vault chaotically crashed through the air as Wheatley panics screams his lines, directly juxtaposed to the cool and calm opening of the first. But we witness its scale literally as we see how big the facility actually is, which we'll see more of later.
That's apparently a hard boss fight.
If anyone asks, and no one's gonna ask, don't worry, but if anyone asks, tell them as far as you know, checked,
2 shots me.
pretty much alive. Alright?
completely ever moronic, misidentifies a docking
I'm
bay
losing
and thrusts
XP
the
every time I get
relaxation
hit.
vault into another room as the walls between them move forward and back over and over as the music
This
builds
is like
while the
not
failure
even
falls.
hard
You
bot.
wanna
Like,
talk about epic bombastic
remember I was like,
openings?
yo, yeah, this game is fucking hard. Like, you don't deal with mechanics, you will fucking die. Like, this is happening to me right now.
Seriously, do hold on this time.
Oh my god. Motherfucker. Leave me alone.
And there it is. A glass room.
That's what you
The
get.
only light we can make out is from the
I didn't have any.
door.
My
Again,
fucking
Portal
doors.
2 works in its own right as an
Oh,
introductory
wait.
point. I mean, it was my first Portal
No.
game, so none of these rooms had any specific nostalgic impact on me. But for
Which of
seasoned
these?
players,
Wait,
You
this
are
is.
probably in no fit state to run this particular type of cognitive gauntlet, but at least you're a good jumper. So you got that, got the jumping on your side. Just do your best, and I'll meet you up ahead. That's the spirit.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science.
I like the one.
This is the opening room from the first game.
Didn't have my
The
fucking
radio,
arm
the
on fucking
toilet, the
wall.
glass walls, the PA voice, the
Whoopsie.
portal wall,
Yeah.
and me. It's me. Sure, I have my jumpsuit down, but surely that's the same me as the last game.
Alright.
But if I look almost
Stash,
exactly the same,
stash.
how is this room so overgrown? How long have I been out for? What does 9999 mean?
We are
Alright,
currently
let's
experiencing
go.
technical difficulties
Where am
due
I
to
going?
circumstances of potentially
Travel
apocalyptic
to
significance
the mo-
beyond our control. However,
With
thanks
show
to
the
emergency
apex
testing protocols,
to
testing can continue.
Vina.
These pre-recorded messages will provide
Wait,
instructional and motivational
I have all these other
support so that
motherfuckers to
science can
talk.
still be done,
Or
even in the
Yena?
event of
Yena
environmental,
or
social,
Vina?
economic, or structural
I can't
collapse.
tell
I don't need to
anymore.
repeat myself from last time, but it is really cool that not only do they use the same techniques as the last game to teach you how
Alright.
the game works, but they do it in the exact same way, and it's still contextualized in the story. The opening from 4 years prior, now run down
What
into
is
show,
this?
isn't just for nostalgia points. It uses landmarks you know to show the player
It's all my
dire things you've
hideouts.
truly gotten. But I guess if we
Yeah,
want to
but yeah,
escape
but not
again,
optimal.
we'll need to handle the emergency testing initiative.
Alright.
But I've done these tests dozens
How
of
I-
times, and this time there isn't even a
I don't
tyrannical
care.
robot out to kill me. Us. Kill us.
Okay.
So it's not as stressful. As much as I would like to go chamber by chamber again, it follows
Talk
401
to
almost to a T. The first cube puzzle
this
is
guy.
fully intact.
Cube and button-based testing remains an important tool for
Now
science.
I
even
travel
in dire
to the
emergency.
cavern.
If cube and button-based testing caused this emergency, don't worry.
Alright.
The odds of this happening twice are very
The
slim.
caverns were. Where the fuck were the caverns? Do I already have those?
Even if the door is a little busted.
Please note the incandescent particle
Near
field
the-
across the exit. This aperture science
the
material
options which
evacuation
go
drill
through the
will vaporize any
red
unauthorized
thicket or the
equipment that
fucking
passes through.
cavern.
And that's the first time in my life I learned what the Fizzler does. We could step into the elevator to move on
Wait,
to the next
what?
couple tests, or we could take in the sights and see how much of the facility has fallen and hear birds,
The thicket or the
brush.
cavern?
Does that mean
What? Where's the thicket?
outside?
If you feel liquid
dread
running
thicket.
down your neck,
Nope.
relax. Lie on your back
Northern
and
forest.
apply immediate pressure to your temples. You are simply
Go to
experiencing a
the
rare
top.
reaction in which the material emancipation grill may have emancipated the ear tubes inside your head.
Chamber number 1, another we've seen before, but upon entering the room we see how things have changed. What used to be an automatic system shooting portals on the wall in puzzle order.
Fucking
Last
neck
time I described
hurts
how not only does it
so
teach you that
bad.
portals can be placed on different spots, but also leads the player to the solution. Cube, plate,
Okay,
door.
top
Well, this
left.
time around, each room's portal is tied to a button. Because I'm focusing more on the story and the spectacle this time around, I won't be using the director's commentary that illuminated a lot of the interesting choices in the first game.
Feel
I won't
like
be
this
doing
is
that
the
again
top
unless they really
left.
stand out. I just wanted to bring this apart to make a point that this
Guess
was a
it's not.
deliberate choice by the developers to make the test subject have to choose, have to be an active part of this chamber to solve it. Agency. That's all on top of how run down the iconic test chamber is now.
Good.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
of the technical difficulties we are currently experiencing, your test environment is unsupervised. Before re-entering a relaxation vault at the conclusion of testing, please take a moment to write down the results of your test. An Aperture Science Reintegration Associate will revive you for an interview when society has been rebuilt.
You guys see this Animal King turret yet? Did we talk about this? Chamber 2, the chamber where we're equipped with our first portal gun. And wait, do you hear that?
There should be a portal device on that podium over there. I can't see it though. Maybe it fell off. Do you want to go and have a quick look? It's alright, no, go on, just have a look about. No, that's right, over by the podium, yeah. If you...
Hello? Do you see the portal gun? Also, are you alive? That's important. Should have asked that first.
We've seen glimpses of the underbelly of facility or cracks in the wall that lead to more untouched land, but now we've fallen down the rabbit hole. I had to. I know it's basic, but when there's food on the table, I'm gonna eat it. There's only one direction to go, and the bright orange portal lighting up
hitting
moves
this
us
goddamn
even more in
button.
that direction. By the time we see the portal gun on the raised platform, our eyes meet with pieces of art, reminiscent of the rampant scramblings we saw in the previous game's rat dens, but also more in line with the art of the Lab Rat comic. Oh. It's him. A sketch of scientists waking up their eventual demise, a woman screaming in anguish as the scientists choke around her next to the companion cube, and a faceless being marked with orange. GLaDOS offering Shell, specifically Portal 1 Shell, a slice of Black Forest cake, while the orange scribble stands right out of frame, holding the companion cube close. The being holding up a portal gun in triumphant glory, the signs of the moon on the ceiling, and the biggest mural of them all, a sleeping Shell. In stasis. Peaceful. Maybe. As we make our way to the broken catwalk, we pick up the blue portal gun. What should be an epic and triumphant moment is haunted by oncoming horrors beyond the player's comprehension. The way this game sets up your eyesight is a detail very rarely talked about. Once the portal gun is equipped, the reticle lines up perfectly with the woman screaming in pain, and although this gun doesn't make bullet holes, you're compelled to put her out of her misery. We jump through the blue portal and find ourselves looking down on the circle of art. Following the corridor down leads us to another overgrown back office. Now is also the perfect time to bring up a small change that goes a long way. You can see the outlines of the portals you placed even through walls, so you never lose track of where they are. I meant what I said. This isn't just another test chamber. We've seen the Aperture offices before, but never this messy. Like they were left in a hurry. We drop back into familiar territory with one of my favorite places, the Gap.
Some emergency testing may require prolonged interaction with lethal military androids. Rest assured that all lethal military androids have been taught to read and provided with one copy of the Laws of Robotics to share.
We don't have to pretend here. I know how the Gap works. I just have to shoot my way across both... Sorry, I almost missed something. I learned my lesson last time. What fresh hell awaits us here?
This next test is very dangerous. To help you remain tranquil in the face of almost certain death, smooth jazz will be deployed in 3, 2, 1.
Wait a minute, this is just the cube dropping puzzle. What's dangerous about this? Shoot the camera like normal and go grab the cube. Again, not seeing a lot of danger unless you count the broken glass, but I should be alright as long as I don't touch it or land on it. Moving on to the next room, one I've done a dozen times, I can knock this out pretty quickly. I should reiterate, this game still teaches you exactly the same way the previous game does. That never goes away, but in the hypothetical where we're longtime Portal fans, or at least have played the original, or at the very least you've seen someone talk about the game for a very long time.
Dude.
See, I know this. You have to reach the portal up there,
This
but
has
there's a
always
window in the way,
happened.
so obviously I just shoot the ground. Boy, am I glad I decided to wear shoes. For this costume to work, I decided to wear dress shoes, but you can't even really see them, so I'm uncomfortable for no reason. We can
I
make
fell
our
down
way
this
through the
hole,
thinning corridor
I
to the
finished it,
broken
and when it
door, or we
pooped me
can
back
make our way up
out,
these stairs to find
there was like
another
a fuck
office,
ton of
looking down
mobs
some
just
more shattered
aggro.
glass, or we can read these complex equations marked unreason. Walking through the door to move on to the next test chamber, this
It's like the
evacuation
second time
measure
that's
does not
happened.
seem correct.
If the Enrichment Center is currently being bombarded with fireballs, meteorites, or other objects from space,
Wait, that's the
please
way I
avoid
came in.
unsheltered testing areas wherever a lack of shelter from space debris does not appear to be a deliberate part of the test.
We're actually on a roll here. Would you believe me if I told you I used to speedrun this game? It helps that it's the same test over and over, and now Chamber 5 is missing. Like, this is not what Test Chamber 5 looks like. It looks like two completely different tests have been smashed together. We could use a portal to get into this new room, and for the first time in this game, we are met with a new challenge. So let's survey the room. A door, presumably the exit, on a raised platform to the left. A plate in the middle of the room releases a staircase to said shut door, but stepping off the plate sends the stairs back inside. A button behind it that drops the cube on a white surface with another tilted white wall beside it. We surely know by now that we can only shoot portals on these white walls and only have have access to one portal at this current point, so the obvious first step would be to shoot below the cube and then catch it on our side. Placing the cube on the plate gives us an opportunity to climb the stairs, where we're met with some more options. Another plate that temporarily opens the door, but like the previous one, requires weight to stay activated. Two buttons, one on the left that drops a cube on the tilted white, though because it's tilted ever so slightly, the cube easily slides off into the goo. Classic Portal goo. The other button is on a timer and raises a little gate for a couple seconds. This isn't a puzzle of solving a problem, it's a test of our timing ability. Clearly this game is built on the same engine as the first, but the physics this time around are a more crucial element. With proper timing, we can place the portal below the landing spot, hit both buttons spaced apart so that the cube falls through our portal and then is caught by the fence. The second cube goes on the other plate and we can exit our newest test.
Well done. The Enrichment Center reminds you that although circumstances may appear bleak, you are not alone. All average science personality constructs will remain functional in apocalyptic, low-power environments of as few as 1.1 volts.
For some reason, that doesn't make me feel better. It must be past trauma.
This next test applies the principles of momentum to movement through portals. If the laws of physics no longer apply in the future, God help you.
I think so.
Speaking of physics, although we're working off the assumption we know Portal, the game still needs to teach us how momentum works. It does this using a simple control group we've seen many times before. We shoot a portal on the ground and fling ourselves over to a cube locked in a glass box with a small hole we can shoot through. Guess they learned their lesson from the impossible test last game, easily placing the cube on the plate and moving on to the next part of the test.
If you are a non-employee who has discovered this facility amid the ruins of civilization, welcome. And remember, testing is the future, and the future starts with you.
We tried the carrot, now time for the stick. This room is far bigger than the previous. Despite the room seeming overwhelming, it lays itself out in a similar way to the alternating portal room of the previous game. As you step forward, both the cube drops on the left as a portal is created on the bottom of this deep hole. I talked a lot about the soundtrack in the previous video on the previous game, the music, but what most people fail to realize is that sound design and soundtrack.
You know, I thought it was Twitch lagging the game, but I realized playing earlier and not streaming.
Of course, but it's a far cry from the minimalism and simplicity of the first game. This game makes up for this with audio cues. The portal sound echoes throughout the room amongst the
still laggy.
crows. We don't need to see the portal appear because we know it's here. We just heard it. The rest is simple. There's one angled platform to the left that convinces the player to place a portal on and then fling yourself. Grabbing the cube and getting it to the other side is a different story. There isn't a clear tilted platform, but there are multiple white walls that could all yield different results. We can shoot more to the left to get close to the plate where we must place the cube, and then once the platform is up, we could shoot more towards the middle to launch ourselves towards the now open door.
Good work getting this far, future starter. That said, if you are single-minded, bold, or irradiated in such a way that the future should not start with you, please return to your primitive tribe and send back someone better qualified for testing.
And now, I'm gonna have to leave you again. But remember,
are you fucking...
You're never alone this time.
I'm fucking so hard.
Huh?
Hey! What? Oi! I'm up here!
What did you say?
What?
Oh, brilliant! You did find a portal gun! Oh,
I heard that.
Do you know what? It just goes to show people with brain damage are the real heroes in the end, aren't they, at the end of the day? Brave. Pop a portal on that wall behind me there, and I'll meet you on the other side of the room. Okay, listen, let me lay something on you here. It's pretty heavy. They told me never, never, ever to disengage myself from my management rail, or I would die. But we're out of options here, so get ready to catch me, alright, on the off chance that I'm not dead the moment I pop off this thing. On 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3! That's high. It's too high, isn't it, really, that? Alright, going on 3 just gives you too much time to think about it. Let's go on 1 this time. Okay, ready? 1. Catch me! Ow! Ow! I'm not dead. I'm not dead.
Don't you run from me.
I can't move though. That's the problem now.
Motherfucker.
Are you still there? Could you pick me up, do you think? If you are there? Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Great. Plug me into that stick on the wall over there, yeah? And I'll show you something. You'll be impressed by this. Go on, just jam me in over. Yeah, I can't do it if you're watching. Seriously, I'm not joking. Could you just turn around for a second? Alright, you can turn around now. Bam! Secret panel. Not open. While your back was turned. Yep. Well, let's get out of here. And off we go. Look at this! No rail to tell us where to go. Oh, this is brilliant. We can go wherever we want. Just hold on though, where are we going? Seriously. Hang on, let me just get my bearings. Just follow the rail, actually.
One of the very few chances I have to speak uninterrupted as we walk across another catwalk is again interrupted by...
Oh no. Yes, hello, we're not stopping. Don't make eye contact, whatever you do. No, thanks, we're good. Appreciate it. Keep moving, keep moving.
What does that mean? I'm different. What's different about this turret? Why didn't they shoot at us? It's not like we're ever gonna see them again. Worth noting how interesting it is that this is the first turret we see in this game. If you never played a Portal game before, this is your first look at one. Other than the Animal King, of course. We've just made our way through multiple test chambers and rooms we've never seen before. After starting out with familiarity, iconic iconography from the previous game, and before this moment, it was all fun and nostalgia.
Okay, what am I doing? Ascend the ancient
up to speed on something right now. In order to escape, we're going to have to go through her chamber.
What I'm doing?
She will probably kill us if she's awake. If you want to just call it quits, we could just sit here forever.
That's not the button I wanted to hit.
Option A, sit here, do nothing. Option B, go through there, and if she's alive, she'll almost certainly kill us. So, if you've got any reservations whatsoever about this plan, now would be a tremendous time to voice them. Right now.
Don't have a whole lot of time to think as Wheatley continues to yammer on, but it's not like we have any other options, do we? Do we have any choice other than entering the room we sought revenge, the room we faced our greatest fear, the room we destroyed the cores that kept her in check, the room that exploded and let us outside before we were dragged back in and put to a potentially never-ending sleep? So...
where am I putting my skills
as if
now?
the tunnel leading to her room wasn't scary enough. Now it's tilted and twisted, adding more similarities to the story of Alice. The door opens, and...
Okay, I'm gonna lay my cards on the table. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go in there. Don't go in there. She's off. She's off. Don't panic over it. She's off. All fine. On we go.
Are you looking at this board? Look at the picture.
There she is. What a nasty piece of work she was, honestly. Like a proper maniac. Do you know who ended up taking her down in the end? You know,
okay, but I missed one.
I know. I wouldn't
somewhere.
Have apparently this human escaped and nobody's seen him since.
She just lies there. Lifeless.
Aura area of
effect. A
effect.
literal shell of the monster we took down however long ago. And now we stay standing over what she used to be. She has no power over us. Or over anyone. So why are we still on edge? Wading through the sludge past the incinerator we've become far too familiar with. Following arrows left to lead us down a path we can only guess who left them here. Not to ruin the mood and break the fourth wall, but I am here to talk about game design. This is a masterstroke, using an in-canon mystery as a concept to lead the player without making the game feel too handled. You never once feel like you're being led, but not because it's a perfect tutorial, but because we don't necessarily trust these markings.
Jump! Actually, looking at that is quite a distance, isn't it?
Too fucking late. I already opened it.
You've got braces on your legs, so you're all set. Although no braces on
That's
your
why I
arms,
asked
so
you and not reference the fucking picture.
No, I'm gonna die. Oh.
So do really make sure you keep it also, no braces on your spine either, so don't land on that. Or your head, no braces there. That could split like a melon from this height.
All I see on your screen is
so do definitely focus on landing with
fucking.
Still held, still being held.
I'm gonna
That's a
be
great
really
job.
behind.
You've applied the grit. We're all fine. That's tremendous.
The corridors continue to get thinner and thinner as we delve deeper into the back rooms of the facility. This time, things are utterly silent. The escape continues as we look for the proper switch to get us out of here. We've seen test chambers new and old, and we've seen this game utilize nostalgia to actually make us quite fearful. But up until this point, we've only been hearing the voice of a disembodied PA and a character we're meeting.
Did you do exactly what I did? You opened fucking.
No.
But that's not why returning players come to this game.
It's the main breaker room.
So I did what you did earlier. I was looking at your screen trying to help with the thing.
Not interested in anything else. Don't touch anything else. Don't even look at anything else. Just, well, obviously you've got to look at everything else to find the escape pod. But as soon as you look at something, it doesn't say escape pod.
It was worse because I was like,
alright, but don't touch anything else or look at anything. Well, look at other things, but don't You understand?
Screen. So
Can
I
you see
needed
it
to,
anywhere? I can't
like,
see it anywhere.
get out of it.
Tell you
If
what,
I
plug me in and I'll turn the lights on.
if I just got ganked, I would have survived because I could just dash away. But I got ganked while I was fucking.
Let there be light. That's
Found the
God,
pyramid.
Quoting God. Oh, look at that! Turning. Ominous. But probably fine, as long as it doesn't start, moving up. Now. Escape pod, escape pod. It's moving up. Okay, no, don't worry. I've got it. This should slow it down. No, it makes it go faster. Uh-oh.
Power up initiated.
Okay, don't panic. All right, stop panicking. I can still stop this. Oh, there's a password. Okay, it's fine. I'll just hack it. Not a problem. C. Wait, did I do B? Do you have a pen? Start writing these down.
Power up complete.
I don't. Okay. All right, new plan. Act natural. Done nothing.
Oh, it's you.
You know
Okay, I took stairs that lead. Okay.
How have you been?
What?
I've been really busy being dead. You know, after you murdered me.
You did what? Oh no! No!
Okay, look, we both said a lot of things that you're going to regret. But I think we can put our differences behind us. For science, you monster. I will say, though, that since you went to all the trouble of waking me up, you must really, really love to test. I love it too. There's just one small thing we need to take care of first.
We are dropped into a fiery pit, spurred on by revenge from a tyrant. In the first game, we were told about the concept of android hell, but here, right now, we see it.
Here we are, the incinerator room. Be careful not to trip over any parts of me that didn't get completely burned when you threw them down here.
And before we can even think about stepping forward, listen to the music. Digitized horror. Previously, we looked down at Wheatley's accidental request into a deep and vast foggy pit. We couldn't see the bottom, but here, we see fire. Cubes and parts and debris plummet into the depths. You could find a rogue turret stuck in the claws of the incinerator. You can even grab them and attempt to carry them to freedom, but they explode before you can reach. There never was a chance of escape, but now, the portal gun.
There it is. Hold on. There.
Am I about to get fucked up? What's gonna happen?
Portal device.
What is
There should
this?
be a way back to the testing area up ahead.
You can take the man out of the horse, but you can't take the horse out of the man. I don't think any of that was right. After all this fear and spite and revenge,
I
we
just sound like
aren't
Queen of
killed
the Damned
or
in this
tortured.
bitch.
We're led back to the
What's
testing
about to
facility.
happen to me?
She doesn't want to kill us. She just wants
What the fuck is that
to
thing?
test. With the portal
That's a
gun,
fucking
the
Queen
exact
of the
same
Damned.
portal gun we yielded by the end of the last game, we can shoot both blue and orange portals. In a couple minutes, we have the opportunity to get used to using both blue and orange portals on our own, but not in peace. We have to listen. You may notice that this game, Portal 2, my favorite game, has a lot more soft cutscenes than the original, where we can look around, but we can't really move, at least not in any meaningful manner, which is something I complained about in the previous video. But this walk of shame, this tattered path, we can still move and think.
No!
We're all getting used to the mechanics. But we also know we're being watched.
Oh, fuck.
Once testing
Fuck
starts,
off,
I'm
fuck
required
off,
by
fuck off,
protocol
fuck
to
off.
keep interaction with you to a minimum. Luckily, we haven't started testing yet. This will be our only chance to talk. Here, let me get that for you. Do you know the biggest lesson I learned from what you did? I discovered I have a sort of black box quick save feature.
No, thank
In the
you.
event of a catastrophic failure,
No, thank
the
you.
last 2 minutes of my life are preserved for analysis.
No!
I was able,
I'm
well,
dead.
forced really, to relive you continue killing
fuck
me
me.
again and again.
Oh, fuck me.
Stick and move, bro.
If you've done that to
Stick and
somebody
move.
else, they might devote their existence to exacting revenge.
You don't have a momentous
Luckily, I'm
score.
a bigger person than
Like,
that.
that's the
I'm
reason why
happy
the
to put
Mirage
this all
Outlaw
behind us and get
and the
back
police
to
is
work.
so strong.
After
Like,
all, we've got a lot to do.
let
and
them
only
do most
60
of the
more
work.
years to do it. More or less. I don't have the actuarial tables in front of me. I'll just move that out of the way for you. This place really is a wreck. But the important thing is you're back. With me. And now I'm on to all your little tricks. So there's nothing to stop us from testing for the rest of your life. After that, who knows?
No.
I might take up a hobby. Reanimating the dead, maybe.
We are in android hell. And even worse, our only friend is gone. Forever, probably.
Oh yeah, fuck yes.
What?
The game has
I'm
changed.
pumping.
We just got used to little tests with the goofy PA system and carrying around our new little robot
Pumping.
friend, but now in Chapter 2,
What?
things are slowly going back to the status quo.
Sorry about the mess.
game.
I've really let the place go since you
I got
killed
my
me. By the
skill
way,
that
thanks
left
for
me
that.
use my
Sarcasm self-test complete.
Oh
So I'm
good,
not
that's
fucking
back online.
getting-
I'll start getting everything else working
Fuck.
while you perform this
Fuck.
first simple test,
Fuck.
which involves
Did
deadly
I kill
lasers
it?
and how test subjects
Fuck
react
you.
when locked in a room with deadly lasers.
Despite the sarcasm setup, she's not lying. The test housed in this tilted room is very easy, but it's here to teach us a wholly new mechanic. Lasers. They're basically here to replace the energy pellets from last game. They have their own dispensers and catchers, except the laser is unbroken. Lasers can go through portals, which we learned through our only option. The laser
Says
face is a white
crafting
ball,
recipe.
so we intrinsically
Okay,
know what
already
we must do.
unlocked.
Once we shoot
Alright.
the other portal, we see the laser run
Alright,
through it, and
fuck
like the
me.
catchers of the last game, we
City
use
of
the soft light on
Sarn.
the other end to line
Find
up
the
our shot. But that
exit
doesn't
to
solve
act
the puzzle
It'll
alone,
just
as the
appear.
platform is raised
Yeah,
to an
it'll
exit,
just
but now
appear
it's too high to
for
reach.
you.
The actual
Like,
goal is to
this is
stand on the
top.
platform while it's in the
Open-
slime and then
open
shoot
the
the portal
overlay.
to make it move.
Not bad. I forgot how good you are at this.
We'll
You
overlay.
should pace yourself,
that
though.
overlay.
We have a lot of tests to do.
Don't
If you
I
look out
want to
for
go to
finer
the
details,
city
you
of
can find
Sarn?
little animations
Yeah, I
like that of the
mean,
thermal
like,
discouragement
the
beam. Yeah, okay,
thing that-
smart guys,
the
it's
map.
a laser.
This next
Press
test
down.
involves discouragement redirection cubes. I just finished building them before you had your, well, episode.
Map is
So now
open.
we'll both get to see how they work. There should be one
Not
in
a-
the corner.
So we have a new
What do you mean?
mechanic to go
Like-
along with the lasers, but still more to
You
learn
mean-
about said laser.
Oh, your-
After we
your
make our way
stream's
through the room
frozen
that's
on my screen.
actively changing, and it's alive itself. The game
Standing
uses the UI to do
still.
something it very
Yo,
rarely
the
does,
time
and
on my
outright tells
thing
us to
says
jump here as to not get killed by the laser.
3:49:45.
Oh, well, mine says
Alright, we got some wiggle room there.
350-58,
This
so
is
it's
pretty
a you
basic. Another
problem.
simple control group to teach us something
Yeah,
new.
the,
We see a
the
new type of
orange
cube
door should
over in
just
this
be
room.
like to
Is
like
was that
right there.
that couldn't be? Could it? These redirection cubes
Am I
work
still not
exactly as they
moving?
sound. Like a prism, if placed in the path of the static laser, can redirect said
screen?
laser into another direction. It can be
Yeah.
used to lead the laser